Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Web Audio TV. If you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button.
151 You join forces and fight against me. The Lord with the Hydra was called Air. The Hydra was a very powerful hero. As long as one of the heads of the SSS class hero, Hydra, was still alive, the other heads would regrow. The only way to defeat the nine-headed snake was to kill all 9 heads at the same time. In addition, Lord Air had an army of Hydra warriors. Many lords trembled in fear because of this. The multi-headed Hydra warriors were different from ordinary Nagas. Ordinary Nagas only had 1 head. However, the Hydra warriors had heads ranging from 1 to 9, depending on their strength. For now, the Hydra in front of them was the only one with 9 heads. The Hydra warriors had the same characteristics as the Hydra. If they had even 1 head that was alive, others would regrow. Even if the body was pierced, as long as the head was still intact, the Hydra could heal. The only way to defeat them was to kill all the heads at once. Lord Air had such a hero and such an unnatural army of Hydra warriors. Lord Air was praised by the outside world as the strongest candidate to become the final champion. Therefore, on his trip to the peak of the snow mountain, Lord Air had already decided not to ally with the lords. He was here to look at the clowns who wanted an alliance. What a joke, muttered Lord Air. They actually think I need to join forces with them? They should be joining forces if they want to defeat me. The red-eyed black dragon saw everything. He silently reported everything through the wisp of black flame that he had left where Su Yuan was. Far away, Su Yuan narrowed his eyes as he listened to the red-eyed black dragon. Yuan walked to Su Yuan's side. She understood Su Yuan to a certain extent now. She told him about her thoughts first. I was thinking maybe we can make use of Lord Air's pride and make him fight the other lords, she said. Yuan expected a fight when Lord Air reached the top of the snow mountain. The 3 lords with light-type heroes wanted to ally with other lords to deal with Yuan. Lord Air was the most promising candidate. He must feel annoyed by the offer to join forces just to fight someone like Yuan. Lord Air held deep contempt for whatever was going on. He took their alliance offer as a provocation against his power and strength. When the time comes, we can secretly trick them and let them fight on the snow mountain, said Yuan. He looked at Su Yuan with anticipation on her face. She wanted Su Yuan to praise her, even if just a little. However, Su Yuan yawned lazily. Lord Gatter and Lord Lina expressed their agreement when they heard Yuan's plan. The enemy wanted to join forces to deal with them. So, they might as well use the opportunity to create an internal conflict within the group of enemies. Red Eyes, do you remember your mission? She said to the red-eyed black dragon. Think of a way in which you can trick them to fight among themselves. The red-eyed black dragon treated Yuan with respect because he knew she was the dark demon dragon's lord. All right. The wisp of flame disappeared. The red-eyed black dragon's senses returned to his main body. He found himself at the top of Snow Mountain. The 3 lords were waiting. Welcome. The Starlight Swordsman, who was holding the Star Sword, stood at the top of the Snow Mountain, waiting for the arrival of the other 3 lords. N/O/vel/B/JN.C//OM. Just as Lord Bevan expected, Lord Air and his hero, the 9-headed Hydra, did not appreciate the Starlight Swordsman's welcome. Cut the CR*P. You think I am weak, don't you? Cursed Lord Air. Are you guys looking down on me? From Lord Air's point of view, the others were weaklings who needed to join forces if they ever wanted a chance to fight with him. He felt humiliated that they underestimated him enough to offer an alliance just to defeat some other lord. The matter was ironic and angering in his view. From behind Lord Air, the Hydra approached. 9 ferocious tongues stuck out of his mouth. Hiss, little, weak light types. Do you really think I need to work with you? Do you know how strong I am? I will say this once, I welcome you all to join forces and deal with me instead. The Hydra was aggressive. He invited the lords to join forces and fight him. The light-type heroes were so angry at the Hydra's audacity, but they didn't say anything. The light types and dark types were at similar levels of strength. Hence, they could crush each other. They had a war going on for centuries, after all. But some special heroes were powerful. They couldn't really defeat them easily. One such hero was the Hydra. Even if they were at the same level as the Hydra, it would still be difficult to defeat him. Not to mention, the Hydra was an SSS class hero, while the 3 light types were only at an S class or SS class. The Starlight Swordsman and the Rainbow Pegasus looked at the 9-headed snake. The Hydra laughed like a madman. Ha ha ha, come on. Come and challenge me. The Hydra seemed indifferent to any consequences his words might cause. Calm down, said the Rainbow Pegasus to the Starlight Swordsman, who was about to draw his sword. Don't you see that there is something wrong with the Hydra? Perhaps this is a conspiracy. What if the Hydra and his lord are in league with Yuan? Said the Rainbow Pegasus. The Hydra almost went crazy when he heard those slanderous words. The red-eyed black dragon was closer to the lords, so he could hear them too. The red-eyed black dragon had yet to implement his plan. The Hydra was simply too arrogant and was creating conflict by himself. He was on a mission for the Dark Demon Dragon to sow discord between the lords. However, the situation escalated without him doing anything. 152 They predicted our involvement. In the distance, a wisp of black flame appeared in front of Su Yuan. The red-eyed black dragon was reporting the recent developments. Your Majesty, I didn't even get to implement the plan yet. His voice was a little sad. When Yuan and the others heard this, they glanced at each other. After a while, the White Dragon Saint couldn't hold it in anymore. These light types aren't that stupid, it seems, he said. They predicted that someone might be conspiring with us from there, but they got the wrong person. We didn't even get to do anything, said Lord Lena sadly. Are they going to blame us for everything? Before this, with her SSS class hero, the Dark Enchanter, her journey as a lord had been very smooth. Who knew her life would go downhill after participating in the tournament? Or was it because of Yuan that she had attracted so much rotten luck to her side? First, she was ambushed by Gatter and he hit her on her head. Then, her own hero had practically deserted her. Now, even before they got the chance to implement their plan, the other lords were already blaming them for everything. None of them had any further ideas. They all glanced at Su Yuan. Everything depended on Su Yuan. Su Yuan, on the other hand, yawned. Let's just see what happens next. There is no hurry. Su Yuan wanted to observe the situation on Snow Mountain first. He wanted to see if the Hydra would really fight the light types. At this moment, at the peak of Snow Mountain, the Light Mage tried to explain the whole situation to the Hydra. The Overlord Yuan is very powerful. She is also very cunning. Perhaps you have been deceived by her too? If we fight among ourselves, the only one who will benefit from this is Yuan. The Light Mage explained everything in detail. She didn't want to face the Hydra head-on. It was even ridiculous to think about. They were just following a procedure to contact the remaining lords to seek an alliance. It was inexplicable for the Hydra to hate them for no reason at all. In the end, the Light Mage, the Starlight Swordsman, and the Rainbow Pegasus tried their best to persuade him. Only then did the Nine-Headed Snake and its lord, Air, leave. Lord Air and the Hydra weren't scared. However, if the situation really was as the Light Mage described, there was a strong and mysterious enemy. If they fought among themselves, only that enemy would benefit. That was something that the Nine-Headed Snake could not accept. After much thought, he and his lord finally decided to leave and watch the show from the sidelines. The Light Mage wiped the cold sweat off her forehead and heaved a sigh of relief when the Hydra left. The madman is finally gone. The Starlight Swordsman believed that the three light-type heroes had nothing to fear when it came to the Nine-Headed Snake. But the problem was that Yuan and other lords were still lurking in the dark. If they fought among themselves, it would only benefit Yuan and her team. Since the two of you haven't left, does that mean that you're thinking of working with us? The Light Mage looked at the red-eyed Black Dragon and the Thorn Fairy. The two lords nodded. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy was especially willing to join hands with them. She had heard of Yuan before, and listening to the Light Mage made her feel even more uneasy. Based on what she had heard, Yuan was formidable. She even forced other lords and heroes to abide by her side. On top of that, there was the arrogant Lord Air. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy couldn't deal with any of them alone. So, she decided that this alliance was important for her. As for Lord Bevan, he nodded. However, he had his own agenda for joining them. He definitely wanted to join them, but he would just contribute minimally. The sun rose and shone on the Snow Mountain. The light-type heroes felt their power surge with the sunlight. Since everyone has already decided to form an alliance, why don't we use this spot as the meeting place? Let's come up with a plan to deal with Yuan. Everyone began to chatter and discuss. Their discussion and their plans already reached Su Yuan via the red-eyed Black Dragon. Their plan is nothing but trash, said the White Dragon Saint. After hearing them, the White Dragon Saint wanted to laugh at their stupidity. Everyone present started discussing how to make use of the current information to trick the light types. Yuan walked to Su Yuan's side. She gently shook him awake. Su Yuan, please don't sleep, she said. You should also share your opinion. Yuan didn't call Su Yuan Scammer Su for nothing. He was an expert in tricking others. Yuan had been tricked by him multiple times. He was really a scammer? Yuan deliberately woke Su Yuan for two reasons. First, she really wanted to hear his opinion on how to trick the light types. Secondly, she wanted to show the Dark Enchanter how close she was to Su Yuan. Su Yuan let out a long yawn and stretched his back. Tell me about the plan. He listened to Yuan as she told him of their discussion based on what the red-eyed Black Dragon had reported. Su Yuan's eyes lit up. He had an idea. Didn't they want to trap and eliminate us? He said. We can pretend to fall into their trap and be surrounded by them. Su Yuan didn't elaborate. Yuan was confused, but, more than that, she was scared of the expression Su Yuan had on his face. It chilled her to her bones. Scammer Su was up and kicking to trick people again. Su Yuan explained his plan. He wanted Yuan to know that, in terms of scamming people, he was on another level and Yuan could never compare to him. We have to think clearly. We can't just stupidly fall into their trap. They will be suspicious, he said. They will set traps for us, but we can't fall into it too easily. We need a strong reason. Su Yuan told her of this reason. The competition gems? Their original plan had been to snatch away the gems. They could use it as a reason for their entrapment. They could claim that they were so blinded by the gems that they couldn't see the trap at all. Under the pretext of our own interest in snatching the gems, we can pretend to be blinded by our goal. We can then fall into the enemy's trap. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. 153 The plan to deal with Yuan. After listening to Su Yuan, the red-eyed Black Dragon had a clear understanding of what he must do now. He needed to urge the Light Mage to set a trap using the competition gems so that Yuan could fall into the inevitable trap. As contestants, the gems definitely held extraordinary meaning to everyone. The purpose of the whole competition was to win the gems and increase points. After all, the red-eyed black dragon had a course of action that he could suggest to the light mage based on what Yuan wanted to do. Your Majesty, please wait for the good news. I will be back, said the red-eyed black dragon. He returned to his body. At this moment, everyone was discussing their plans at the peak of the snow mountain. We can make Air and Yuan fight, said the Lord of the Light Mage. That way, they will both get injured. We will have eliminated both of them. The Light Mage's Lord realized that there were two formidable contestants in this arena. One was Yuan, who had even killed the Radiant Envoy. The other one was Air. With his hero, the Hydra, and an army of Hydra warriors, he was practically invincible. Before Yuan, everyone had believed that Air might actually win the tournament. Air and Yuan both are strong. Why don't we come up with something that can get rid of them both? The most convenient thing would be to make them fight each other. The other lords nodded. The reason why they didn't want to fight Air was that it would inadvertently benefit Yuan. The ideal thing for everyone would be for Yuan to fight Air. We have to find a way to cause conflict between the two of them, said the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. Everyone was deep in thought to come up with a plan to make Yuan fight with Air. The red-eyed black dragon realized that he should say something soon, otherwise it would become difficult to suggest his plan later. I have an idea, he blurted out. He sounded very serious. If we can somehow trap Yuan, do you think we can kill her? The Lord of the Rainbow Pegasus looked at the red-eyed black dragon. Although I don't want to admit it, it will be very difficult to win against Yuan even if the fight is a 3-on-3 situation. She has Lord Gatter, whose hero is the fallen angel. She also has the cooperation of Lord Lena and the Dark Enchanter. Yuan was not alone. She had allies. If the three of us join hands, I think we can deal with Yuan, said the Lord of the Starlight Swordsman. But how do we deal with her two accomplices and their heroes? He knew that the battle would be difficult with two of Yuan's accomplices because they had powerful heroes of their own. The Lords of the Starlight Swordsman, the Light Mage, and the Rainbow Pegasus all looked at the red-eyed black dragon and the Thorn Fairy. Their meaning was clear. The three lords and their heroes would deal with Yuan, while the red-eyed black dragon and the Thorn Fairy dealt with Yuan's accomplices. Can you two do it? Asked the Light Mage. She narrowed her eyes. The light types knew how strong the dark types were. They knew that the red-eyed black dragon and the Thorn Fairy were no match for the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel, but they had no other choice. If you are defeated at the critical moment when we are dealing with Yuan, it will be troublesome. If her two accomplices turn up at that time, we won't be able to hold her back. The Light Mage knew that it would never work. She was feeling hopeless. Perhaps we can somehow come up with a way to make Air deal with the two accomplices, suggested Lord Bevan. Nov. L. B //JNN. Luring Air to fight Yuan was difficult. Both were very strong. It was difficult to guess who would win. Gatter and Lena have strong heroes, said Lord Bevan. However, Air is stronger. If he could deal with them both, he could defeat them easily. Bevan guessed that if an opponent was too strong, any lord would hesitate to fight because they had to weigh the pros and cons of the fight. However, if the opponent was weak, the lord didn't have to think much about it. Lord Bevan put himself in the imaginary scenario. He would do the same if it was up to him. Was there still a need to consider this? Air could kill the weaker ones. It didn't matter who was behind this, as long as the job was done. This was a competition, after all. They could clean up the mess later. The red-eyed black dragon had proposed a way to deal with Yuan, and Lord Bevan had given them an idea to deal with her accomplices. The plan sounded reasonably sound. Okay then, said the Light Mage. Tell us about the plan in detail. There is no harm in trying it out. It's simple, said the red-eyed black dragon. The competition gems? You all know the importance of the gems in this competition. To deal with Yuan, we need a foolproof plan that can lure her into a trap. We could promise her something that she covets, so even if she knows it's a trap, she will have no choice but to follow through. The red-eyed black dragon frowned. But Yuan isn't a fool. She won't just walk casually into your trap with empty promises. We need to use competition gems as bait. Maybe even let her have a taste of the possibility that she could actually get them all. 154 There seems to be something wrong with this plan. The red-eyed black dragon suggested a plan to deal with Yuan. His plan included using the competition gems as bait to lure her. Then, everyone would rush out and attack her. The plan sounded simple enough. Now, they had to think about how exactly they were going to lure Yuan into their wrap. We need to show her that it's possible. Maybe we can send a lord and they can pretend to join the enemy. The lord can then gain her trust and even give her their gem as a sign of loyalty. Then, she could be lured here. The lord can tell her about all the other gems that are hidden here. The red-eyed black dragon finished speaking and looked at them. Everyone seemed stunned. Then they cheered. As expected of a dark-type hero. Your heart is dark indeed, exclaimed the Starlight Swordsman. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that dark-type heroes were dangerous. He had to be on his guard. Right now, the red-eyed black dragon was scheming against Yuan on their side, but in the future, they might be his target. They needed to remain prepared. But who will pretend to go to Yuan's side? n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Everyone fell silent at the Light Mage's question. To pretend to be on Yuan's side, one needed good acting skills. What if Yuan got suspicious if the person acting to defect to her side wasn't convincing enough? It would turn out troublesome if that happened. The second problem was the competition gem. According to the red-eyed black dragon's plan, the person who ran to Sowan's side would have to surrender their own gem to earn Sowan's loyalty. Only then she would believe the person when they mentioned the other gems. Who would be willing to give up their gem for the plan? No one was willing. It would be difficult for them to get back their gem, after all. It wouldn't matter who won and who lost. If their plan failed and Sowan succeeded, then the gem would be gone forever. However, if they succeeded, the lords would start fighting among themselves. At that time, the lords would take Sowan's remaining gems. The one who would pretend to defect to Sowan's side would never get their gem back. Therefore, no one was willing to be the bait. The lords and the heroes looked at each other. All of them knew the importance of the gems. Therefore, no one was willing to sacrifice it. They looked at the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. The plan was suggested by the red-eyed black dragon and his lord. So, they couldn't force them to be the bait. So, there was only another weaker lord in the scene. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy felt immense pressure from everyone. She looked at Lord Bevan. Since this was your idea, why don't you implement it? You will know the intricacies of the plan more than anyone. It will be better for you to do it. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy was a coward. She didn't want to be the one to pretend to turn to the enemy. Lord Bevan immediately refused. That won't do. We came up with the idea. There are other details to the idea for which we need to be here. Also, our acting skills aren't as good. Lord Bevan wasn't a fool. He saw the risk in the plan. He wasn't willing to join the enemy. No one was willing. None of them wanted to be eliminated from the game by giving up their gems. Fortunately, the red-eyed black dragon broke the silence. He hesitated. It's not difficult for us to act like we are defecting to Sowan's side, he said. But if Sowan is defeated, we want our gem to be returned to us. If they defeated Sowan, the lords would fight among themselves to determine the winner. But the red-eyed black dragon suggested that they couldn't immediately fight with each other. Instead, they will be given a safe period during which they would take their gems back. They will then be allowed to walk away within that safe period. After that, they could officially begin their competition. The lords and heroes looked at each other and nodded. They agreed to the red-eyed black dragon's request. Agreeing now was one thing, whether they would keep to their promise later was an entirely different matter. The most important thing right now was the plan. They wanted to let the red-eyed black dragon and Lord Bevan carry out the plan. The Thorn Fairy and her lord also agreed to the plan. They were thinking the same thing as the other lords. The first phase of the plan wasn't easy, and the red-eyed black dragon and Lord Bevan had agreed to do it. In any case, they would fulfill their promise later. Well said. After all, you are making a sacrifice for the plan? We agree to your condition, said the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. Lord Bevan's head throbbed. He had no intention of pretending to get along with the enemy, but his hero had already suggested it. He had been tricked by his own hero, but, he mumbled. He wanted to say something to his hero. He was unwilling to give up his gem to the enemy. The red-eyed black dragon didn't give Bevan a chance to protest. After we earn Sowan's trust, we need more gems as bait, he said. He suggested hiding the gems at a specific location. This way, when he lured Sowan over, she would not doubt his intention because she would sense the gems. At that point, even if she was suspicious, she would still fall into their trap because she coveted the gems. When the time comes, we will deceive her, said the red-eyed black dragon. I will just say that we hid the competition gems because we couldn't risk them being taken away by you all. When the red-eyed black dragon said that, the others were a little doubtful. 155 The only person in the dark. We can make a case of being ostracized by you all, said the red-eyed black dragon. We can then say that we sought refuge with her. This way, Sowan wouldn't doubt us. She will think we are revealing the location of the gems for revenge. The lords and the heroes looked at each other. Something didn't feel right with the plan, but they couldn't put a finger on it. However, when they thought at length about the plan, they realized that it did make sense. Besides, as long as their territory remained intact, the lords could still revive themselves. But if their gem was gone, they would be eliminated from the competition. The red-eyed black dragon made sense because it was safer to hide the gems in a specific location. Even if they failed in fighting Sowan, their gems would still be safe. The plan seemed to have no problems at all. However, there was one issue that the Starlight Swordsman raised. The plan to deceive Sowan is sound, he said. However, what about her two accomplices? How do we lure them away? We will use the same principle, said the red-eyed black dragon. Send another lord to them. The lord will offend them and lure them away for a fight. After we bait them away, Air will definitely fight. The red-eyed black dragon had thought about that too. He would first send someone to join Air. That person would have to be the one who would offend Sowan's two accomplices. After that, the person would run all the way to Air and ask for his help. Air was very arrogant and easily ruffled. He wouldn't stand by when his underling was attacked. That's a good plan, said the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. But there is a problem. Everyone looked at the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. To deal with Sowan, the red-eyed black dragon, and Lord Bevan had volunteered. However, which lord would join Lord Air? Don't look at the three of us, said the Light Mage. We need to be here to be able to fight Sowan. The Light Mage referred to the three light-type heroes. The three of them were the main force that was going to deal with Sowan. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy gritted her teeth and agreed to the mission. In any case, she felt that relying on Air was better than relying on these lords. If not, she would have had to give up her gem with no hope of getting it back if she agreed to pretend to join Suwon's side. If she joined AIR, she wouldn't need to give up her gem at all. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy felt that this was better. Let's not waste any time, we have to quickly execute the plan. It was already the second day. On the third day, the competition would be over. The score would be calculated according to the number of gems they had. They didn't have much time to deal with Suwon. The lords and the light-type heroes went to set their trap. The Thorn Fairy and her lord headed to AIR to seek refuge. Lord Bevan was still in a daze. He was supposed to head to Suwon's location with his hero, the red-eyed black dragon. When they were far away from Snow Mountain, Lord Bevan finally asked the question that was burning in his heart. Blackie, what's wrong? I feel like you were too reckless in making that decision. The red-eyed black dragon had enthusiastically proposed the idea of dealing with Suwon. Lord Bevan knew his hero. He noticed that his hero was acting strange. The red-eyed black dragon hadn't told his lord the truth yet. He hid the full information. Don't worry about it, said the red-eyed black dragon. Just follow the plan for now. Leave the rest to me. Lord Bevan was now certain that something was terribly wrong. However, he didn't know what exactly was amiss. He decided to believe in the red-eyed black dragon and follow his lead. He sat on the back of the red-eyed black dragon as he flew in the sky. Soon, they reached a camp. A bonfire was raging. Who is it? You dare fly above our camp? Do you have a death wish? Asked the white dragon saint. The red-eyed black dragon flew down. Please don't hurt us. We are here to seek refuge. Su Yuan and the others knew about the plan. They played along with the red-eyed black dragon. The only person who was kept in the dark was Lord Bevan. Lord Bevan only knew that his hero was acting, so he played along too. Su Yuan lazily opened his eyes and looked at the red-eyed black dragon. The fallen angel flew over and stood in front of Lord Bevan. Refuge? What do you mean? Asked the fallen angel. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. The red-eyed black dragon didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at Lord Bevan anxiously. He pretended to forget his lines and was silently asking his lord for help. Lord Bevan also became anxious. He followed his hero because his hero seemed to know what he was doing. But now, his hero was lost. How could he forget his lines at such a critical moment? Bevan calmed himself. We are here to join you. As a token of our sincerity, we come with a very important secret we want to reveal to you. The plan was a mess. Lord Bevan couldn't remember his lines well. We were the member of an alliance that. Lord Bevan told them about the alliance formed by the light types, who were planning to fight Suwon and her team. Bevan was smart. He knew that lies were more convincing when they were shrouded in half-truths. The other members looked down on us. They threatened to steal our gem if we don't do our job well. Lord Bevan narrated his imaginary tragic experience. However, a few drops of tears squeezed out of his eyes. Su Yuan and the others were amazed at the scene. Lord Bevan certainly knew how to act. I heard about you all. I heard that you are very strong. I want to join you and fight them. I come with important information regarding the competition gems. Lord Bevan recalled the plan and took out his competition gem. As proof of my loyalty, I hand you my own gem. He gave it to Suwon. They are planning to attack you. For this reason, they have hidden their competition gems so that they won't be taken away. I know where they hid the gems and I can lead you to the location. 156. He now wanted to join the enemy for real. Lord Bevan was still unsure, but he feigned surrender and joined Suwon's side according to the plan. His hero, the red-eyed black dragon, was unable to hold it in any longer and almost blurted out everything. He wasn't deliberately planning to keep his lord in the dark. However, the light types had placed a mark on them. They had done it, theoretically, for their safety. The mark would allow them to help if their plan failed and if Lord Bevan was attacked. The light types could hear every conversation between Lord Bevan and his hero. This was the reason why the red-eyed black dragon couldn't tell his lord the truth now. The red-eyed black dragon knew that the mark was a listening device to spy on them. The red-eyed black dragon couldn't tell Lord Bevan the truth, but maybe he could signal or give him hints through other means. But he didn't. He was afraid that his lord would panic after knowing the truth and the light types would find out everything. The red-eyed black dragon, Suwon, Su Yuan, and the others present knew the truth. They quietly watched Lord Bevan. Is that really true? Asked Lord Gatter. Lord Gatter was just playing along. He knew it was the truth. Everything had been communicated to them by the red-eyed black dragon even before the plan went into action. Lord Bevan didn't know that only he was kept in the dark. Seeing that Suwon and the others were convinced of his words, he thought his acting was quite good. Yes, although I have been bullied a lot by them, I have maintained a low profile and gathered much information, said Lord Bevan earnestly. In their eyes, I am worthless. They thought I was too much of a wimp to do anything, so they didn't hide anything from me. When Lord Bevan said this, his palms were covered in sweat. He felt like he had said too much. If Suwon and the others asked for further clarification, he would be exposed. Lord Bevan had an idea. It's up to you to choose to believe me. I have already proved my sincerity. He looked at the gem in Suwon's hands. Suwon realized that Lord Bevan was looking at the gem he had given her. She saw that Lord Bevan was very reluctant to part with his gem, and justifiably so. Lord Bevan had no choice. If he refused to cooperate and did not follow the plan through, he knew the light types would eliminate him. On top of that, his hero was acting very strange. His hero seemed very supportive and positive of this plan and the outcome. Lord Bevan couldn't help feeling that something was wrong with his hero. However, he didn't know what exactly was wrong. He decided to trust his hero. He would join the enemy. His hero, the red-eyed black dragon, did not say anything for now. Lord Bevan took his silence to mean that he was on the right track. Since he has handed over his gem, I think he is sincere about this, said Yuan. We don't have any enmity with him. I think we can believe his words. The gem seemed to be very important to Yuan. The others agreed with her decision. Lord Bevan was a little doubtful. The group in front of him had gone from vigilance to compliance too quickly. Bevan felt all this was suspicious, but he didn't know why. Don't worry, brother, said Lord Gatter, patting him on the shoulder. You have proven your sincerity. None of us will mistreat you here. In fact, we will avenge you. We will teach them a lesson they will never forget after we steal their gems. Lord Bevan felt that Gatter's face was strange. It was as though he was retraining himself from laughing. However, Lord Bevan assumed that Gatter must have been moved by his act of offering up his competition gem. So, he was happy to find such a trustworthy new member. Bevan felt proud of himself that he had infiltrated the enemy's base and gained their trust. Bevan told Yuan the location of the gems and volunteered to lead her there. Everyone went off to make preparations. Finally, Lord Bevan was alone with the red-eyed black dragon. He had too many questions he wanted to ask, but he knew all their conversations would be heard. Blackie, he said. He glanced at the red-eyed black dragon with questioning eyes. Bevan was conflicted. It was normal for people to strive for greater heights. He had come here to gain Yuan's trust and to betray them later, but he saw that they were too powerful. He now wanted to join them for real and not just as an act. Lord Bevan knew that the light types wouldn't be able to deal with Yuan and her team. Bevan wanted to be on the winning side of things. He wanted to follow Yuan and beat up the light types instead. However, due to the mark on his body, his words would be heard by the light types. He tried to think of a way to bypass the mark. Lord Bevan had an idea. He picked up a stick and wrote on the ground. But the red-eyed black dragon pretended to not see anything. He yawned. Then, he told Bevan to act according to the plan. Bevan was even more confused now. He thought his hero really wanted to fight for the light types with all his heart. Lord Bevan didn't have time to think. After Yuan and her team were done with the preparations, they asked him to lead the way. He led Yuan and her team to the location where they would be ambushed. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. At the same time, the Thorn Fairy and her lord were heading toward Air as planned. 157 Do they really believe I will fight with Yuan for them? Lord Air, I want to join you, said the Lord of the Thorn Fairy anxiously. The Lord seemed to be in a sorry state. Air narrowed his eyes and examined the Lord and the Thorn Fairy. Air had long since expected other lords to beg him to join his group. However, none had done so till now. Seeing this lord wanting to join him now left him annoyed. Join me, he asked in disdain. Humph. He glared at the Lord and the Thorn Fairy angrily. Do you take me for a fool? Now that you can't stay with the light types, you approach me. Air was irritated. The Thorn Fairy and her lord had chosen to follow the light types before. Air hadn't been their first choice. Only now that they couldn't stay with them, they sought him out. What do they take me for? Air wasn't some kind of trash to be discarded whenever they wanted to. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy was so anxious that her forehead was covered with sweat. The Lord finally understood. Lord Bevan's task had seemed very difficult because he would have to give up his gem to gain Yuan's task. That was why she had accepted this task. The Lord now realized that gaining Air's trust was even more difficult than gaining Yuan's trust. She raked her mind for a solution. Finally, she had an idea. Lord Air, I intended to follow you from the start. But, as I was about to leave, I realized they were plotting against you. So, I stayed back to gather more information. The Thorn Fairy looked at her lord in surprise. She didn't expect her lord to be so quick-witted. The Thorn Fairy was now intrigued and wanted to see what would happen next. Air, likewise, was interested in this new turn of events. They are plotting against me? I thought they were busy plotting against Yuan. Air recalled the light types being terrified of Yuan. That was why they had gathered everyone. What does this lord mean? The Lord of the Thorn Fairy thought Air would be furious. However, Air was more intrigued than angry. There was a trace of anticipation on Air's face. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy was confused now. She wondered why Air was so excited to get ambushed. What she didn't know was that Air had been greatly provoked by the fact that the others thought Yuan was so strong that they needed to band together to defeat her. All the others had acknowledged Yuan's strength. Even Air had been called to join in with them. Air was greatly annoyed that they didn't think he was as strong as Yuan. Now, after hearing it from this lord, Air was amused. What Air felt was not anger but joy. His strength was finally being recognized. Air was now certain that the light types were no match for him. That was why they were plotting against him. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy didn't know what was in Air's mind. She just went with the plan she was deployed to fulfill. Lord Air, there are only 2 overlords right now who are extremely strong, she said. One is Yuan, and the other is you. I heard them. They need to eliminate both you and Yuan to win this competition. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy told him about how she had escaped and was sure that Air would allow her to join him. I wanted to stay with them longer to find out everything but I was discovered. I am being chased. They were hunting me. Air thoughtfully nodded. He didn't think that the Lord was lying to him. He knew how strong he was. It was only natural for other lords to want to join him. What's their plan? Asked Air. At this moment, the light types, who were eavesdropping on the conversation, became nervous. Everything that had happened so far was beyond their expectations. Lord Air, the light types intend to make Yuan and you fight each other until you both are too injured to fight the others. When the light types heard this, they were enraged. They had thought of this plan before, but because of some changes, this plan was put on hold. They thought that if all else failed, then they would pit Yuan against Air. But the Lord of the Thorn Fairy revealed it. If they really needed Air to fight Yuan, he would be on his guard from now on. Nov. L. B /JNN. Just calm down, said the Rainbow Pegasus to the others. She is also in a helpless situation. She needs some truth in her lies to gain Air's trust. After all, the Rainbow Pegasus defended the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. Everyone thought that this made sense. A lie needed a bit of truth to sound convincing. Everything went according to their plan. Air believed in the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. I see your dedication. Since you have risked yourself to bring me this information, you can join me, said Air. Humph, he said in disdain. Do they really believe I will fight with Yuan for them? I won't fight Yuan until I wipe out the small fries first. Air's words made the light types feel a chill down their spine. Now that Air was on his guard, it would be even more difficult to deal with him later. 158. The White Dragon Saint wants to take all the credit. Yuan and the others went to the designated location and were about to step into the trap. The Thorn Fairy and her lord also led Air to the designated location. Remember, you aren't supposed to lead Air to the ambush location. The Light Mage tried communicating with the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. They were only strong enough to deal with Yuan for now. If they had to fight Air too, it wouldn't be them trapping Yuan but Yuan and Air trapping them. Just lure him somewhere nearby, said the Starlight Swordsman. The Thorn Fairy replied on behalf of her lord. Don't worry. We know what we are doing. The lord relayed this information to Air. Lord Air, the others are planning to ambush Yuan. I know where they are planning to trap her. Why don't I sneak over there and watch till they injure each other? Air nodded. The light types had planned to make him and Yuan fight. Perhaps he could use this opportunity to attack when the enemy and Yuan were both injured. Lead the way, Air commanded. The Thorn Fairy and her lord led him to the location obediently. However, they didn't take him directly to the area. Instead, they stopped at a nearby area. Lord Air, please wait, said the Lord of the Thorn Fairy. Go and check the area first, said the Lord to the Thorn Fairy. According to their plan, they needed to lure Yuan's two accomplices here and have Air deal with them. If they both left together, Air would be suspicious. The Lord decided to stay with Air and sent the Thorn Fairy instead. The Thorn Fairy agreed and disappeared in the wake of countless vines. Under Bevan's lead, Yuan and the others arrived near the encirclement. Lord Gatter suddenly was alert. Why do I feel like there is something spying on us? Gatter did not know for certain that the Thorn Fairy was hiding in the dark. The red-eyed black dragon and Lord Bevan also didn't know about this. They only knew that the Light Mage and the others were planning to lure Yuan's two accomplices to Air. However, the red-eyed black dragon and Lord Bevan didn't know how they were going to do it. Why is the forest full of vines? Gatter looked at the vines in the forest in front of him and felt a little strange. Suddenly, the vines flew out and attacked Gatter and Lena. This is not good. The fallen angel and the dark enchanter rushed forward to protect their respective lords. Lord Lena and Lord Gatter barely escaped the attack. Who is it? The fallen angel flew up in the air and coldly stared at the forest below. At this moment, someone laughed. Ha 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 ha. I was wondering who it could be. So, it's you, huh? The Thorn Fairy emerged from the forest. She looked at Gatter and Lena arrogantly. Bevan, you betrayed us. Bevan was stunned by the Thorn Fairy's words. But your betrayal is meaningless. We've already hidden the competition gems. You piece of trash. You will never get your gem back. The Thorn Fairy pretended to run away. The fallen angel and dark enchanter didn't allow her to run away. ****. Follow her. The fallen angel and Lord Gatter followed behind the Thorn Fairy. Lena was equally angry. She was attacked for no reason at all. She and her hero, the dark enchanter, followed behind too. With two overlords working together, it wouldn't be difficult to take the enemy down and rejoin Yuan's group. Yuan stayed where she was, waiting for her two lords to return. Bevan understood the plan. After all, this plan was also suggested by his own hero. Lord Bevan was certain that Lena and Gatter would face Air in the direction that they had followed. Only Yuan was left now. Once she stepped into the trap, Lord Bevan was conflicted. Finally, he made a decision. He had led Yuan till this point. If she stepped into the trap, her defeat was imminent. He followed the plan. He would join the side that had the most possibility of winning. Oh no, they've been tricked. Bevan pretended to be anxious. Yuan frowned. But she is wrong, said Lord Bevan. The competition gems are still there. They haven't been taken away. Lord Bevan secretly contacted the light types. According to the plan, the light type heroes had to emanate the aura of the gems, so Yuan could sense it. Just as Yuan hesitated, the light types followed the plan and emitted the heightened aura of the gems. It's true, I can feel the aura, said the White Dragon Saint. Whether it was for Yuan or Yuan, both had their eyes set on the competition gems. The White Dragon Saint wanted to snatch the gems and offer them to Yuan. That would count as an incredible achievement, and it would improve his impression in front of Su Yuan. If the fallen angel and the dark enchanter return, they will try to take the credit once again, thought the white dragon saint. He sent a false message to the fallen angel and the dark enchanter. Why aren't you two here yet? Master is getting impatient. If you don't bring back the gems. The white dragon saint let the message hang without completing it. But it was clear enough for the fallen angel and the dark enchanter. The two had run off in pursuit of the thorn fairy. They couldn't return without dealing with the enemy and snatching at least some of the gems. They chased the thorn fairy with all their might. The thorn fairy was stunned. She had provoked them, so they would follow her, but they were pursuing her as though she had killed their parents. The thorn fairy couldn't understand why they were so provoked. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. There was no time for her to think. Under the pursuit of the fallen angel and the dark enchanter, she used the advantage of her thorn forest and escaped to her lord's side. Lord Aire and his hero, the Hydra, were waiting for the thorn fairy to return. 159 What will we say to His Majesty, the Dark Demon Dragon? While the dark enchanter and the fallen angel chased after the thorn fairy, their lords discovered that something was wrong. Eve, we should go back, said Lord Lena. I feel like she is trying to deliberately lead us somewhere. Lena finally understood. The enemy's plan was to lure them away so that Suan would be alone. I think they want to lure us away and deal with Suan once she is alone. Lena expressed her concern. She still didn't know if Suan was strong. She only knew that the dark enchanter had given up before even making a move on Suan. Lena guessed that Suan and her hero must be powerful. But she hadn't seen it with her own eyes. She thought from the enemy's perspective. If she was in their shoes, she would definitely lure Suan's accomplices away from her first. They followed the thorn fairy for a long while. They were not ambushed at all. Lena guessed they were not the target. They were just being lured away. They had sent only the thorn fairy of average strength, after all. However, the thorn fairy could be considered as having average strength only when compared to the fallen angel and the dark enchanter because thorn fairy was one of the most powerful heroes in the hero plane. Gatter had felt that something was wrong with Lord Bevan. When Lena mentioned that they were being lured away, Gatter realized that they were deceived. Lufacai, why don't we head back? He asked. Gatter felt tired of the forest. The thorn fairy had escaped easily. As a nature hero, it was easy for her to navigate the forest. It was her home. However, the vines made it difficult for the rest of them to proceed forward. The two heroes could use their magic to destroy the forest, but it would take a long time. They were caught in the vines, and the thorn fairy had already fled. Go back, said the fallen angel. How can we go back without dealing with the thorn fairy? What will we say to His Majesty, the Dark Demon Dragon? The fallen angel shook his head. They had wasted far too long for them to return empty-handed. Even if Su Yuan didn't reprimand them, the White Dragon Saint would mock them for all eternity. Nov. L. B/JNN. The fallen angel and the dark enchanter had no choice but to defeat the thorn fairy before returning. The dark enchanter had climbed a tree. She stared ahead. We can't go back without catching the thorn fairy. Our pride won't allow it. Lord Gatter and Lord Lena looked at each other helplessly. Lord Gatter shook his head. I have no choice but to follow. He sighed. Lena forced a smile. She had no choice but to follow her hero and capture the thorn fairy too. From the other side, Aire could see the vines covering the ground up to the sky from afar. Something is wrong, said Aire. His shout woke the Lord, who had almost fallen asleep. She looked at the vines and found them familiar. It was her hero's ultimate ability. The thorn fairy only used this ability in dire situations, especially when she wanted to escape. She's in danger. The Lord became anxious. Lord Aire snorted in disdain. I would like to see who attacks my subordinate, he said. The Hydra woke up from his nap and hissed. He stared ahead. Aire, the enemy is a little tricky. The Hydra's tone of voice was serious. This was the first time Aire had seen his hero on guard. His hero was extremely powerful in his eyes. His hero had defeated every enemy they ever encountered with ease. However, the Hydra seemed vigilant now. There are two of them. They are also famous in the hero plane. Aire glanced at his hero and nodded. He never wanted to admit that there were any heroes stronger than the Hydra. He assumed that the Hydra was vigilant because there were two enemies in total, not because the enemies were stronger than his hero. Aire had no time to think further. Soon, the thorn fairy ran toward them. Help, shouted the thorn fairy. She wasn't pretending this time. She was truly scared and in need of help. One of her arms was petrified. A black feather stuck out from her chest where her heart was. Green blood oozed out. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy anxiously asked for Aire's help. Please save her. The Lord felt a little regretful. She was truly worried. She regretted getting involved in any of this. The Lord and the Thorn Fairy had been doing okay before this. Even if they couldn't win, they had always been able to escape the enemy because of the Thorn Fairy. They had remained safe, at the very least. It was the same this time. The Thorn Fairy had managed to escape, but she was injured. Lords and heroes could be revived as long as the territory core was intact, but they still felt the pain. Aire wanted to show off his strength in front of his underlings. He commanded his hero, Heimjo, let's go. The nine-headed Hydra heeded his lord and took action. He and Aire were similar in many aspects. Like Aire, he had taken the Thorn Fairy under his wing. How could he stand by and do nothing when his underling was attacked so brutally? 160 The Princess of the Dark Types. You dare to attack my subordinates? You have a death wish, shouted the Hydra. The huge snake slithered forward. The 9 heads spat out different elemental powers. One head spat fire, another spat out thunder, yet another shot out poison. An elemental Hydra. The dark enchanter stooped in her tracks on a tree. The fallen angel also froze. What is an elemental Hydra? Asked Lena curiously. Lena had heard of the 9-headed snake before. However, she had never heard of an elemental Hydra. She found it very novel. Before the dark enchanter could explain, the Hydra shouted, "Daughter of the dark magician Marshall, dark enchanter Eve? And what do we have here?" The fallen angel, who was once a member of the light type and was deprived of his power, Lufacei. The Hydra revealed their identities. As powerful heroes, they did know each other. Heimjo, is the dark magician Marshall truly powerful? Asked Lord Air. Dark magician Marshall sounded very strong, but Lord Air had never heard of them before. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy held her hero and stood beside Lord Air. She was also very curious about it. The heroes had come to this plane from the mysterious hero plane. They made a contract with the lords and fought beside them. However, the lords knew next to nothing about the hero plane. The Hydra narrowed his eyes at the dark enchanter, vigilantly. He then answered his lord's question. The dark magician Marshall was a leader of the dark types in the third war between the light types and the dark types. It was the most recent battle. Third war between the light types and the dark types, asked Lord Air. He didn't know anything about that. However, he understood what being a leader meant. It was evident that the dark magician Marshall had been truly powerful if he was chosen to lead a war. So, is she the princess of the dark types? Air gulped in nervousness. The status of the enemy in front of him was beyond his expectation. It is no wonder she keeps the fallen angel as her bodyguard. Air assumed that the fallen angel was the bodyguard to the princess of the dark type. The fallen angel was enraged. Puny human, who are you calling a bodyguard? When the dark enchanter heard this, she just snorted. The Hydra said to his lord, the fallen angel isn't weak in strength either. He is the former deputy to the King of Heaven. He once was a light-type hero. I heard he fell in love with the Princess of Light. His power was then stripped away, and he was cast into darkness, transforming into a dark-type hero. The fallen angel nodded in satisfaction at the explanation. 3 pairs of black wings unfurled behind him, showing off his strength and status. When Lord Air heard the Hydra's explanation about the origin and power of the 2 enemies, he was a little disheartened. Not only their strength, but their background was also very impressive. They could crush him in an instant. Heimjo, can their status in the hero plane affect everyone in the overlord plane? Asked Air. He was especially worried about the princess of the dark type. If he attacked her, would a group of bodyguards descend from above and kill him? Air's words stunned the other lords. All the other lords present also pondered whether some creatures would descend from the hero plane if they were dissatisfied with what was happening there. When Air raised the question, they, too, wondered about it. It's fine, said the Thorn Fairy in explanation. But the lords were relieved upon hearing it, but they were still nervous because the Thorn Fairy had said but in the end. They were unsure about what she meant. The Thorn Fairy didn't continue. This made everyone even more anxious. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. In theory, she said, a hero could be summoned if the summoner is willing to pay a certain price. Air's heart skipped a beat. Heroes could descend from the hero plane by paying a price. Air was especially worried now. If the Dark Enchanter, the Princess of the Dark, wasn't able to win or fight, would she summon heroes to defend her? Meanwhile, Lord Gatter looked at Lord Lena in surprise. Your hero is that powerful? Does that mean we can still win this fight? Wait, said Gatter. He felt that something didn't connect. He remembered Su Yuan. If the Dark Magician Marshal was the leader of the Dark types who led the war, and we address Su Yuan as His Majesty, does that mean Su Yuan is the Dark Magician Marshal? Gatter didn't say that aloud. It was just a thought. If he said it aloud, Su Yuan's identity would be exposed. Su Yuan was their strongest trump card for now. Lord Lena looked at her hero in surprise. She had known that the Dark Enchanter was very powerful. Ever since they had agreed on a contract, her hero had fought valiantly and won against other enemies. The Dark Enchanter had never lost until she met Su Yuan. Lena didn't know that her hero had such an important and powerful background. Eve saw all of it. She noticed Lord Gatter's shock, her own lord's surprise, and Lord Air's fear. She didn't seem to be arrogant because of her status. On the contrary, she accepted every challenge with gusto. Princess of the Dark, that is in the past, thought the Dark Enchanter. She spun her staff and clenched it in her hands. My strength has nothing to do with my father. I have reached here with my own effort and hard work, she said. The Dark Enchanter pointed the staff at the Hydra. 161 The hero that has all 9 elements. Everyone went quiet. The stories of these heroes were very intriguing. So, the lords listened attentively. They would not know about any of this under normal circumstances. The Dark Magician Marshal had gone missing in the war, n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Who won? Asked Air. The light or the dark? The Hydra remained silent. Instead, the fallen angel answered. The war had no winner because of an accident. The fallen angel glanced at the Hydra. It was obvious that the matter was related to the Hydra. The Dark Enchanter also glanced at the Hydra. An accident? Asked Lord Lena. Is it related to the Hydra? Lord Lena had heard about ordinary Hydra, but the Dark Enchanter had referred to this particular Hydra as an elemental Hydra. This Hydra wasn't ordinary. In addition, the way the fallen angel looked at the Hydra proved that the matter was related to the Hydra in front of them. The Dark Enchanter, Eve, nodded lightly. The war between the light and the dark wasn't simple. More and more factions joined the war. It was complicated. During the second war between the light and the dark, the 5 Emperor Dragons ended the war and brought peace to the hero plane temporarily, she said. The Hydra clan had been studying the 5 Emperor Dragons closely. In the third war, they created an elemental Hydra in imitation of the 5 Emperor Dragons. The 5 Emperor Dragons were powerful enough to end an era because they had mastered the 5 elements. The Hydra clan believed that the Emperor Dragons were powerful because they had control of the elements. Thus, they tried to create their own creature which could master different elements. They created a 9-headed snake. Each head represented one element: light, darkness, earth, water, wind, fire, nature, lightning, and ice. These elements created the legendary elemental Hydra. The Dark Enchanter, Eve, explained it in detail. The lords were all shocked. They were still unaware of. However, there was no need for the Dark Enchanter to continue. The Hydra revealed the truth. To capture the power of the 9 elements, the Hydra clan secretly hunted and killed creatures possessing the elemental powers. The creatures noticed that something was wrong. When the war was at its peak, many noticed that those who possessed elemental powers were disappearing in large numbers. They investigated the matter. They found out that the Hydra clan was the culprit. The leaders of the 9 elemental factions set out to confront the Hydra clan. This was the first time they had come across someone who had offended all the clans at the same time. However, when they arrived, they noticed something was wrong. The Hydra clan had fused all the 9 elemental powers into one 9-headed Hydra. This unusual experiment caused the elements to go berserk. The Hydra that was used for the experiment used the terrifying power of the 9 elements and started a war with all the factions. No one knows the outcome of that battle. When everything ended, they realized that the Hydra clan and the leaders of the 9 elemental factions had gone missing. Others were no longer in the mood for war. They all channeled their energy into finding the missing creatures instead. This was especially true for the dark types. Their leader, the Dark Magician Marshal, had disappeared. They could not accept this. They put all their energy into finding him. The war abruptly came to an end. So, are you the subject of the experiment? Asked the fallen angel. The Hydra did not hide his identity. Yes, he said. I was the subject of that experiment. I was lucky to be able to escape back then. The Hydra's 9 heads looked at the fallen angel and the Dark Enchanter. Each head spat out a different elemental attribute. It's very stable now, said the Hydra. There is no sign of any violent and uncontrolled impulse like in the past. You must be a success story now, said the Dark Enchanter as she looked at his 9 heads. In the past, the 9 heads had gone crazy and started attacking everything around. However, the 9-headed Hydra looked calm now. The elements were balanced. The Hydra didn't seem to want to continue talking about it any longer. One of the heads hissed. The two of you, do you really want to make an enemy out of me? He slithered in front of Lord Aire and the Thorn Fairy, shielding them. Lord Aire was his lord, so it was his duty to protect him. The Thorn Fairy and her lord were under his protection, so he couldn't let them die either. We don't really want to be your enemy, said the fallen angel. However, this is a competition. We need a winner, either way. Also, this is His Majesty's decree, so we have to obey. Oh, the pupils of the 9 heads of the Hydra suddenly contracted. There was a gap between the strength of the Dark Enchanter and the fallen angel. This was because the fallen angel had been stripped of his power and had to cultivate it once again from the beginning. Otherwise, Lufasai, the deputy of the King of Heaven, was extremely powerful. His power was not comparable to how strong he would be at his peak. The Hydra was surprised. What kind of entity could command the powerful fallen angel? The 9 heads looked at each other. He still could not figure it out. Is it possible that the Dark Magician Marshal has returned? The Hydra had offended the 9 elemental factions in the hero plane. His life in the hero plane would not be easy. He was hiding in the Overlord plane. He didn't have much information about what had happened after he had left the plane. He was unaware of the Dark Demon Dragon's appearance in the hero plane and the Overlord plane. No matter how he thought about it, the Hydra couldn't imagine the fallen angel addressing any other creature as His Majesty. It had to be the Dark Magician Marshal. 162 The Legend of the Dark Demon Dragon. The Hydra looked at the fallen angel and the Dark Enchanter warily. Those two weren't the most compassionate creatures. One was the daughter of the former leader of the Dark types, while the other used to be deputy to the King of Heaven. The Hydra was extremely vigilant when it came to them. It seems you haven't been in contact with the outside world after all, said the fallen angel in disdain. You don't even know that a dark demon dragon has appeared in the world and /o/val/b//jn.c//om. The fallen angel did not think he could take down the Hydra, even with the Dark Enchanter by his side. So, he brought out the name of their trump card, the Dark Demon Dragon. The Dark Demon Dragon. The Hydra was nervous. His ancient memories which had been sealed away unfurled gradually in his mind. The Dark Demon Dragon is well known in the hero plane. However, he was only a legend? Most only treated it as a myth. How could an ancient legend come to life? The Hydra's 9 heads throbbed with the effort. How is that possible? The Dark Demon Dragon is only a legend? Just like the 18 winged angels of the light types. They don't exist at all. The Hydra sounded agitated. He couldn't believe any of it. Heimju, what is a Dark Demon Dragon? Asked Lord Air cautiously. Even though every lord was bound by some form of contract with the heroes, they knew little of the events of the hero plane. Air noticed that his hero had been calm even at the mention of the extremely powerful Dark Magician Marshal, but his hero seemed disturbed at the mention of the Dark Demon Dragon. Was the Dark Demon Dragon even stronger than the Dark Magician Marshal? Wondered Air. The heads of the Hydra looked at each other as if they were discussing something. One of the heads moved close to Air and whispered in his ear. Dark Demon Dragon is an entity related to the first war between the light and the dark. The second war was stopped by the 5 Emperor Dragons. The Hydra glanced at the fallen angel. According to the legends, the first war is said to have ended because of the appearance of a Dark Demon Dragon. The first war was too long ago. No hero can verify whether it was real or just a myth. No one knew the outcome of the first war. The appearance of the Dark Demon Dragon is said to have made the Dark types victorious in the first war. However, some accounts varied. According to the legends, the Dark Demon Dragon was so powerful that the light types and the dark types had to set aside their enmity and had to band together to fight the Dark Demon Dragon. In the end, both the light types and the dark types had lost too many people and suffered great losses that they could not continue with the fight. It is rumored that the Dark Demon Dragon has the ability to imitate all abilities. Legends say that he copied the abilities of both the light and the dark. The Hydra explained why the Dark Demon Dragon was terrifying. The light and the dark had to join forces to fight against the Dark Demon Dragon. The other reason was that the Dark Demon Dragon could imitate all abilities. So, how was the Dark Demon Dragon annihilated? Asked Lord Air. The Hydra shook his head. The truth is buried in the ancient past. No one knows. The only thing that we know is that the Dark Demon Dragon went missing. No one could stand against the Dark Demon Dragon. Both the light and the dark would have been destroyed. The other lords at the scene also heard this. They had a clearer understanding of the Dark Demon Dragon now. The Hydra looked at the fallen angel. You lie to me? The Dark Demon Dragon is only a legend. A myth. The fallen angel and the Dark Enchanter looked at each other, then at the Hydra. They shook their heads helplessly. The Hydra didn't believe them. They couldn't negotiate with the Hydra. If you take a step forward, said the Hydra, I will consider it as an attack. The Hydra shielded his underlings and his lord behind his body. The fallen angel did not hesitate. Since the Hydra did not believe him, there was no place for negotiation. He had to attack. Darkness befall. The fallen angel's 6 wings unfurled behind his back. Dark energy circulated on the wings. The sky was gradually covered with dark clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The dark clouds formed a dark vortex. At the center of the vortex, terrifying dark energy gathered. Boom! The terrifying dark energy blasted downward. You really think it's that easy to fight against me? Shouted the Hydra. Even if you were once the deputy to the King of Heaven, you are nothing now. The 4 heads rose, and the corresponding elements gathered in the mouths. These elements were of the earth, water, wind, and fire respectively. 4 streams of terrifying energy shot out of the Hydra's 4 mouths and fused. The energy clashed with the fallen angel's dark energy pillar. This is not good. Lord Gatter and Lord Lena were horrified. They regretted being so close to the battlefield. They had been close to their heroes because they could apply buffs on them if needed. However, the heroes had been able to deal with any enemies they encountered till now. They had never thought that their heroes would be challenged like this someday. It was only now that the lords realized they were foolish to stand so close to their heroes. There was a terrifying explosion. The dazzling light illuminated everything in the surrounding area. Sand and stones flew from the ground. The trees were almost uprooted from the earth. The lords were thrown away by the terrifying blast. They crashed far away on the ground. They could see a huge pit on the battlefield. The collision of the 2 powers had caused this. The fallen angel panted. His forehead was beaded with sweat. The Hydra raised his heads arrogantly, as though the attack hadn't consumed much of his energy. 163 A bad idea from the red-eyed black dragon. Is the fallen angel defeated? Lord Gatter was so scared for his hero that he broke out in a cold sweat. The Dark Enchanter noticed Gatter's nervousness. From a certain perspective, he is indeed defeated, she said. You must know that the Hydra only used 4 of his heads when fighting Lufacei. Gatter shuddered. The Hydra had only used half of his strength to deal with the fallen angel. The outcome of the fight was clear. If the Hydra chose to use all 9 heads, the fallen angel could not possibly withstand such an attack. Eve, said Lena, if you and the fallen angel attack together, you might be able to win. Now that they were allies, there was no need to think about the morality of joining hands with each other. They could band together and attack, especially since the enemy was too powerful. The Dark Enchanter turned to look at her lord. Lena noticed that Eve looked tired. I have already made my move, said the Dark Enchanter. Her words were uttered in exhaustion. As expected from the daughter of the Dark Magician Marshal, said the Hydra. I see that your dark magic is on par with your father's. Everyone looked at the Hydra. He had been petrified. Suddenly, something cracked. The cracks spread. The petrified head crumbled and fell. One of the heads was destroyed. Lord Lena and Lord Gatter watched happily. However, a new head grew from the neck that had turned to stone. I have to get rid of all 9 heads quickly, whispered the fallen angel. He was panting from evading the last attack. The fallen angel realized things weren't as simple as they seemed. The fallen angel had assumed that the battle wouldn't be a problem if he and the Dark Enchanter worked together. However, he realized that it wasn't so easy. He had failed to consider the Hydra's regenerative ability. If even one head was intact, the other heads could regenerate quickly. If they couldn't find a solution for that, then the fallen angel and the Dark Enchanter couldn't defeat the Hydra, no matter how hard they tried. On the other side of the arena, Lord Bevan led Yuan and the others to the vicinity where the trap was placed. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. Wait, Yuan. I feel something is not right, said Yuan. She pretended to be worried. Lord Bevan was anxious. Yuan didn't seem to want to move forward. The light types, and their lords, cursed in their hearts when they saw Yuan stop in her tracks. They needed her to move just a few steps forward. But Yuan seemed to have sensed the danger. What should we do? Whispered Lord Bevan. He had meticulously carried out the plan till now. If Yuan didn't move forward, all his effort would be wasted. The red-eyed black dragon looked at his lord. The only way to convince her to move further is to show her the other competition gems. The red-eyed black dragon intended to make his lord ask the lord of the light types for their gems. Lord Bevan would then be standing in the middle of the trap with 3 gems. Bevan thought that Yuan would willingly step into the trap after that. Lord Bevan needed to do it urgently before Yuan changed her mind and left from there. Lord Bevan had thought of joining Yuan's side before. However, he had already carried out his plan to this extent. He could only move forward from here. There was no looking back. Lord Bevan quickly ran to the spot where the light types were hiding. He found the Starlight Swordsman with his lord in that corner. There is no time to explain, he said. Quick, give me your gems. We need to show her so that she doesn't turn back. The Starlight Swordsman felt that the plan was feasible. They had no time to think about it. He contacted his other 2 companions and explained the situation. They agreed to do as Lord Bevan suggested. Hence, they gave their gems to Lord Bevan. Soon, Lord Bevan stood in the middle of the trap with 3 gems in his hands. Here, he said. I told you. I have the gems here. Yuan looked at Yuan and the White Dragon Saint, trying not to laugh. If they fought the 3 enemies one by one, it would take too long to get all the gems. This was convenient. The 3 enemies were gathered in one place and the gems were right in front of her now. Yuan, along with Yuan and the White Dragon Saint, stepped into their trap. To confuse the enemy, Yuan and the White Dragon Saint reduced themselves to the smallest possible size. They looked tiny and harmless. Lord Bevan froze. He only now realized that the 2 heroes at Yuan's side had reduced in size. They looked tiny. Who are they trying to fool? They looked so small that they looked utterly harmless. This meant that Yuan already knew about this trap, and so did her heroes? Even so, she had followed him as though she wasn't afraid of any ambush. Just as Lord Bevan was about to warn the light types, the red-eyed black dragon walked to him and took the 3 gems. Yuan, and the White Dragon Saint walked toward him. The red-eyed black dragon offered the gems to them. Only then did Lord Bevan understand. He had been curious about why the red-eyed black dragon seemed so enthusiastic about the plan. They didn't need to ask for the 3 gems according to the original plan. He only needed to lure the enemy by giving up his gem. That was all. The red-eyed black dragon handed over the 3 gems so willingly to the enemy. Handed them over willingly. Not too far away, the light types and their lords watched. They were waiting for Lord Bevan's signal. After he gave them the signal, they would rush out and ambush the enemy. Lord Bevan didn't give them a signal yet. So, they waited. They weren't in a hurry. They thought Lord Bevan was talking with Yuan to make her feel more comfortable, so she would lower her guard. It would be easier for them to ambush her. They didn't know that the gems they cared about the most had already been offered to Yuan. Yuan smiled and took the gems from the red-eyed black dragon. Yuan, now we have 5 more gems? That means 5 upgrade stones, said Yuan happily. Originally, there were 10 contestants with 10 gems. Yuan had 1 gem of her own in the beginning, but she had snatched away the gems from Lord Gatter and Lord Evelyn. Then she had gotten a gem from Lord Lena. Lord Bevan had handed his gem over to her as a sign of trust. That meant a total of 4 gems. She now had 3 more. Including her own, she had 8 gems in total. Yuan had to keep her own gem with her so that it could be counted at the end of the competition. She had already spent 2 gems on upgrades. So, there were 5 gems left for further upgrades. I will say this again, Yuan, said Yuan. We will take turns upgrading buildings, alright. Yuan was still afraid of being tricked by Yuan. She didn't ban him from upgrading them. She negotiated with him, so it would be fair to both of them. Yuan was still happily discussing it with Yuan. The light types were getting impatient. Lord Bevan still hadn't signaled them. Right at this moment, a strange thing happened. The sky was covered with dark clouds and thunder rumbled in the distance. The black pillar of light collided with a 4-colored pillar of light, resulting in a terrifying explosion. The ground shook. That's not good. There is no time. We should do it now. The light types didn't wait for Lord Bevan's signal. They attacked. In an instant, the trap was activated, and Yuan was at the center. 3 huge walls of light rose from 3 different directions and enveloped Yuan. Lord Bevan saw this and panicked. He had discussed with the light types that they would only attack after his signal. They couldn't even wait. He was also trapped now. The 3 light type heroes appeared from their hiding places. An opponent who was so brutal that the Radiant Envoy died without being able to send out a full message. This is disappointing. I thought you would be stronger, said the Starlight Swordsman. He looked at Suan and the two mini dragons beside her. They had overestimated Suan's strength. Nov. L. B / JNN. The Rainbow Pegasus spread his wings. I can smell the aura of darkness in you. We, from the Holy Light, will judge you. The Rainbow Pegasus made it sound grander than it actually was. He was just trying to lump the three light types together deliberately so that they could destroy this opponent and move on. Suan sneered. She had known everything about this trap and ambush from the beginning. Judge us. She snorted. You are just after these gems, aren't you? Only now did the light types realize that the gems were still inside the trap. Bevan, return the gems to us, said the light mage. Lord Bevan wasn't feeling good about all this. Suan pretended to be confused. What? She asked Bevan. What do they mean, Bevan? Bevan lowered his head. He didn't know what to say. When the light types saw Suan's confusion, they thought their plan had gone quite well. She was still in the dark about the whole thing. You look so pitiful, said the light mage to Suan. I can't believe you got rid of the radiant envoy. The light mage's face was full of disdain. She wanted Suan to feel despair as she explained everything to her. We set up this trap. We sent Lord Bevan to your camp as a spy, said the light mage. Clearly, we overestimated your strength. This trap was for you. Suan feigned disbelief. Bevan, is that true? You are a spy. Bevan lowered his head in shame. However, Lord Bevan knew that his own hero had already turned to Suan's side long before Lord Bevan got involved in the plan. That's right, we were sent to lure you here, said the red-eyed black dragon before Lord Bevan could say anything. The light types still couldn't figure out that the red-eyed black dragon had been on Suan's side from the beginning. They thought the red-eyed black dragon was just explaining to Suan to make her feel despair. The light mage remembered the gems. First get the gems back. The light-type heroes assumed that Bevan still had the gems in his hands. Bevan didn't know how to answer them. The red-eyed black dragon replied, Gems? I already gave them to her. He pointed at Suan. When the light mage heard this, she was baffled. What do you mean? Did she snatch it from you? Lord Bevan thought that the red-eyed black dragon would continue to act. However, the red-eyed black dragon answered them honestly this time. No, he said. She didn't snatch it from me. I handed them over willingly. The light types and Lord Bevan were stunned by his answer. 165 Do you have the confidence to deal with them? The light mage and the other light type heroes had yet to understand the severity of the situation. They still believed that the red-eyed black dragon had handed the gems to make Suan trust them. The Starlight Swordsman stared at Suan in disbelief. No, he said. She only has one gem. The Starlight Swordsman had a unique ability that could sense the aura of things. He could sense the aura of only one gem on Suan. He was confused. Suan should be in possession of two gems at this point. Her own gem and Lord Bevan's gem that he had given her to gain her trust. What the red-eyed black dragon said didn't match with what the Starlight Swordsman felt. The Starlight Swordsman explained this to the others. They were stunned. Either Suan had somehow hidden the gems, or Lord Bevan was lying to them. However, Suan couldn't hide the gems right now. There was no place to hide them. Besides, the Starlight Swordsman could sense only one gem on Suan. The light mage turned to Bevan. You are lying to us? You pocketed the gems, didn't you? She thought Lord Bevan might have told his hero, the red-eyed black dragon, to hide the gems somewhere else. And now, Bevan was lying and claiming that Suan took it? He had taken the gems from them, after all. They hadn't seen them being handed over to Suan. There was only one possibility. Lord Bevan was lying. The red-eyed black dragon was absolutely perplexed. He didn't expect the light types to ignore his explanation and turn against Bevan. Lord Bevan felt bitter and frustrated. How could he have the courage to steal gems from three strong light types? They didn't even suspect the red-eyed black dragon. Suan was almost happy to see the enemies fighting among themselves. She didn't say anything. She quietly watched the show. Suan asked Su Yuan in a low voice, Su Yuan, if the three of them come after us after dealing with Bevan, do you have the confidence to deal with them? n/o/bel/b/jn.c//om. Suan was not a fool. Although she enjoyed watching the enemy fight each other, she knew that they were the next target after Bevan was dealt with. Suan wanted to know if Su Yuan had any ideas on how to escape the situation. If Su Yuan wasn't confident enough to deal with all of them together, then Suan needed to think of a way to escape. Su Yuan didn't answer immediately. He looked at the energy wall around him. This was a trap the light types had set up for Suan. Suan saw Su Yuan's solemn face and didn't say anything further. Su Yuan was watching the surrounding walls intently. Suan realized that something was terribly wrong. His silence worried her more than anything else. This can't be right, she thought. Even Su Yuan doesn't have a solution for these walls. The White Dragon Saint was speechless as he looked at Su Yuan and Suan whispering at each other. The White Dragon Saint could see that Su Yuan was deliberately teasing Suan. Su Yuan pretended to be solemn and worried to intentionally mislead Suan into thinking that they were really trapped. Su Yuan didn't even say anything. His little actions worried Suan so much that she made her own imaginary conclusions. The White Dragon Saint saw all this. He didn't dare expose Su Yuan. He stood there quietly. He also acted somber and worried and went along with Su Yuan's act. Suan saw the White Dragon Saint and noticed that he, too, was serious. Suan was now even more certain that they were trapped. It's over, thought Yuan. This is how I die. Her face was sad and bitter. Ever since she became a lord, she had never died. She didn't need to use her resources to resurrect herself until now. That was because everything they had encountered so far had been frightening but not life-threatening. However, Yuan felt that this was different. The more she thought about it, the more she panicked. Meanwhile, Lord Bevan was about to go crazy. Since his hero had already joined Yuan from the beginning, he would stop pretending to. I am not lying, he said. She took the gems. Bevan pointed at Yuan. You are lying, shouted the straight swordsman. If that is true, why do I only sense the aura of one gem on her? The straight swordsman was certain of the fact that Lord Bevan had taken the gems from him. He had never seen Bevan give it to Yuan. Besides, Yuan had never left the trap, so how could she hide the gems somewhere else? Bevan was in the middle of it all. He probably had his hero hide the gems before he stepped into the encirclement. The Starlight Swordsman was unable to guess how Bevan had done it, but he was sure that he could only sense one gem on Yuan. Lord Bevan shook his head fiercely. He didn't know how he could make them believe him. He had done nothing. Yuan calmed herself. She analyzed the current situation. The only one she could use for now to buy some time was Lord Bevan. If she said that she didn't get any gems from him, the enemies would continue pestering him for now. Yuan could use that time to figure out a way to escape the trap. What do you mean, Bevan? Said Yuan. You didn't give me any gems? You traitor? You lied to me, and now you are throwing the blame on me. Yuan slowly approached Bevan while she signaled to Yuan to quickly think of an escape. Meanwhile, she would try stalling for more time. 166 Why should we escape? Yuan didn't pay any mind to Yuan's hint at all. He pretended to be dense on purpose. He hadn't expected Yuan to doubt his strength this much. Yuan was just teasing her. He could escape from the silly trap. He could even kill the enemy if he had to. Yuan was appalled at Yuan. She was panicking. He had expected her to consider injury, but she was already thinking about reviving herself after death. Meanwhile, Yuan was even more anxious since Yuan couldn't understand her signal at all. There were enemies in front of them. They were all light types. Moreover, Yuan, and the White Dragon Saint were trapped. They couldn't escape. Everyone knew that the dark types and the light types were the most powerful group of heroes in the hero plane. Yuan was sure that the light type heroes in front of her were extremely powerful. Although Yuan was also a dark type, Yuan knew that he wasn't very strong in combat. He only had powerful auxiliary power. Yuan assumed that Yuan wasn't even half as strong as the light types that were in front of her right now. Yuan was still not sure what kind of hero the White Dragon Saint was. He definitely wasn't light type, otherwise, he would never be so close to Yuan. Yuan thought that the White Dragon Saint couldn't be categorized. But he surely wasn't as strong as 3 light type heroes combined. There was also the red-eyed black dragon. Perhaps he was powerful enough to face the light types. If the red-eyed black dragon could fight one of the light type heroes, then perhaps Yuan and the White Dragon Saint could tackle the other 2. However, the opponents had 3 overlords. Yuan felt that their defeat was imminent. Meanwhile, the light mage looked at Lord Bevan and snorted. I knew that you weren't worthy of my trust. You have a dark type hero, after all. Hurry up and hand over the gems now, n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The other 2 light type heroes, the Starlight Swordsman and the Rainbow Pegasus, expressed similar opinions. I am afraid whoever has a dark type hero can't be trusted at all. The enmity between the light and dark goes back a long time. We shouldn't have trusted a dark type hero with his plan. Lord Bevan came to a realization. He had felt that something was wrong with his hero. He had wondered why his hero was so enthusiastic about the plan. Now it made sense. The red-eyed black dragon was a dark type. He was plotting against the light types and helping Yuan all along. Yuan obviously had planned everything with the red-eyed black dragon. The guilt that Lord Bevan had felt when betraying Yuan disappeared. Most of the questions in his mind were answered now. Did my hero plan all this? Did he consider everything before implementing the plan? Lord Bevan wondered. Blackie, how are we going to escape? Asked Lord Bevan in a low voice. Bevan had no intention of fighting the enemy head-on. The 3 enemies in front of him were light-type heroes. They were too powerful. His current plan was to dupe the enemy somehow and escape. However, his hero didn't cooperate. The red-eyed black dragon held his head high. Escape, said the red-eyed black dragon. Why should I escape? Bevan was perplexed. He didn't understand what the red-eyed black dragon was doing. They had fought together before. They always had mutual understanding when doing things together. However, the hero with him now seemed like a complete stranger. Humph, evil dark-type creature, you finally reveal your true colors, said the light mage. She pointed her staff at the red-eyed black dragon. The Starlight Swordsman also aimed his big sword at the red-eyed black dragon. You stole our gems, and now you want to escape. The atmosphere was tense. Yuan walked to Yuan's side. Yuan, what should we do? Do you have a way to make a passage through the walls? Yuan was smart. She was always able to figure out a way in any situation. However, currently, she couldn't find an opening anywhere. Also, whenever Yuan was there, she unconsciously relied on him. She asked for his opinion even now. Yuan realized that Yuan was panicking. He stopped teasing her. Escape? Why must we escape? The red-eyed black dragon had said the same thing. However, Yuan was different from Lord Bevan. When Su Yuan said that, she knew he had some trick up his sleeve. Su Yuan always tricked her on small matters. But when it came to important moments, Yuan found that he had always been reliable. The light mage heard them talking. She smiled sinisterly. "Oh, it looks like your hero is very confident," she said to Yuan. The light mage was at ease because Yuan and her heroes were trapped inside the wall of light. She had heard that Yuan was too powerful, and her hero was mysterious. However, as long as they were inside the walls of light, Yuan and her hero were at their mercy. They weren't afraid of Yuan at all. "I see that your little dragon also emits a dark aura. All of you should be judged by the holy light." The light mage deliberately wanted to provoke Su Yuan because she wanted to see what abilities he had. Yuan's hero had remained too calm from the beginning. His calmness was striking fear in her heart. 167 Yuan had snatched all of their gems. In the face of the light mage's provocation, Su Yuan remained indifferent. "Su Yuan, she is trying to provoke you," said Yuan. "Keep your cool. As a hero with only auxiliary ability, you must not lose your cool." Yuan knew the importance of Su Yuan's auxiliary ability. His buffs were too powerful, and everyone coveted them. If he lost his cool, the enemy would know about it. The enemy could kill Su Yuan? Su Yuan yawned and glared at Yuan with a look that asked, "Are you an idiot?" A truly strong creature doesn't have to prove himself to anybody. Yuan understood what he meant. Self-restraint was a type of strength too. If a person or a creature fell for someone else's provocation and acted recklessly, then they would be considered weak. Having to prove oneself to others just to gain recognition wasn't strength. Yuan often found Su Yuan lazy, but he had such wisdom. Those who were strong didn't need validation from others. They didn't need to prove themselves to anyone. Their strength was their own. And if someone had to go to lengths to prove themselves, then they didn't consider themselves as strong, let alone expect others to believe it. The light mage also heard this. She was nervous. She had assumed that she had overestimated Yuan and her hero's strength. However, she now felt uncertain. However, the light mage couldn't show her fear. She continued to provoke Su Yuan. She expected Su Yuan to reveal his flaw at one point. "I don't even know how many dark types like you I have killed till now," said the light mage. "Plenty, to say the least." The light mage's attempt at provocation was silly from Su Yuan's perspective. He couldn't even be bothered to respond. However, just because Su Yuan didn't bother with it didn't mean the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint would stand by and watch silently. The white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon both wanted to show off in front of Su Yuan. However, the white dragon saint was aware that he had fallen into this trap before with the fallen angel and the dark enchanter. He had learned the lesson. The white dragon saint decided to shock the enemy. He was no longer the tiny dragon he had reduced himself into. A roar reverberated. A small white dragon grew rapidly. The white dragon saint roared again and flapped his wings. The ground was covered in dust in the wake of the flapping wings. "You dog of the light," said the white dragon saint. "How dare you speak like that? n/o/bell/b/jn.c//om." The white dragon saint didn't reveal Su Yuan's identity because he didn't know if Su Yuan wanted to do that. The red-eyed black dragon was shocked by the white dragon saint. This dragon is so skilled. The light-type heroes were all shocked. They had expected Yuan's heroes to be formidable. Yuan's reputation preceded her. However, they hadn't expected the tiny white dragon to grow to such a size. This was all very difficult for them to accept. As for the white dragon saint, he was full of tricks. He roared again. "Weren't you all asking about your little gems?" The white dragon saint laughed. The red-eyed black dragon knew that the white dragon was going to cause trouble, but he couldn't tell what he was planning exactly. The red-eyed black dragon also wondered where the gems had disappeared. He knew that the Starlight Swordsman could sense the aura of the gems. He was curious about where Yuan had kept the gems after he had offered them to her. It was impossible that she had thrown it thousands of miles away after he gave it to her. He hadn't seen her doing anything with it. Outside the wall of light, the light types were nervous. Something was wrong? They were terrified of the white dragon saint's huge form. "You have lost your gems," said the white dragon saint. "Literally, your gems have been sent to the Lord's territory to be reforged into something else." The white dragon saint smiled wickedly. For a moment, nobody made a sound. Everyone's eyes were wide open as they stared at the white dragon saint. Apart from Yuan, Su Yuan, Lord Bevan, and the red-eyed black dragon, all others looked at the white dragon saint in disbelief. They were all contestants in the tournament. They knew the significance of the competition gems. The gems would be counted, and points would be awarded at the end of the competition. If the gems were somehow taken out of the arena, they would be counted as void, and they wouldn't be counted. That rule existed because everyone would, otherwise, send their own gems to their territories for safekeeping. Although the lords could summon their troops by opening a dimensional portal into their territory, they weren't allowed to step into their territories or hide the gems there. Otherwise, the competition would be unfair because no one would be able to get the gems from other lords. To prevent that from happening and to keep things fair, the gems needed to be kept inside the arena. But Yuan had snatched all of their gems and thrown them into her own territory. All the gems were gone. For a few moments, nobody could make sense of anything. Their heads buzzed with confusion. 168 The power close to chaos. All the gems were lost. The Rainbow Pegasus Lord looked at Yuan with wide eyes. "Yuan, you destroyed all the gems." The Lord was afraid of it being true. There were only 10 gems in total in the competition. If any one of them was taken out of the arena, it wouldn't be counted. Even if Yuan had taken the gems, they still had a chance of defeating her and taking the gems back. But if the gems were already destroyed, all of them would be out of the competition? Even if they could defeat Yuan and snatch her gems away, they would only get 1 gem. 2 other lords would be without any gem. You did such a vicious thing. The Lord of the Light Mage was furious. He pointed a trembling finger at Yuan. The lords treated their gems like treasure. They took very good care of their gems so that they wouldn't lose or break them. But Yuan had snatched them all away and destroyed them to keep her point intact, while not leaving any choice for the other lords to regain points. If all other participants lost their gems and Yuan had just 1 gem of her own, she would be the winner. The 3 lords realized that that was what Yuan had intended. Her actions were truly selfish and vicious. Ha 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 ha. The White Dragon Saint laughed and roared in the sky. Now you all are getting anxious. Yuan looked at the walls of light and sighed. Yuan, she said in a low voice. How will we get out? Yuan silently activated his ability, the demonic dragon's blessing. Within the walls of light, black flames suddenly began to burn. Rolling black mist filled the air. This is familiar, muttered Yuan. She had seen these mists and flames before. Yuan clamped her mouth shut. She saw that Yuan was concentrating hard to apply buffs to the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint. She didn't want to disturb him. If she made a sound and the enemy was alerted of Yuan's ability, it would be troublesome. Yuan calmed herself and kept quiet. Lord Bevan panicked when he saw the black flames and mists. Blackie, what's going on? Lord Bevan knew this wasn't the work of the light types. It could only be the doing of some dark type hero. He assumed it was the red-eyed black dragon causing this to happen. He looked at his hero and noticed that the red-eyed black dragon's body was blazing with black flames. His red eyes were almost pitch black. Boom! The red-eyed black dragon opened his mouth and shot a black ball of energy at the walls of light. Numerous ripples spread on the walls. The walls of light were on the verge of collapse. This is bad, exclaimed the light type heroes. We can't let the dark types escape. The light types realized that the red-eyed black dragon was very violent. If he managed to escape from the walls of light, he would be too difficult to deal with. Before they could rush to strengthen the walls of light to contain Yuan and the others, the white dragon saint made his move. Just like the red-eyed black dragon, the white dragon saint was imbued with the demonic dragon's blessing. He opened his mouth and a terrifying vortex of energy gathered there. The ball of energy was a blend of black and white. This energy bomb of black and white took the shape of a chaotic energy ball. The white dragon saint roared. Boom! This time, the walls of light were shattered completely. Nu! The light-type heroes helplessly watched the walls of light shatter into fragments. The white dragon saint spread his wings wide and soared into the sky. At this moment, one could see that along with black flames, there were black stripes on his body. The black created a sharp contrast with his white body. He looked like a zebra. However, nobody could laugh at that thought. They were too terrified. How is this possible? Said the light mage in a trembling voice. Why does it feel like the aura of dark magician Marshall? The light mage realized that the white dragon saint's power was very similar to the power displayed by the leader of the dark types in the Third War. Chaos, shouted the white dragon saint excitedly. This power is close to chaos. He only now understood that the fusion of light and dark power gave birth to chaos. The white dragon saint had the power of light, which fused with the power of darkness because of Yuan's blessing. With the power of the light and the dark in his body, he felt as if he could break through the layer and reach the realm of chaos. However, the white dragon saint couldn't do it, no matter how hard he tried. A voice brought him back to the present. What are you doing? Asked the red-eyed black dragon. Why aren't you dealing with the enemies? The white dragon saint finally remembered the situation he was in. He looked at Yuan in awe. If Yuan could grant him such power through a blessing, he wondered how powerful Yuan himself must be. How powerful is the dark demon dragon at his peak? His existence alone had made creatures of the dark and the light tremble in fear. The white dragon saint came back to his senses and looked at the light-type heroes below. Let's do it, he shouted. The white dragon saint flew down to where the red-eyed black dragon was and attacked the enemies together. Nov, L, B /JNN. At the same time, the light types hurriedly took action. Kill that overload. The light types realized that the white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon were on something similar to drugs. They were no match for the two dragons. The three light-type heroes decided to work together. The strangest things were the black flames and the mist. 169 Obtaining an ability from Yuan. The light-type heroes had not realized yet that the black flames and mists were Yuan's ability. They suspected Yuan. This might be her overlord's skill. The three of us will hold the heroes back. You, lords, go and deal with her. It was the light mage's idea. If the three light-type heroes fought with the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint, only Yuan would be left. Then, their lords could directly attack Yuan. As for Yuan, he was ignored by all. That was because the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint had shocked everyone. Nobody noticed the silent Yuan in the corner. Let's go. The three lords understood the light mage's plan. They charged towards Yuan. In their eyes, Yuan had no one to protect her at the moment. Yuan was ready. She was about to tell Yuan to be prepared because their next target might be him. Before she could say anything, Su Yuan activated his ability, Original Field. This was a skill Suan had never seen before. A force field surrounded Su Yuan. It was at this moment that Suan realized that the lords had opened a dimensional portal and summoned numerous troops. They were aiming their firepower at them. All the firepower was concentrated on Su Yuan's force field. Nov. L. B //JNN. Damn it. I keep feeling something is wrong with that hero. The three lords were not stupid. They realized that the hero on Suan's side had never once made a move till now. However, they suspected that the sudden power of the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint was because of Su Yuan. They pretended to attack Suan but, at the last moment, turned their firepower at Su Yuan. They wanted to kill him. Boom, 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 the firepower gathered at the force field. However, no matter how hard they tried, it could not penetrate the force field. When Suan saw this, she gradually calmed down. She realized that the force field was too strong. However, she was outside it for now. Su Yuan, she said. Quickly, let me inside the force field. She saw that the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint were fighting fiercely. As long as she persevered and managed to stay alive till they were done, she might still have a chance. Su Yuan's force field seemed strong enough to protect them both. Suan and Su Yuan could stay inside the force field until the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint could take care of the enemies. However, Su Yuan didn't let her in. He knocked on the force field, but he couldn't change it. It seemed there was no way for someone to enter or exit the force field for now. It's my first time using this ability, said Su Yuan awkwardly. I am not familiar with it. Suan was baffled. She was hoping to enter the force field and counting on it to keep her safe. Suan was angry at Su Yuan because he couldn't control his ability. She had no choice but to change into half-dragon form. Like the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint, she was encased in black flames. A pair of dragon wings unfurled from her back. Suan flapped her dragon wings and quickly left the place. At the same time, more firepower gathered and bombarded the force field. Boom, 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 dust filled the air. Su Yuan's force field remained intact. However, Suan was no longer outside it. Over there, an overlord shouted. The other lords looked to where he pointed. Suan was hurriedly flying away. The wings flapped on her back and her hair blew in the wind. Su Yuan, who was inside the force field, enjoyed the show. He hadn't lied to Suan. It was his first time using the ability, and he wasn't familiar with it. However, it didn't mean he couldn't control it. He could open the force field if he wanted to. Suan had jumped to her own conclusions and assumed Su Yuan couldn't control the force field enough to let her in. However, if Suan chose to fight, he would earn a lot of experience points. Su Yuan saw many troops still emerging from the dimensional portal. He saw them all as a way to gain experience points. Suan was his symbiont. Any experience points gained by her would be multiplied by 100 and sent to Su Yuan. That was why Su Yuan had deliberately misled her. He wanted her to fight. Suan didn't know she had been tricked by Su Yuan once again. Perhaps if she could calm herself enough to think carefully, she might realize it. But she had no time to spare right now. Suan, who flew into the sky, tried to open a dimensional portal to summon her troops. But there seemed to be a problem. She couldn't open a portal at all. Suan assumed the enemy had tampered with the space. At this moment, a pillar of light fell from the sky towards Suan. This is bad. Suan realized that she might not be able to escape in time. What should I do? Suan recalled Su Yuan's ability. He had an ability that allowed him to teleport between shadows. If only I had that right now. Suan sighed helplessly. If the pillar of light hit her, the injuries would be severe. Meanwhile, Su Yuan thought about which one of his abilities he should share with Suan. Since Suan was his symbiont, he could share any ability with her. He saw that the pillar of light was close. He shared the demon dragon wings with her. Suan suddenly received a prompt in her mind. It informed her that she had received a new ability, demon dragon wings. The ability, apparently, increased the speed of flying and allowed one to travel from one dark area to another. She could hide in the shadows. Suan stared at a shadow in the corner a little far away. She flapped her wings and flew toward it. The wings were too fast. Suan hadn't even gotten the time to react when she arrived at the destination. 170 enraged at Su Yuan. This is one of Su Yuan's many unnatural abilities. Suan sighed in relief and hid in the shadows. The pillar of light struck the ground. Suan slowly emerged from the shadows. It was her first time seeing an ability like this. It was called Demon Dragon Wings. She had seen this ability being used by Su Yuan before. She never thought she would be able to use it for herself one day. Scammer Su, she muttered. You have too many hidden abilities. Suan knew that he would never have revealed this ability to her if it wasn't a matter of life and death. Suan knew that her demonic dragon form was also related to Su Yuan somehow. She wondered if this was just a buff from him. She was not surprised at all. What surprised her was the strength of these buffs. Su Yuan's instinct for survival was immaculate. Even now, he hid within his force field instead of escaping. In the end, he indeed is too lazy, mumbled Suan. She believed that he could dodge the attacks and escape, but he was too lazy to do that. Suan guessed correctly. Su Yuan could escape easily. The reason he had stayed behind was to test his new ability. Also, he was indeed lazy. These measly attacks were not enough to make him act. As the dust settled, the three lords found that Suan was unscathed. They looked at her in surprise. What kind of monster are you? Yuan's demonic dragon form shocked the three lords. The lords had thought that other lords were human too. Yuan certainly didn't look like a human at that moment. They were confused. Lords were human. All of them. They couldn't be lords if they weren't human. So, how did Yuan become a lord if she wasn't human? Don't you see that her wings are similar to her hero's? It's her hero's ability. One of the lords discovered that Yuan's wings were similar to Yuan's. It was obvious that her hero had something to do with her transformation. I am telling you, said one of the lords. Her hero is strange. The three lords were a little envious. If only they had a hero like Yuan, they could transform into something impressive too. But it's useless. From the looks of it, your hero doesn't have much direct combat power. He can only give you the ability, but you have to fight alone. Do you really think you can resist us and our troops? Yuan, undoubtedly, was stronger because of Yuan's ability. However, what they said was true. She was just one person against three lords and their numerous troops. This isn't good. Yuan thought. She knew that her demonic dragon form had a limit of its own. Once the time was up, she would return to her original form. The three lords had enough troops to keep her engaged until he ran out of time. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. d*mn it. Why can't I open a dimensional portal? She muttered. Which b** did this? Yuan was a little anxious. Yuan, who was still hiding inside the force field, sneezed. Achoo. Strange, who's talking badly about me? Yuan raised his head. He saw Yuan fight with the three lords and their troops. A pillar of holy light shot into the sky and chanting reverberated everywhere. Yuan felt the experience points rising. He could feel it. Previously, when Yuan had dealt with the Radiant Envoy, she had only activated her Overlord skill and defeated Lord Evelyn and her troops without much fight. Yuan had felt that it was such a pity to let that chance go. However, when he saw the troops advancing towards Yuan now, he felt very happy. Scammer Su, shouted Yuan. Yuan had been worried about Yuan. She wanted to make sure he was alright. So, she glanced at him in the middle of the fight. However, not only was he safe and sound, but he was also smiling at her happily. Yuan was enraged at the sight. At this time, she realized that Yuan might have tricked her. He could control the force field as he wanted. He had deliberately chosen not to. Yuan was distracted. A holy spear hit one of her wings. Ow! It hurts. Yuan grimaced in pain. Yuan's eyes narrowed. Although he wanted to make Yuan fight because he could gain experience points, her cry of pain made him upset. He activated Demonic Dragon's blessing. Yuan felt her power surge. Her injuries healed. She knew this was Yuan's ability. He was helping her. Humph. At least you still have a conscience. Yuan recovered from her injuries and her attributes skyrocketed. She spread her dragon wings. Black flames shot outward at the enemies. Demonic Dragon's breath? The black flames that shot out were because of the Demonic Dragon's breath ability. Another one of the many abilities that Yuan possessed. Dodge. Don't let the flame touch you. The night troops, the nun army, and the elven archers panicked. Don't be afraid, said one of the lords. The dark power can be neutralized by the holy light. The ascetic army stepped up to calm the troops. One of the powerful ascetics took the lead and cast a light spell. The nun army sang hymns and chants in support. In an instant, a huge light screen rose, protecting the enemy troops. The flames that Yuan had released clashed with the light screen. Look, there's nothing to be afraid of. The light will defeat the darkness. Seeing that the black flames were blocked by the light screen, the enemy troops felt at ease. The three lords also heaved a sigh of relief. Although they didn't know how powerful the flames shot by Yuan were, the darkness of it made them tremble in fear. However, they had overestimated the black flames. The light screen had blocked it. The flames were completely suppressed by the power of light. 171 Lord with 2 heroes? A huge light screen shot upward, shielding the enemy troops. Hymns were sung, as though an angel had appeared on the scene. It felt as if light sprites were sprinkling drops of light in the sky. All of this was an illusion. The legendary kingdom of heaven was just an illusion projected over the overlord plane. Eternal holy light. The mage army chanted the holy incantations. The light-type heroes sighed when they saw what was happening below. They felt that it was a waste of time to spend so long fighting the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint. If they remained here, the fruits of their labor would be snatched away by others. The light types didn't want to waste their time in the air. They realized that they might not be able to defeat the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint in a short time. The only way to put an end to all this was to eliminate Lord Yuan. She, ever likely, seems to have 2 heroes, said the light mage. How terrifying, said the starlight swordsman. How powerful is she? Lords could have multiple heroes. However, only the strongest lords could make a contract with more than one hero. For students like them who were still in the academy, it was impossible to make a contract with more than one hero. Yuan had 2 dragons. One was black and another, white. No matter how they looked at it, the number of lords in Yuan's team and the number of heroes did not tally. Right now, there were 3 heroes on Yuan's team. The red-eyed black dragon, the white dragon saint, and Yuan. The red-eyed black dragon's lord was Bevan. There were 2 heroes remaining and only one lord, Yuan. The numbers didn't match. The only explanation was that Yuan might be the lord of both the black and the white dragon. Fortunately, that little black dragon doesn't have much combat power. Let's work together and eliminate her first. Once she is eliminated, the heroes won't have any bearings. The light-type heroes thought about it carefully. If Yuan was eliminated, both her heroes would be eliminated too. In that case, the only enemy left would be the red-eyed black dragon. The 3 light-type heroes against 1 red-eyed black dragon would be an easy fight. For them, it would be a win-win situation. However, they needed to get rid of Yuan first. Meanwhile, Yuan received a prompt in her mind. Congratulations, Symbiont Yuan. You have obtained a temporary skill, the Dark Destructive Light. Yuan was stunned. Symbiont? What does that mean? She was confused. However, she brushed off her doubts for the moment. Dark Destructive Light, she muttered. Surely, this is related to Yuan. Yuan glanced at Yuan. He was still watching the show happily. This made Yuan angry. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Forget it. Yuan wasn't sure if this was truly Yuan's ability. She had never received or seen such an ability from Yuan before. However, Yuan hid too many things from her, so she couldn't be sure. Let's just try, she said excitedly. She clasped her hands in front of her chest as though she was holding something. She uttered an incantation. The world changed color. The clouds that were dyed gold by the holy light were now turning black. In the blink of an eye, the sky turned dark and red lightning rumbled. What's going on? The light mage was shocked. The other light-type heroes were stunned too. The holy light will never admit defeat. The ascetic army glowed in golden light. Their faith turned into a substantial power that dyed the light screen. At this moment, a strong wind started to blow. The towering ancient trees in the distance were blown away by the wind. Such deep darkness. The white dragon saint's voice trembled. He was absolutely sure that this was Yuan's doing. There was no doubt about it. Yuan, a human overlord, received a little nudge from Yuan and cast such a powerful spell. Yuan was finally finished with the incantation. Her voice was heavy on the last syllable. In an instant, the earth trembled, and the mountains shook. Rays of black light emerged from the ground. Dark destructive light. Yuan shouted. A huge black pillar of light emerged from the ground and shot up into the sky. The surface of the ground had been shattered by the impact. The screen of holy light that the ascetic army and the nun army had absolute trust in was shattered as easily as glass. The crash resounded in the air. The light screen was destroyed into fragments. How is this possible? Some of the knights' faith wavered. Is this heavenly punishment? They saw red lightning descend on them. This was the punishment meted out to them by the supreme will. Hurry, run. Some of the troops were still in a daze. Others tried to warn them as they escaped from the range of fire. Those who fled were spared. Those who were still in a daze were caught by the black pillar of light. Their entire bodies were corroded by the black light. They dissipated. The soldiers who were lucky enough to escape were greeted by the black flames. They trembled in fear. No. One of the knights was touched by the black flames, and he instantly commusted. The blazing black fire burned everything. Please, save me. The knight writhed on the ground in agony. Water. Use water. The ascetics reminded the mage army. The mage army calmed themselves enough to act on it. Quick, use water magic. The mage army began to chant. Pillars of water shot out of the ground and splashed on the knight who was burning. Ah! The knight let out an even more tragic cry. The water did not affect the fire. No. Stop. Stop it. Everyone noticed that the black flames showed no signs of abating. Instead, the water seemed to make it burn even more fiercely. It was like spraying gasoline on an already burning fire. 172 eliminates Yuan first. The fire can't be put out. This is the legendary dark fire. The Starlight Swordsman recognized the black flames. The Dark Magician Marshal used the dark fire in the Third War between the light and the dark to burn the Sea of Prayers dry. Does that mean the Dark Magician Marshal has returned? The 3 light-type heroes trembled. The inextinguishable black flames reminded them of the Dark Magician Marshal. Nobody connected it to Yuan. He was ignored for now. He looked harmless. The battle became intense. The fight had turned chaotic now. The troops that were burned to death by the black flames returned as skeletons and attacked. D***mnit. Evil dark creatures. Holy light, purify them. The ascetic shouted, calling for divine light. However, the sky was now covered in dark clouds. They completely blocked the holy light. How is that possible? Why can't the holy light penetrate the dark clouds? The nun army looked up at the sky. The thick dark clouds were like an absolute barrier, blocking the holy light. The situation was getting worse. The red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint were euphoric. Ha ha ha. You dogs of the holy light. You're dead. The white dragon saint fought with the enemy. He felt even more courageous than before. He felt like he had endless hope and strength at his disposal. The 3 light-type heroes looked at each other. Although they didn't say it out loud, they understood that it was a bad idea to continue fighting like this. They needed to find a way to turn the tide. It's him. The light mage pointed at Yuan. She now suspected that the harmless little black dragon was the source of everything. It was very likely that this was his special ability. Kill him first, said the light mage to her 2 fellow light types. She charged towards Yuan with them. Holy light cannon, shouted the light mage. A golden beam of light burst out from her staff and shot toward the force field. Yuan, shouted Yuan in concern. Yuan had been sure that Yuan's force field would withstand any attack, but he must be tired now. He must have expended too much energy. Yuan was afraid his force field might not be able to withstand the light mage's attacks. Boom! The light hit the force field. The impact was so great that the surrounding area cracked open. Yuan couldn't see Yuan among the dust and debris. She was scared it had hit him. Yuan. She flew to him anxiously. You want to leave? The three lords surrounded her and didn't let her fly to Yuan. The dust slowly settled, and the air became clear again. The land under Yuan's feet was still intact. The force field, and everything within it, was intact. D*MN. I knew it wouldn't be that easy, shouted the light mage. However, she had gathered much information from the encounter. The hero seemed to matter a little too much to Lord Yuan. The light mage noticed how anxious Yuan had been, so much so that she had abandoned her fight to fly to her hero. The light mage decided that she could use that to her advantage in this fight. Nov. L. B \JNN. The light mage was even more determined to kill Yuan now. She didn't need to eliminate Yuan. If she could kill Yuan, everything would come to an end. Evil dark creature, die. The staff in the light mage's hand burst out with a dazzling light. A special golden light extended from the tip of the staff. The golden light slashed at the force field. Yuan chuckled. Every mage wants to be a warrior these days. The golden light was a powerful attack. The light mage had created it from thousands of rays of holy light. She was saving it to fight the Hydra. However, the situation was dire. She had no choice but to use it because nothing else worked against the force field. The golden light slashed through the force field. We won. The light mage was excited. As long as she could kill Yuan, she could win. Purify. The sword of holy light cut through the force field. The light mage flew to Yuan's side. She suddenly had an idea. She knew that this hero didn't have much combat power. She wanted to use him to threaten Yuan. She could make Yuan surrender in humiliation. The light mage was going to tell Yuan to cooperate if he didn't want to be hurt badly. However, she realized that something was wrong. Yuan wasn't panicking at all. He was smiling. You are going to purify me, he said. Yuan had shed his small form. He now had 12 dark energy balls floating behind him. There was a magical array under his feet. Sharp bone blades grew out of his joints. Boom! Yuan sent the light mage flying with a swish of his tail. The light mage crashed into the ground at a distance. Dust flew. A deep pit had formed where the light mage landed. The light mage was stunned. Why you are, it's you. She finally recognized Yuan. She should have recognized him sooner, but his disguise had fooled her. The light mage shook her head in fear. Please? No. She hadn't expected the creature in front of her to be the Dark Demon Dragon. According to ancient legends, the Dark Demon Dragon had only appeared once before, during the first war between the light and the dark. The light types and the dark types had joined forces to fight him in that war. No one knew what had happened in that war. The Dark Demon Dragon had disappeared. The light and the dark had both suffered huge losses. After so many years, here was the Dark Demon Dragon again? The situation went from chaotic to outright terrifying. 173 It's the Dark Demon Dragon? Run, Dark Demon Dragon. The light mage's voice trembled. There was little information about the Dark Demon Dragon as it was. There had been only 2 appearances of the Dark Demon Dragon till now. First, during the first war between the light and the dark. Second, at the end of the third war between the same. We're in trouble. The light mage was terrified. It was impossible to win. During the first war, the Dark Demon Dragon suddenly appeared, and the light types and dark types had to join forces to fight the Dark Demon Dragon. However, the light mage knew that this Dark Demon Dragon was different. After numerous years, the dark types had accepted the Dark Demon Dragon as their own. They practically worshipped him. The light and the dark could no longer join hands to fight the Dark Demon Dragon. If anybody so much as looked offensively at the Dark Demon Dragon, countless dark-type heroes would be up in arms. The light mage struggled to get out of the pit. Run, she warned. Run. The 2 light-type heroes stooped in their tracks when the light mage shouted. The red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint, who were no longer held back by the light types, flew to Yuan's side. They stood on each side of Yuan as though they were his left and right commanders. At this moment, the demonic dragon's blessing had expired, and they were in their original forms. Yuan's wings disappeared. She almost fell. The white dragon saint, the red-eyed black dragon, and Yuan looked like bodyguards guarding Yuan from every side. Fortunately, these 2 saved Scammer Su on time. Yuan thought that the white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon had arrived on time and protected Yuan. She assumed they had injured the light mage. Yuan was too tired. She fell from the sky. She had exhausted all her strength. Yuan flew up to her and held her. He looked in the direction where the light mage and the other enemies had escaped. He was in no hurry to chase after them. He restrained himself. He shouldn't kill everyone at once. He needed them to get experience. He would fight them slowly, one after the other. Yuan gently placed Yuan onto the ground. The place was away from the battlefield. The red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint stood beside Yuan like his henchmen. Lord Bevan stared at Yuan with newfound fear. Yuan had been busy fighting the enemy, so she hadn't seen it. But Lord Bevan had seen everything. Yuan's tail flick had sent the light mage flying backward with such force. He had heard the light mage address Yuan as the Dark Demon Dragon. Lord Bevan saw that Yuan's power was terrifying. He finally understood why his hero, the red-eyed black dragon, had joined Yuan. Su Yuan looked at Suan, who was sleeping soundly. She seemed exhausted. He had an idea. Burning Legion. The dimensional portal opened, and the Hellgoblin Knights emerged. Su Yuan chuckled. Go, kill them. To gain experience points, Su Yuan hadn't stepped in to defeat the light types and the other troops. Instead, he had let Suan fight. However, the 3 light types had suffered great losses in the recent fight. Their troops were only at 10% strength. Who knew if they even had the strength to fight with the Burning Legion? They might have used resources to revive their army. This was what Su Yuan wanted. He wanted them to keep using up their resources. If Suan recovered enough to cast another dark destructive light, Su Yuan could gain even more experience points. In the distance, the Hydra was also engaged in an intense battle. However, there was one lord who was idle in that battle. The Lord of the Thorn Fairy. The Thorn Fairy and her lord had lured the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel to fight the Hydra, and then quietly slipped away. The 2 teams engaged in battle didn't notice their disappearance. The Thorn Fairy and the lord had their own agenda. Their plan was a success. The 3 lords and the 3 light types are dealing with Suan and her team, and the Hydra is busy fighting the other 2 dark types, muttered the Lord of the Thorn Fairy, as they shuttled through the forest. Thankfully, no one will notice me. The Lord was thrilled. The Thorn Fairy followed her lord without a word. However, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Have you thought of the consequences of awakening the mythical creature? She asked. The Lord was a member of the Dark Screen. The Lord and the Thorn Fairy were eager to carry out the plan of awakening the Earthcore butterfly. The competition venue was special. It was guarded by experts at other times, barring anyone from entering. So, the Lord had taken advantage of the intercampus tournament as a contestant and reached here. Don't worry, said the Lord. The organization has a way with which they can control the mythical beast. The Thorn Fairy was still ill at ease. She had always felt that the Dark Screen was playing with forces out of their league. The strength of the ancient mythical beast was comparable to Dark Magician Marshall. Once it awoke, it would cause unimaginable destruction. Even the light and the dark combined might not be able to stop the mythical beast. Way to control the mythical beast, thought the Thorn Fairy anxiously. She was uncertain. She felt like she had followed the wrong person. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The Lord seemed to understand her hero's concerns. Don't worry too much about it. If it was a mythical beast at its peak, I wouldn't dare to do it. But this mythical beast is injured and has been sleeping for many years. We still have a chance. 174 A bunch of heroes vs 1. The Thorn Fairy's heart sank when she heard her lord reveal her plan. She was planning to control the mythical beast. The plan was crazy. Will it really work? Asked the Thorn Fairy. It was an ancient mythical beast, after all. The appearance of any mythical beast caused fear. Of course, said the Lord. In this era, there are no traces of any other mythical beast. If we can control this beast, we will be invincible. Even legendary lords can't compare to such a mythical beast. The Thorn Fairy still felt uneasy. Power even stronger than the legendary lord was unimaginable. Only one person had been that powerful, and that was the Dark Magician Marshall. But he had gone missing. Everyone believed he was lost in some distant dimensional space. It was true that there were no traces of other mythical beasts except the one they were looking for. If the Earthcore butterfly awoke and they couldn't control it, it would be a disaster. n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. The Thorn Fairy relayed her concerns to her lord. Her lord nodded. I know, said the lord. But I believe in the organization. Believe in us? We will definitely succeed. The lord continued to shuttle through the forest to the venue. The Thorn Fairy watched from behind, feeling conflicted. The Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel fought with the Hydra until the sky turned dark. When they worked together, they managed to cut off a few heads of the Hydra. However, they were unable to sever all 9 of them. The heads kept growing back, even if one of them was left intact. The battle was never ending. The Fallen Angel still believed that if he and the Dark Enchanter worked together, they could succeed in killing the Hydra. However, they were pressed for time. This was going to take too long. They had vowed to kill the Thorn Fairy in front of Su Yuan, but they had been gone too long. They had deviated from the main mission. This was embarrassing. Regardless of whether they managed to kill the Thorn Fairy, the White Dragon Saint would laugh at them for taking too long. A dragon's roar was heard from afar. It's the White Dragon Saint, said the Fallen Angel. He recognized the familiar roar. The White Dragon Saint was rushing toward them. The Fallen Angel was conflicted. If the White Dragon Saint saw them like this, he would definitely mock them. What should I do? Another dragon's roar followed closely. Another one. The Dark Enchanter looked in that direction in surprise. Birdman, why aren't you done with this battle yet? Said the White Dragon Saint scornfully. Following behind the White Dragon Saint was the red-eyed Black Dragon and Suan with her wings unfurled. The 2 dragons and Suan in her half-dragon form landed on the ground. The Hydra was already having a difficult time dealing with both the Fallen Angel and the Dark Enchanter. There were now 3 more on the scene. How am I supposed to deal with all of them? The Fallen Angel wanted to snap at the White Dragon Saint, but he saw Su Yuan flying behind, so he restrained himself. This Hydra is too difficult to deal with. The Fallen Angel admitted the truth. He also told them what he had discovered while fighting the Hydra. A 9-headed snake, you say, said the White Dragon Saint. Su Yuan didn't say anything. The White Dragon Saint had heard and seen Hydras before, but it shouldn't be too difficult to deal with. Furthermore, the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel had both joined forces. They should have been able to deal with the Hydra. There was no doubt about the strength of the Dark Enchanter. She was the daughter of the Dark Magician Marshal. After all, she was taught by the best. As Dark Magician Marshal was her mentor, the kind of knowledge and training she must have gotten couldn't compare to anyone else. The Fallen Angel's strength was only slightly lower than the Dark Enchanter. He was once the deputy to the King of Heaven. His strength might not be the same as before, but his skill, knowledge, and talent still counted. His experience was not something a nine-headed snake could challenge. How then had these two heroes been unable to take down a snake? It's an elemental Hydra, said the Fallen Angel. The Hydra's lord had been happy until then. His hero was winning. The enemies were shocked at his hero's identity. It was a happy day for him, all in all. However, his happiness was short-lived. He realized that the tides had turned. The situation wasn't in his favor. He now wanted to run as fast as he could and as far as she could. Just when he was thinking of retreating, Yuan launched her desperate battle ability. This is bad. Lord Air cried out. He was so angry that he almost let out a curse. Both lords now had to choose a troop and let them fight in the duel space. You, yelled Lord Air. You think you can win easily? He knew that he would eventually be defeated by the 4 lords and 5 heroes. However, he didn't want to give Yuan the satisfaction of winning the fight so easily. Come, my servants, he said as he summoned his Hydra warriors. Numerous Hydra warriors filled the duel space. Some had 7 heads, some 6, and some only 2. However, there was one with 8 heads. Let's see what you summon to win against me, said Lord Air. He was confident. Maybe he would be defeated by the group in the end, but for now, he wanted to defeat Yuan. 175 We still have hope as long as the Dark Demon Dragon is kept busy. In the face of the Hydra warriors, Yuan was stunned. She didn't even know Lord Air possessed Hydra warriors. She had activated her skill at Su Yuan's insistence. Quickly, Scammer Su, think of a way. Yuan looked at Su Yuan anxiously. She had been playing it safe before, but on Su Yuan's insistence, she had done this. If not, she would have properly investigated the enemy's troops before taking such an action. What's the hurry, said Su Yuan. Yuan felt a little calm, seeing him appear so confident. No matter the kind of danger, Yuan always felt a sense of security when Su Yuan remained calm and confident. It seems like we can only use our trump card. Yuan remembered that she still had a powerful troop, the Dark Dragon Knights. No rush. There is still some time to select a troop type, said Su Yuan. His words puzzled her. Su Yuan seemed to have some tricks up his sleeve. Scammer Su, are you trying to trick someone again? Asked Yuan in a low voice. Based on what she knew about Su Yuan, he probably was planning something quietly. In fact, Su Yuan was planning something. He wasn't just plotting to trick Lord Air. He wanted to end the battle in one fell swoop. If it was only Lord Air, Yuan could summon the Dark Dragon Knights or the Black Gold Behemoths to fight. However, Su Yuan was deep in thought. The current situation was clear. The 3 light-type heroes had fled, but they would be back with their lords. Lena, Gatter, and Bevan were now on Yuan's side. There was Lord Air and another mysterious lord who was left. Su Yuan wanted to trick all 4 lords and their heroes into rushing over where they were now so that he could end them all in one shot. Then, only the Thorn Fairy and her lord would be left. How do I trick those 3 light types and their heroes into coming here, wondered Su Yuan. It's hard to trick someone who already knows who I am. Su Yuan lamented that letting the enemy discover his identity had been a bad move. Now they were too afraid to face him. Su Yuan realized that his plan of garnering experience points would be ruined if things continued this way. I have to somehow create an illusion of me not being able to participate in this battle, thought Su Yuan. But how? Many lords, like Yuan, thought he was powerful and mysterious, but they didn't know the extent of his strength. They didn't know he was the Dark Demon Dragon, so they weren't terrified to fight him, or at least, try to. However, the light types were an entirely different matter. They knew how powerful the Dark Demon Dragon was. If there wasn't a more powerful light type hero, they would never risk confronting him. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The Dark Demon Dragon was too powerful. Even if Su Yuan pretended to be fatally injured, no one would believe him. Just as Su Yuan thought long and hard about the issue, the ground shook. Huge cracks spread all around. It was as if the entire earth was shattering. What's happening? Everyone was shocked. The light-type heroes who had fled saw this too. Their faces were pale. Has the Dark Demon Dragon made a move? As far as they knew, the Dark Demon Dragon was the only one who possessed such terrifying power. Only he could cause such a commotion. Something's wrong. Blue light emitted from the cracks in the ground. The blue light turned into butterflies and fluttered out of the cracks. In an instant, the entire arena was filled with countless blue butterflies. This is the ancient mythical beast. This is not good. The 3 light-type heroes began to panic. Somebody else is involved in this tournament. This was the competition ground. The participants should have been the chosen lords and their heroes. The only one who was closer in strength to the mythical legends was the Dark Demon Dragon. However, the Dark Demon Dragon had just arrived from the hero plan not so long ago. He was not at his peak yet. So, it was unlikely this was caused by him. If it wasn't the Dark Demon Dragon, then who was it? The light types didn't dare take any action. Even after they discovered the Dark Demon Dragon's identity, they were unable to send a message to other light types. Had a stronger hero decided to kill the Dark Demon Dragon before he reached his peak? It was impossible for heroes to cross planes to attack other heroes. Maybe it was the mythical beast who had been unconscious in the Overlord plane all this time. There is still a chance. The Light Mage clenched her fists. The Dark Demon Dragon surely was the mythical beast's target. If the Dark Demon Dragon was held back by the mythical beast, the Light Mage was excited about the possibility. The Dark Demon Dragon had descended to the Overlord plane according to the rules of the three realms, so he was not as strong as he used to be. However, the mythical beast might still be powerful. Maybe it couldn't kill the Dark Demon Dragon, but it could certainly keep him occupied. That was all they needed. We still have hope as long as the Dark Demon Dragon is kept busy, said the Light Mage. 176 Eliminate Su Yuan's Lord. The Starlight Swordsman and the Rainbow Pegasus agreed to the Light Mage's plan. When the Dark Demon Dragon is occupied, we will kill the other dark types and their lords. As long as we eliminate Yuan, we will have won. The three light-type heroes looked at each other and laughed. They thought it would sound beautiful for them to kill the Dark Demon Dragon's lord and defeat the Dark Demon Dragon in the Overlord plane. It would be glorious. If word got out, it would be equivalent to the light types winning the fourth war between light and dark. It's decided then, n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Let's sneak over there to take a look. The three light-type heroes and their lords went to find Yuan. They wanted to watch. If everything went as planned, they could join forces and attack Yuan. They certainly could do it if they didn't have to worry about the Dark Demon Dragon. If he was kept occupied by the strongest in the light types or even the second in command. But it couldn't be them. They couldn't stand against the Dark Demon Dragon. The scene became even more chaotic. Countless blue lights condensed into butterflied and danced in the air. The earth rumbled, and the mountains shook as though everything was about to crash and fall. I've succeeded. There was a loud roar. Countless vines gathered to form a single sky-reaching vine, lifting the Thorn Fairy and her lord from the crack in the ground. The Thorn Fairy's face turned pale, either because she was scared or because she had spent too much energy. As for her lord, she was laughing at her side. He looked mad. Ha ha ha. It's a success. It's a success. Our organization has finally managed to control the legendary, mythical giant beast. The lord's words made everyone understand some things they had overlooked before. The recent developments were related to this lord who had disappeared. Lord Air trembled in rage. He had been tricked. The proud Lord Air, who had been pleased with the other lord's submission, was tricked so badly? The lord who had come to seek refuge with him turned out to have ulterior motives? Everyone, please remember me. I, the great Lord Carla, will rewrite this era. The lord, who had lived with low self-esteem till now, cried out her name. Lord Carla ignored Lord Air and looked at Su Yuan. You are a danger to us all. Through the organization's aid, Lord Carla was able to control the giant mythical beast and had even obtained a portion of its power. Lord Carla knew that Su Yuan was the most dangerous creature at the scene. She didn't know for certain how powerful Su Yuan was, but he was counted as a danger by the organization. I will bury you in the stomach of my giant beast. Suddenly, a hole of blue light appeared under Su Yuan's feet. He fell into the hole. No, Su Yuan. Yuan shouted anxiously. Ever since she had felt the frightening power, Yuan had been nervous. This was the most terrifying enemy she had encountered so far. She wasn't referring to Carla, but the mythical beast behind her. Nothing could compare in size and power to that mythical beast. Yuan saw Su Yuan fall into the hole. She was worried he was in trouble. Ha ha ha, laughed Carla. He has fallen into the belly of the giant beast. Yuan was worried now. What hope was there if Su Yuan had fallen into the belly of a giant beast? The White Dragon Saint and the others panicked too. They wouldn't be worried if Su Yuan was at his peak and had fallen through the hole. However, Su Yuan was in the Overlord plane and had to follow the rules. He was not at his strongest. If Su Yuan had to face the mythical beast in this state, it would be too dangerous even for him. Lord Carla's smug smile did not last long. Her smile froze on her face. What's going on? Her eyes widened in disbelief. No, I have to kill him. We can't let him ruin our plan again. A blue ring of light appeared around Lord Carla. She and the Thorn Fairy entered this light and disappeared. Everything happened so quickly that none of them had the time to react. Don't go, cried the White Dragon Saint. The Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel were also shocked. They all wanted to chase after Carla and ask her about Su Yuan. They wanted to threaten her to release him. But Lord Carla had disappeared along with Su Yuan. Hurry up! The White Dragon Saint roared. They had to find Lord Carla. However, the nine-headed Hydra didn't allow them to leave. You want to leave, said the Hydra. Did I give you my permission to leave? The nine-headed snake laughed. He was suddenly very happy. The few heroes and the lords were in no state to continue the fight. They wanted to leave. The Hydra could see that they were all shaken. Their minds wouldn't be in the fight. So, the Hydra didn't want to let them leave. He could win this fight. If he allowed them to leave and recuperate, they would definitely band together to defeat him later. The Dark Enchanter's path was blocked by the Hydra. Do you have a death wish? She snapped. The two sides fought again. The three light-type heroes were watching. They managed to gather some information from what had transpired in front of them. It's time, said the Light Mage. The Dark Demon Dragon is away dealing with the mythical beasts, and the Hydra is keeping the other heroes busy. If we join hands with the Hydra, we can take Yuan down. They only needed to eliminate Yuan and everything would be alright. Let's go, said the light mage and charged. Oi, nine-headed snake, we are here to help you. The nine-headed Hydra was retreating under frenzied attacks from the White Dragon Saint and the others when he heard a voice from behind. The White Dragon Saint was furious. He and the others planned to get rid of the Hydra and then find Su Yuan. He didn't expect the light types to emerge just when they were in a hurry. At the same time, Su Yuan was in trouble. She had activated the desperate battle already. She had no choice now but to fight with Lord Air. Su Yuan was in no mood to fight with Lord Air. She was worried about Su Yuan, but she discovered something suspicious. 177 Who used the building upgrade stones? N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. The tournament venue was in chaos. The light type's heroes and the nine-headed Hydra joined forces to attack Su Yuan's alliance. Su Yuan, on the other hand, had her own enemy to deal with. That was Lord Air. Su Yuan had activated the desperate battle at the insistence of Su Yuan, and now she had no choice. Once the desperate battle was activated, it could not be retracted. The winner would get all the resources of the loser. Su Yuan had disappeared, but Su Yuan still had to live with the mess he had left behind. Su Yuan wondered whether she should just choose the strongest troops she had, the Dark Dragon Knights. She had Lord Air's multiple-headed Hydra warriors to deal with, after all. The multi-headed Hydra warriors had similar attributes to the Elemental Hydra and were difficult to kill. They were a little different from the Elemental Hydra. They could not similarly regenerate their heads. They had fewer lives. The commander of the Hydra warriors had 8 heads, therefore, 8 lives. The other warriors had 2 or 3 heads. However, there were 100 of them. If I lose now, it will be terrible, muttered Su Yuan. She couldn't lose. If she lost now, she wouldn't be able to revive Su Yuan if she needed to. Su Yuan calmed herself. She thought about it carefully. She was uncertain whether Su Yuan was dead or alive at this point. Su Yuan did not forget that Su Yuan was her initial hero. As long as the territory core was intact, Su Yuan could be revived. Su Yuan had a lot of resources now. If she lost here, it would be the ultimate end to everything. She had to save the resources. If she lost, all their resources would be lost. There would be no hope. Su Yuan decided to send the strongest Dark Dragon Knights. I wonder if the dimensional portal can be opened now. Su Yuan was anxious. When she was fighting before, she couldn't open the dimensional portal. The space seemed to be sealed by some mysterious power. If the space was still sealed, it would be terrible. Su Yuan's consciousness entered her own territory. The dwarves looked up at the sky. Overlord of Death, you have illuminated this land once again. Su Yuan couldn't take it anymore. Her territory was full of the undead, so she was granted the title of Overlord of Death by default. In the past, there were only the skeleton soldiers, dark goblins, and golden behemoths. They did not need to give her a name because they were very few. Ever since the dwarves had come under her command, they sensed Su Yuan's appearance every time. They always greeted her as the Overlord of Death, as though they were greeting their god. Su Yuan noticed that her territory was a little different. What's going on? She asked. She saw black mist everywhere. We don't actually know. The leader of the dwarves shook his head. Another dwarf spoke up. My lord, it's the upgrade stones. Su Yuan had thrown the gems into her territory and asked the dwarves to reforge them. According to the dwarves, some of the gems had floated up into the air and upgraded some of the buildings on their own. As a result, the entire territory looked sinister. The building upgrade stone has acted on its own. Su Yuan's first thought was that it must be Su Yuan's doing. Perhaps he had done something to the stones. The dwarves must be hiding the information because they did not dare speak against Su Yuan. Maybe the dwarves were lying to her. When did this happen? Asked Su Yuan. Just now, my lord. Su Yuan was certain that this had happened after Su Yuan's disappearance. Perhaps it's not Su Yuan who did this, after all, thought Su Yuan. She frowned. Suddenly, she realized something. Something's wrong, she exclaimed. Other than Su Yuan and I, no one else has the authority to use the upgrade stones. Su Yuan was anxious. Did Su Yuan die and was trying to resurrect here? Su Yuan looked around. Su Yuan, are you here? She shouted. Please tell me if you are. Come out. She had never before used the territory core to revive her initial hero or herself. But it was clearly written in the textbooks that the territory core could revive heroes, troops, and lords. However, it was also true that the revival wasn't perfect. The lords, heroes, or troops revived via the territory core would be too weak in the beginning. Su Yuan suspected that Su Yuan had managed to revive himself but was too weak to do anything else. Based on his nature, he would most likely look for a place to hide till he recovered. She shouted out for him but got no response. I don't think he's here. The resources of the territory have not decreased. Su Yuan checked the panel. The resources were as they were before. If Su Yuan had used it to resurrect himself, the resources would have decreased. The number of resources hadn't changed. Su Yuan hadn't used it yet, which meant that Su Yuan was, thankfully, alive. However, the bad news was that he was still trapped in an unknown space without an opening for escape. 178 New ability, Hero Fusion. But who else could use the upgrade stones if not Su Yuan, wondered Su Yuan. No matter how much she thought about it, she couldn't figure it out. In her territory, only 2 people had the authority to make decisions about the territory. It was either her or Su Yuan. Usually, an initial hero did not have such authority as the Lord. But Su Yuan had allowed it to gain his trust. In fact, sometimes Su Yuan seemed to have more authority than her. However, the issue was, if Su Yuan hadn't used the building upgrade stones, who had? Who could bypass the rules of the Overlord plane and play this kind of trick? Let's check it out first. Yuan willed her consciousness to the place where the change was happening. The throne room in the Dark Castle. The Dark Castle had undergone significant change, especially at the center. The castle had grown. It was more majestic than ever before. The throne was entirely made of bones now, with will-o-wisps flickering at the base. It looked ferocious and horrifyingly beautiful. The Dark Castle has upgraded once again, mumbled Yuan in surprise. There is a new ability to turn the non-dark troops to dark type. She was speechless. Why does this ability sound similar to Su Yuan's ability? N/O/vel/B/jn.C//OM. For a long time, Yuan had been thinking about how all her troops had similar attributes. It would be easy for the enemies to figure out a way to defeat them. Therefore, Yuan had been thinking of creating troops with different elemental attributes. It hadn't been easy to turn the dwarven army, but now, she had a skill that could turn the dwarven army into dark types. Really? The dwarves must be lying to me, said Yuan. This really looks like Su Yuan is behind it all. Yuan seriously suspected that this dark castle was upgraded by Su Yuan again. That was why the ability was similar to his. Yuan was fuming. She saw the attribute panel. According to the information in there, only the dwarven army could be turned to dark types for now. The dwarven army can be turned to dark types. There was another ability highlighted. Dark forging, can be used to forge dark weapons. Yuan was suddenly interested in it. She wondered what the difference between ordinary forging done by the dwarves and this new dark forging ability was. She read further to find out that dark forging could be used with blood, corpses, bones, and other materials to forge dark weapons of strange powers. Yuan thought it wasn't very special, after all. Forget it. I need to check other buildings first. Yuan checked and found that 2 places in the territory had been upgraded once again. One was the Dark Castle that she had chosen to upgrade before. The other one was the Dark Arena. She realized that the 2 units she and Su Yuan had chosen to upgrade had automatically been upgraded once again. They had used 2 upgrade stones. The Dark Arena had upgraded and gained new abilities. This is strange, muttered Yuan. How did these 2 buildings upgrade once again by themselves? If other buildings had been upgraded without them choosing it, Yuan would have thought it was an accident. Maybe even a bug in the Overlord plane that was causing it to happen. However, this was too strange. Yuan felt like there was a problem. Let's just check first, she mumbled. Just like the Dark Castle, the Dark Arena had gained new abilities. Venomous insect breeding, troops can be put into the arena to fight. The troop which survives will gather power to transform into unknown fusion creatures. Hero fusion, fuse 2 heroes. During this period, the 2 heroes will enter a temporary fusion state. They can change their appearance and increase their attributes. Yuan finished reading. She had an idea. Fusing the troops now will take too much time. I can just throw troops into the arena and see what they become. The surviving troop would take the powers of the dead troops and metamorphose into some other unique creature that no one knew of. Yuan pushed the thought aside. There was no time for experimentation. She looked at the other new ability, Hero Fusion. This ability was useful for the situation she was currently in. She didn't think that the Dark Dragon Knights would lose. However, she was scared to risk it. She didn't have Su Yuan to rely on any longer, nor the strange buffs that he constantly applied to troops. However, if I use the Hero Fusion, she had no time to think further. She looked at the timer for the desperate battle. The time was up. No, Yuan had been too engrossed in examining her territory that she had forgotten all about the duel. The duel space chose a troop at random for her, the Hell Goblin Knights. Yuan was bitter. The Hell Goblin Knights weren't bad, but they were a far cry from the Dark Dragon Knights. She could have used the Dark Dragon Knights to seal her victory, but she had dawdled too much. With the Hell Goblin Knights, her outcome was uncertain. I don't care anymore, she shouted. I will finish with the duel first. Yuan looked at the duel space. If the heroes fighting the enemy could finish their job quickly, the White Dragon Saint and the others could threaten Lord Aire to surrender. Anyway, it wasn't like Yuan hadn't been in such a situation before. It had been the same with Lord Evelyn and Lord Lena. They were held hostage during the duel, and they surrendered eventually. In both cases, Yuan had won. Right now, it was very important for the heroes fighting the Hydra to win, so they could help Yuan. Yuan was still studying the ability. If she was to fuse heroes, could she use heroes who were not her own? Yuan suspected that heroes of other lords could be used too. Which 2 heroes should I fuse? 179. The fusion of light and dark. Eve. Maybe I can use Eve. Yuan thought about it. She put herself in the Dark Enchanter's shoes and realized that she would definitely not want to fuse with other heroes. Lufaci. The fallen angel was funny and arrogant. Well, mostly he was arrogant. He was only funny with the Dark Dragon Saint. Yuan thought that he would probably refuse to be merged with another hero too. Now, only the White Dragon Saint and the Red-Eyed Black Dragon were left. Both were dragons. Besides, the White Dragon Saint wasn't known for his sense of morality. Perhaps he would not reject her offer. In Yuan's mind, the White Dragon Saint seemed like the best candidate. However, there was a problem. Will the Red-Eyed Black Dragon agree? We don't have much time left to choose. After wasting a lot of time watching the building upgrades, Yuan was now racing against time. She didn't think too much about the issue. Only the two of them are suitable for the fusion, thought Yuan. Yuan opened the dimensional portal once again. She could see the dark arena through the dimensional portal. Fuse, muttered Yuan. The white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon were both dragons. They were probably acquaintances too, so there shouldn't be much conflict when they merged. Two beams of light shot out from the dark arena and flew toward the white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon. What's this? The white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon, who were fighting the enemy, felt that they were being locked on the spot by some kind of power. They became alert and looked at the source of the power. They saw two black beams of light charging toward them. Is it because of her? The red-eyed black dragon's first reaction was disbelief. He felt that Yuan betrayed them. However, the white dragon saint was familiar with Yuan. He saw the dimensional portal behind Yuan and realized she had planned something. Quickly, dodge, shouted the red-eyed black dragon. Before the white dragon saint could react, the light types intervened. The light types thought that Yuan was angry with Yuan's disappearance, so she was attacking the white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon for failing her. They didn't want to let the white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon escape. Don't even think about escaping, said the rainbow Pegasus. Rainbow walls appeared, blocking the red-eyed black dragon's path. D***MN. The red-eyed black dragon was furious. The red-eyed black dragon could not escape. The black beams of light hit them. What's happening? The dark enchanter and the fallen angel, who were still fighting the nine-headed snake, looked at the white dragon saint curiously. They were greeted with a strange scene. The white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon were enveloped in black light. Gradually, they seemed to turn into a pool of mud. The two lumps of mud moved closer to each other and fused. They merged to turn into some new creature. 2 heads, 4 limbs, and wings? One of its heads was black while the other was white. The wings were the same, half black and half white. Roar. The sand and stones went flying because of the roar. Numerous small tornadoes rose from the ground. The nine-headed snake temporarily stopped fighting the fallen angel and dark enchanter. He looked at the white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon. Are they trying to recreate the legendary 5 emperor dragons? The Hydra's voice trembled. He could feel a mysterious and powerful force from the fused monster. The elemental Hydra was a living example of elemental fusion. He knew how difficult it was to fuse 2 different elements to make one creature, especially the light and dark elements. However, it was a perfect fusion. The creature wasn't going mad. Perhaps, these 2 dragons could become something like the 5 emperor dragons. The Hydra was reluctant about the idea. He was an elemental Hydra, created out of the fusion of 9 elements. However, he was still not as strong as the emperor dragons with 5 elemental powers. The emperor dragon's elemental powers could fuse to create a more potent power. However, the elements of the Hydra weren't compatible with each other. He could only use one at a time. The elemental Hydra was only one step away from the legendary emperor dragons. If he could make the 9 elements fuse together, he would be as strong as the emperor dragons. He would be the stuff of myths and legends. However, this one step was too difficult for the Hydra. It was almost impossible. Meanwhile, the white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon fused smoothly. There wasn't the slightest bit of resistance. There was no sign that they were going berserk. What kind of monster is that? The light mage was puzzled. This was the first time she had seen something like that. Was it still the white dragon saint, or the red-eyed black dragon? The fused creature looked at himself. His voice reverberated through the land. I am the Chaos Saint. My purpose is to wait for the return of the king. The creature proudly announced his identity and his mission to the world. The king he referred to was the Chaotic Dragon King. The creature announced that he was the Chaos Saint who only followed the footsteps of the Chaotic Dragon King. Nov. L. B /JNN. This was just a made-up story. Both the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint believed that Yuan would be back. As for the white dragon saint, he ardently believed that Yuan would choose him as one of his envoys. The envoy of the Chaotic Dragon King? 180. The Light of Heaven. Under the special ability of the Dark Arena, Yuan fused the red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint. The new creature that emerged was the Chaos Saint. His power was unparalleled. What's going on? The Hydra and the light-type heroes were all stunned. Soon, someone realized the reason for the transformation. It's that Overlord? She isn't as simple as we thought. The Starlight Swordsman found the key reason for all the chaos. It was Yuan. The Starlight Swordsman saw the dimensional portal. He had also seen black beams of light emerging from Yuan's territory via the dimensional portal. The red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint had fused because that light had hit them both. As expected of the hero chosen by the dark demon dragon. He's really not simple. The light-type heroes were a little relieved they didn't fight the dark demon dragon by themselves before. They felt glad that they had waited to attack after the dark demon dragon was occupied elsewhere. However, even if he was absent, his Chaos Saint definitely posed a threat. They could not begin to imagine how disastrous it would have turned out if the dark demon dragon had been present. This is our last chance. Kill her, n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The light-type heroes were determined. Even if any of us ended up dead here, they intended to eliminate the dark demon dragon's overlord at any cost. The 3 light-type heroes attacked Yuan. The Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel wanted to shield her, but they didn't have the chance to do it. The attack was blocked by the Chaos Saint. He swung his claw, and the 3 light-type heroes were sent flying backward. What a joke. The Chaos Saint laughed. Playing this kind of trick in front of me. Any intended attack on Yuan was a serious provocation to him. The Chaos Saint was an envoy of the Dark Demon Dragon. Since the Dark Demon Dragon wasn't here, he had to protect Yuan's lord as best as he could. Boom! The attack from the Chaos Saint reverberated and hit the ground at a distance. The ground exploded and the earth shook. Everyone had a hard time trying to stand steady on the shaky ground. The 3 light-type heroes almost lost their fighting spirit. They had assumed that their combined attack could overwhelm the Chaos Saint. Even if it was just a scratch, they would have accepted it. But whatever had just happened stunned them. They couldn't even face the Chaos Saint, let alone injure him. Meanwhile, one wave of the Chaos Saint's claws had sent them flying. The difference in strength was just too great. The Rainbow Pegasus was the first to react. He turned to the Hydra. Heimju, let's join forces to fight that creature. The Rainbow Pegasus was sure that the 3 light-type joining forces wasn't enough. They would all probably get beaten up very badly. The Hydra was engaged with the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel at the moment. The Chaos Saint could easily deal with the 3 of them and then join the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel in their fight. The Rainbow Pegasus saw no other choice. He could only drag the Hydra to join them. I don't need you to remind me. I know how strong that enemy is, and we need to join forces, said the Hydra mockingly. The Rainbow Pegasus felt like he was being disrespected. However, now was not the time to argue. The Chaos Saint had already made his move. Fist of Heaven. The Chaos Saint clenched his claws into a fist. His left claw clenched into a fist that contained boundless light. He swung his fist. At that moment, a nameless chant reverberated all around, and a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky. That is, the light of heaven. D*MN. The light of heaven can only be mastered by a light-type hero, said the light mage in disbelief. How is this possible? She was scared now. The light of heaven was one of the most powerful abilities among the light types. The ability could only be mastered by angels, at that. In fact, there were only a few rare angels who could actually use the ability. The light of heaven? Why are you so surprised? The Hydra was confused. He thought the light types would be familiar with light type abilities. The Hydra was not a light type hero, but he felt the power of the ability. However, why were the light type heroes so surprised? Surely, they had a way of withstanding a power that was of the light. You don't understand, said the light mage. It is the light of heaven. Only angels can control it. Furthermore, it was even rare for the angels to have this ability, except for a few of them. The entire angel clan had only been able to use the ability once since the beginning of time. The light mage suddenly understood. The fallen angel? Before Lufaci fell into the dark, he used to be the deputy to the king of heaven. Maybe he had taught it to the others. The Hydra was nervous now. What are you still doing then? Run. The Hydra was puzzled. He felt that he needn't worry about the ability because nothing could ever kill all of his 9 heads at the same time. So, he couldn't really die easily. However, the light types would be eliminated in an instant. He looked at them. Why weren't they running? Surely, they didn't have the advantage of 9 heads as he did. The Starlight Swordsman's face was pale. It's useless to run, he said. The light of heaven will carry out its judgment no matter where you escape to. It will still lock on to you even if you cross dimensions. At this moment, dazzling golden light burst out from the fist of the Chaos Saint. The light hit the Starlight Swordsman. He didn't even dodge. He was bathed in pure, golden light. He looked as though he was in great pain. This is bad, said the Hydra. He was terrified. He realized that he might not be able to withstand the attack after all. He decided to flee. It was as if the 9-headed snake had teleported somewhere else. He was that fast. In the blink of an eye, he covered a massive distance. He appeared far away. Isn't this an easy escape? The Hydra was still puzzled. The Starlight Swordsman had said that the power would lock on to you no matter where you are. But he had escaped so easily. 181 in a single thought. There was heaven, and now hell. They are weak, said the Hydra. The 9-headed snake believed that the light-type heroes were too weak to escape. Light types were perhaps the only ones who could not escape that ability. However, he was the great elemental Hydra, Heimju. He wasn't weak or afraid. He could escape from the light of heaven easily? The 9-headed snake sensed that something was wrong. He looked behind him. The space was distorted, and the golden light burst out from the distorted space. You want to ambush me? The Hydra twisted his body and dodged the attack. Humph, what a joke. The Hydra was full of disdain. Although the opponent's attack was strong, all that power was still useless if it couldn't hit the target. However, after the Hydra dodged the golden light attack, the space above its head began to distort. Golden light burst out from the distorted space once again. Again. The 9-headed snake dodged the attack with amazing speed. However, the surrounding space began to distort once again, and the golden light shot out. Is there an end to this? The Hydra lost count of the times he dodged the golden light. He was tired and gasping for breath. Once or twice had been easy enough, but he couldn't do it forever. He was exhausted. The space began to distort yet again. There was no end to the golden light attacks. The Hydra was so tired. He tried to dodge, but his movement wasn't fast enough this time. The golden light hit the Hydra. His mind began to replay the times he had killed his enemies. They all turned into numerous sharp blades and stabbed him. The Hydra screamed and struggled. Light of heaven, judge the sinners. A majestic voice sounded from the sky. The nine-headed snake raised its head in pain. He saw densely packed golden light swords. The swords hung in the sky, as though they were going to fall and pin anyone beneath them at any time. No, the numerous light swords were going to fall at any given moment. They would stab him to death? The Hydra trembled in fear. The swords would cut him into pieces? As the nine-headed snake wailed in fear, he heard a familiar voice. Heimju, wake up, quick. It was his lord, Air. His lord's voice sounded in his mind. The 9 heads of the Hydra began to come back to their senses one by one. Is this just an illusion? Just as a thought rang in his mind, the scene in front of him changed. He was still standing in the same place. He had not escaped at all. He was enveloped in golden light. Pain? Nov, L, B /JNN. He felt indescribable pain. He felt as though his whole being was burning. It was like being too close to the sun. Besides the Hydra, the 3 light-type heroes were in the same situation. D*MN. The 9-headed snake exerted some strength and scattered the golden light that enveloped him. A mere heaven's light is not enough to destroy me. The Hydra laughed. The Hydra was sure that the power could just make him hallucinate and do nothing beyond that. He had broken free from the light of heaven? Don't talk nonsense. Quickly, help us. There will be another attack. The light mage warned. She was in so much pain that her voice trembled. The Hydra acknowledged that they were on the same side. So, he made his move and destroyed the golden light surrounding the 3 heroes. Humph. Are you sure this is the light of heaven? Just this. The Hydra felt arrogant. When the light-type heroes had described the powerful light of heaven, the Hydra had wondered precisely how powerful this ability was. But this was nothing. Don't underestimate the light of heaven, said the light mage. The true light of heaven can judge all living beings. It will judge your body and soul. The more you sin, the more painful it will be. That caught the Hydra's attention. If the information the light mage gave him was true, then this light of heaven must be fake. The Chaos Saint's light of heaven wasn't as potent as the real light of heaven. We were wrong. That wasn't the true light of heaven, said the Starlight Swordsman. However, it was close. T had all characteristics of the light of heaven. There was no time for everyone to speculate about it any further. The Chaos Saint had already launched his next attack. Claw of Hell. The Chaos Saint had the light of heaven in his left fist, and the Claw of Hell in his right. Black energy wrapped in his right claw and dark flames were ablaze. It looked frightening. As he waved his claw, a strange phenomenon occurred. It was as if hell was projected into the world. Everyone thought they were actually in hell. The world was filled with blazing flames, dusky sky, black earth, and the smell of burning sulfur. In a single thought, there was heaven, and now hell. Can such an ability exist? The Hydra and the 3 light-type heroes were appalled at the Chaos Saint's abilities. He could switch between the power of light and the dark at any time? Fortunately, he doesn't have the power of chaos, said the Starlight Swordsman. He sighed with emotion. This was just a small blessing. Thankfully, the Chaos Saint didn't seem to be able to fuse the power of light and the dark. If that happened, it would produce the power of chaos. If chaos was used, they would not have any hope left at all. Only the legendary chaotic Dragon King had the power of chaos. No other being, no matter how strong, possessed that ability. The Elemental Hydra sighed. As a creature with 9 elemental powers at his disposal, he had always believed he was the closest to becoming as powerful as the Emperor Dragon. He was also the closest to any sort of power of chaos. But he knew that he couldn't fuse all elements to produce the power of chaos. The Hydra looked at the Chaos Saint. The Chaos Saint had more of a chance of creating and using the power of chaos than he ever could. Meanwhile, the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel did not join the fight. They watched from the sidelines. 182 Sentry Tower upgrade, increase in the range of effect. At this moment, the heroes were either watching the show or joining the fight. The duel between Yuan and Lord Air also began. You've lost for sure. Lord Air looked at the Hydra warriors fighting the Hellgoblin Knights and laughed. The Hellgoblin Knights were quite powerful. However, the Hydra warriors had an unparalleled ability, which was the multiple lives they possessed. The Hellgoblin Knights were forced back by the Hydra warriors. It looked like Yuan was about to lose the duel. She almost charged toward Lord Air. Lord Lena, Lord Gatter, and Lord Bevan stopped her. At this moment, Lord Air was on the opposite side of the battlefield. If she charged, she would be killed by the Hydra warriors. Since their heroes had decided to turn to Yuan's side, they didn't want her to die. Yuan, what are you going to do? Asked Lord Lena. Yuan, on the other hand, snorted. I am going to beat him up and make him admit defeat. When Yuan said that, Gatter's face changed. He remembered how Yuan and Su Yuan had plotted against him before. He recalled the bitter past. When Lord Air heard Yuan's words from a distance, he instinctively took a step back. The enemy in front of him was really shameless. This was supposed to be a clear and just duel. Yet, the enemy dared to be so shameless. Lord Air was appalled that Yuan wanted to interfere from outside the duel space to change the outcome. She could do anything to make the Hydra warriors lose. You want me to admit defeat? In your dreams. Lord Air had come a long way. There was no way he was going to admit defeat so easily, especially not when there was hope for him to win. His Hydra warriors were winning. They could defeat Yuan's army. He could still save some face after the Elemental Hydra's crushing defeat. Detestable. Yuan gritted her teeth angrily. She would have shown him if not for the cooldown period of her half-dragon form. She had already changed into her demonic dragon form before and exhausted herself. Yuan frowned in distress. Meanwhile, her territory had changed once again. Something's wrong? What has happened in my territory? Yuan's consciousness entered her territory again and discovered that another building, the Sentry Tower, had been upgraded too. Who did this? Asked Yuan. Yuan had assumed there was a bug in the Overlord plane which had caused the previous buildings to be upgraded by themselves. But why was it happening again? The territory's building upgrade stone has been used yet again without her permission. There must be someone secretly doing this. Yuan was certain that this couldn't be another mistake. Someone was secretly using the building upgrade stones in her territory to upgrade units. Yuan. He was the only one, besides herself, who had the authority to make decisions about the territory. No one else had the power or the authority to do this. However, Yuan had fallen into a hole in the ground and vanished. Yuan didn't have time to think. She looked at the upgraded Sentry Tower. Sentry Tower LVL2, it can increase the effective range of the skills of lords, heroes, and troops in the territory. Yuan was stunned. How was this possible? At that moment, the light mage cursed at her. UB*TCH. You dragged us into this too. Yuan was puzzled. She wondered why the light-type heroes were cursing at her. Her consciousness quickly left her territory and returned to the scene. Yuan looked around and was shocked. It can't be. Yuan realized that the range of effect of her overlord skill, the desperate battle, had increased. Originally, the ability could choose one lord to duel with. However, the increase in the range of effect meant that the duel wasn't limited to just one opponent. The light-type heroes and their lords were affected by it too. Their troops were drawn into the duel space to fight. Only one can live. What a cruel joke. The light mage's overlord spat on the ground in frustration. The three light-type heroes and their overlords were planning on teaming up with Lord Air to defeat Yuan. However, they were all dragged into the duel space. They had to fight each other. The last one standing would be the winner, and the loser's resources would be snatched away. The three lords weren't familiar with each other. Their heroes worked together, so they joined forces too. However, they weren't morally beneath fighting each other if it meant they could survive. Yuan is so selfish. Even when she knows she will eventually get eliminated, she has to involve us in this mess, said one of the lords. Yuan's skill was too destructive. Even if she lost, she would have turned the lords against each other for her pleasure. They hated her at that moment. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. Meanwhile, Yuan was baffled. Her range of effect had increased because of the upgrade of the Sentry Tower. Yuan felt that it had all turned out unexpectedly well. All of them were dragged into this battle. Maybe the three light-type heroes and their lords couldn't fight with Lord Air's Hydra warriors, in which case, it would make things so much easier for Yuan. Yuan was aware that the increase in the number of opponents meant lower chances of her winning. However, she wasn't about to resign to fate just yet. My troops aren't that strong. However, Lord Air's Hydra warriors are formidable. I don't think we can defeat him individually. But you can work with me to eliminate his troops first, said Yuan. After that, I won't really be a threat to you, would I? 3 of you against me? Easy win. Yuan was trying to fool them all. And it was working. They thought that if they worked together to eliminate Lord Air, they could easily defeat Yuan later. However, if they didn't act now, Lord Air would win and snatch away all their resources. After they defeat Lord Air, and then Yuan, they could compete with each other for the final win. For now, it was better for the 3 of them to work with Yuan and get rid of Air. 183 Yuan was the cause of their fear of Yuan. After Yuan offered the alliance, Lord Air became anxious. His troop class was currently the most powerful one that had been drawn into the duel space. By her proposition, Yuan implied that the 3 lords would be losing an ally if they eliminated her first. She had diverted their attention to get rid of Air. If they all joined forces, their troops would be enough to defeat Air. Yuan herself wasn't considered a threat by any of them. Lord Air assumed that her military strength wasn't very effective. The 3 lords were led to believe that they could join Yuan to get rid of Air. After that, they could easily deal with Yuan. D*mit. Lord Air scowled. He was furious. Lord Air was sure that they would join hands with Yuan to defeat him. That was undoubtedly the best course of action for them. We're in danger. The elemental Hydra's voice rang in Lord Air's mind. The battle was at a stalemate for now. The 9-headed Hydra also thought that the lords would join hands with Yuan to defeat Air. In that case, they were really in danger. Lord Air and his hero panicked. Things weren't going in the direction they wanted. Meanwhile, the 3 lords of the light-type heroes were deep in thought. They found Yuan's proposition reasonable. If they killed Yuan, it would definitely mean a reduction in their forces against Lord Air. Could they really defeat Air? Even if they could win without Yuan, they would probably suffer a great loss. If they joined hands with her, they could get rid of Air, and they might not lose so many of their troops in the process. They could then get rid of Yuan in the end. No matter how they looked at it, they realized that Yuan's idea was great. They were not fools. They could see that Yuan was worried about getting eliminated, so she was trying to stall for time. But still, her proposition was logical. They couldn't refuse this chance. It's decided then, declared one of the lords. The other 2 overlords nodded in agreement. They agreed. However, just as they were about to execute their plan, their heroes sent them a message. Don't fall for it. Eliminate Suwon first. She is stealthy and dangerous. The three light-type heroes were not really afraid of Suwon, but they were terrified of her hero, Su Yuan. If they let Suwon stall for time, then Su Yuan would appear soon. If the Dark Demon Dragon returned, they would all be doomed. They needed to eliminate the hero of the Dark Demon Dragon at all costs. The overlords, after receiving the messages from their respective heroes, were perplexed. The three lords had carefully analyzed the situation. Suwon's plan was logical. If they joined hands, they could get rid of the strongest opponent, who was Air. They wondered why their heroes were so impatient to get rid of Suwon. The Lord of the Light Mage relayed the message to the other two lords. They had gotten similar messages from their heroes. The lords weren't very close with each other. They were like students in the same class who rarely talked to each other. They only knew each other because of their heroes. What exactly is going on? n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Why are the three of them afraid of Suwon so much? I feel like they have some personal grudge to settle. They guessed that perhaps the three heroes held a long-time grudge against Su or her hero. That was why they couldn't wait to get rid of her. But that is too reckless. The best course of action is obvious. The three lords weren't very willing to listen to their heroes. They wanted to ask their heroes why they were being so hasty and reckless. One of the lords decided to follow their heroes. Forget it. Let's just agree with our heroes. The three lords of the light-type heroes were not fools. The fact that they managed to make a contract with powerful light-type heroes was proof of their intelligence. They knew the worth of their heroes and didn't want to risk falling out with their heroes for just one simple decision. The three lords looked at Suwon. We want to get rid of you first. Suwon wasn't surprised. She knew that the light-type heroes hated her hero, Su Yuan, who was of the dark type. The light-type heroes could not forget about Su Yuan. Therefore, they targeted Suwon. Their lords, on the other hand, risked their subsequent losses in the inevitable fight with Air and decided to get rid of Suwon first. Suwon had expected this. However, Lord Air was puzzled. He had been preparing for the worst, but the tables had turned. He even felt like the three lords were stupid to have refused Suwon's plan. They wanted to get rid of Suwon, no matter what. Lord Air had nothing to say. He could no longer figure out what was going on. The three lords' decision was strange. Any other person would have snatched the chance to defeat the strongest opponent first. Is this a trap? Wondered Air. He became vigilant. He couldn't believe that the three lords of powerful light-type heroes would make such a stupid choice. Maybe they expected him to lower his guard and then launch a surprise attack. Humph. I see through your little scheme, said Air. If you want to join hands to deal with me, just say it honestly. Why are you trying to act all sneaky and cowardly? Hydra warriors, shouted Air. Kill them all. 184 Su Yuan is the strongest supporter a lord could ever wish for. Lord Air commanded his troops. The three lords and Suwon were equally dumbfounded. Air, are you crazy? Said one of the lords in disbelief. The lords were appalled at Air. Had he finally gone mad? Lord Air scowled. You all are lying to me? A true lord is fearless in the face of the challenges thrown against him? You can stop playing stupid games and challenge me fair and square. Air was sure of the fact that the three lords were plotting something with Suwon. So, he ordered his Hydra warriors to attack them all. The three lords were frustrated. They did not have any ulterior motives. They had changed their minds to get rid of Suwon first because their heroes wanted them to. They wondered why Air was in such a hurry. Wouldn't it be great to watch Suwon die, since she had caused him enough trouble? Meanwhile, Suwon was numb with shock. She had prepared for the most desperate situation, but there was such a drastic change. Suwon expected the three lords to join forces with Air to get rid of her. She sighed. I should have sent the Dark Dragon Knights into the fight, muttered Suwon. Even black gold behemoths would have been fine. Suwon was remorseful. She had been so distracted examining her territory that she had forgotten about the time. The duel space had randomly picked Hell Goblin Knights for the duel. Wait, the territory. Suwon was familiar with what was happening. She smelled a scam. The sentry tower had been upgraded, and it had increased the range of effect for her skill. Suwon felt like she had been scammed. Scammer Su. Suwon felt that her guess was probably right. It was very likely that Su Yuan was behind all this. After Suwon became a lord, the only creature smart enough to trick her was Su Yuan. Apart from her, only Su Yuan had the authority to upgrade the buildings. It was definitely him. Suwon raked her mind for an explanation. Su Yuan wasn't present, but he must have some kind of ability that allowed him to make changes to the territory even if he was far away. That was it? That was how the buildings had been upgraded. But why? Why is he doing it in such a way? Is he trying to tell me something? Suwon thought. All of a sudden, a notification appeared in her mind. Congratulations, Symbiont Suwon. You have obtained a temporary skill, the Demonic Dragon's Blessing. Congratulations, Symbiont Suwon. You have obtained a temporary skill, the Dark Fusion. Suwon was certain of it now. It was Su Yuan. She remembered that Su Yuan had shared abilities with her before in a similar manner. Humph. Scammer Su, I can finally see some of the abilities that you always hide. Suwon's lips curled up in a smile. She studied the abilities that were shared with her. Demonic Dragon's Blessing LVL3 imbues the demonic dragon's aura onto dark creatures, strengthening them. Dark Fusion, fuse two dark creatures of the same race into one creature. The fused creature will have the combined attributes of the two creatures. Yuan was so excited to see this that she almost lost her composure. She calmed herself with difficulty. Yuan is the strongest supporter a lord could ever wish for. After Yuan carefully examined the abilities once again, her heart soared with delight. She had seen Yuan use the demonic dragon's blessing before, and she knew the outcome of such an ability. However, she had never tried to use it. She had one type of buff she had used with her troops before, but that was nowhere near as powerful as Yuan's ability. Only when she used the ability did she realize that difference. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The demonic dragon's blessing enhanced all attributes to extraordinary levels. Isn't this too shameless? Yuan couldn't understand the extent of this ability before, but now she realized how powerful this ability was. She could crush her enemies with this. It was immensely powerful. Once she used this ability, her troops would definitely win. It was no wonder Yuan was so lazy. He had such an ability to do all the work for him, after all. Yuan took a few deep breaths and suppressed the excitement in her heart. She looked at the second ability Yuan had given her. All his abilities are so powerful. It would feel almost shameless to use them. Yuan might not have thought anything about it before. However, after using the ability of the Dark Arena to fuse two heroes, she was now aware of how heaven-defying Yuan's abilities were. The Dark Arena allowed her to fuse troops to create a stronger troop. However, it did take a lot of time. Meanwhile, Yuan's ability, Dark Fusion, was instant. It was also very different from other abilities she had seen before. Dark Fusion could fuse any type of creature to create something else. Multiple troops could be fused in one go. There was no drawback of time, either. The Dark Arena had taken a long time when she had used it to fuse troops before. Yuan's ability did not take time to fuse troops. Even if she used troops to fuse and create ultimate dragon knights, it wouldn't take as much time as it took to fuse two goblins. The Dark Arena had allowed her to fuse two units of the same troop class or two units of different classes. However, Yuan's ability had no such restrictions. She could fuse as many troops as she wanted. She remembered that Yuan had once used this ability to fuse multiple Black Gold Behemoths into Black Gold Behemoth King. With these two powerful skills, who can beat my troops, thought Yuan in excitement. She realized why Yuan always remained so calm under dire situations, while she had worried and fretted over recruiting more troops under her command. Yuan was always sleeping. If Yuan had such power abilities at her disposal, she would have done the same. At that moment, Yuan was confident. Even if she only had a useless slime army with her, she could still win as long as she had such powerful abilities to use. 185 This skill seems almost too shameless to use. The three lords of the light-type heroes commanded their troops to fight with Lord Air. When they caught a glimpse of Yuan's smiling face, each of them felt nervous. They felt that things weren't good. Her confident smile was like a blow to their hearts. They thought Yuan was the weakest among them. But Yuan looked so confident. This is not good. We need to kill her, said a lord. The lords remembered their hero's pleas and decided they must kill Yuan at all costs. The three lords understood that Yuan wasn't as simple as she looked. Cease fire. Let's stop the battle. The three lords spoke up, wanting to stop the fight with Air. They could only hope to work together with him to defeat Yuan. Cease fire? Do you think this is child's play? Air was furious. He did not notice the change in Yuan. He was angry with the three lords for treating this fight like child's play. He was enraged. They almost joined Yuan to kill him, and now they were calling for a ceasefire. Air was appalled at their audacity. Kill them. Lord Air ordered his Hydra warriors. D***MN. Mad dog. The three lords cursed. At this moment, they were entangled with Air's Hydra warriors and couldn't deal with Yuan. This gave Yuan more time. She looked at her Hellgoblin knights. Yuan recalled how Yuan had fused troops before. She analyzed the situation. Let's say the Hellgoblin Knight's combat power is 100. I can fuse them, which will give me a combat power of 200. I can then raise their combat power to 300 with the ability. However, if I raise their stats to 200 first, then, fusing them would give me a combat power of 400. Yuan thought that it would be better to strengthen the Hellgoblin Knights before fusing them. That would give her optimal combat power. Yuan activated the ability, Demonic Dragon's Blessing. Black mists and flames appeared in the dual space and surrounded the Hellgoblin Knights. What's happening? Is an outsider ambushing us? Lord Air didn't understand what was happening. He thought someone else had intervened. However, the light types knew what was happening. They cursed. D***NM, this isn't fair. They could see the black flames and mists. What happened to having a fair and just duel? No one was able to interfere with what was happening in the dual space, allowing the troops to fight inside fairly. The only thing the lords could do was command their troops. However, Yuan had broken this rule. She directly activated the ability to interfere with the troops in the dual space. Someone is cheating, said one of the lords. Unfortunately, there was no judge here to uphold justice for them. Lord Air was a little confused about why the other lords were whining so much. n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. What's so strange about it? Asked Air. She was the one who activated the dual space in the first place. Obviously, she will have more control over it. The three lords fell silent. They had thought the dual space was fair and just, but they never questioned how the dual space appeared in the first place. They didn't know that it was Suwon's ability. If she was the one who activated the space, it was possible that she would have more authority over it. Meanwhile, the black flames and mists that had shrouded the Hell Goblin Knights dispersed. The Hellhounds had transformed into Cerberus, while the Hell Goblins riding atop had transformed into legendary Nightmare Goblin Knights. The 50 Cerberuses and the Nightmare Goblin Knights made their spines tingle. Lord Air and the other lords were nervous at the sight. The Nightmare Goblin Knights wore gorgeous armor with dark blue flames burning on the surface. This is so cool. This skill seems almost too shameless to use. Suwon felt delighted but also strange. Su Yuan's abilities were truly the best? As long as there were enough underlings, Su Yuan's ability could fuse and strengthen them to be able to defeat any enemy. I haven't even used dark fusion, and the outcome is already so great. Suwon smiled in delight. Her smile riled the others, especially Air. He felt that her smile was pedantic and condescending, as though she was mocking him. There is so much I don't understand about Su Yuan, thought Suwon. While Suwon was excited, she was also puzzled. When she had studied the abilities, she had been led to believe that using demonic dragon's blessing on troops would increase their attributes. But it had not implied that they would evolve entirely. The Hell Goblin Knights had evolved into Nightmare Goblin Knights. Suwon couldn't figure out how this had happened. Could it be that the ability I obtained was a little flawed? She wondered. Suwon was vigilant. She remembered that Su Yuan was still a trickster. He had tricked her so many times before. When he had wanted to upgrade the territory core, she had agreed in exchange for being able to see his ability. He had shown her just one. Suwon was doubtful. Perhaps when he had shared the abilities with her, he made sure she couldn't see all the information about them. Maybe he deleted some crucial information and left only the things he wanted her to see. Either that, or there might have been some defects or bugs which prevented her from seeing the full information. No matter what it is, Su Yuan is definitely hiding something from me. Suwon clenched her small fists. She swore that someday she would uncover all of Su Yuan's secrets. However, for now, she needed to deal with the current crisis. In the dual space, the Nightmare Goblin Knights appeared like blue phantoms. The Nightmare Goblin Knights charged through the ascetic army's defense line. D***MN. We should have focused our attacks on her. There had been a chance of killing Suwon for a while. The three lords were filled with regret. They realized that their fight with Air had given Suwon enough time to plan this. 186 We have to hang on till the Dark Demon Dragon returns. It was too late for the lords to feel regret. There was nothing that could be done. Suwon had already interfered and used some ability to strengthen her troops in the dual space. The Nightmare Goblin Knights were like gods of death, charging without restraint. The three lords understood why their heroes were so afraid of Suwon. Air recovered from his daze. He exclaimed in frustration. He realized belatedly that the three lords hadn't been playing tricks on him. They really wanted to kill Suwon first. Let's join forces to deal with her, said Air. However, the three lords shook their heads in resignation. It was too late. The Nightmare Goblin Knights were simply too powerful. They got rid of the Nun army in one fell swoop. The situation had completely turned around. It was impossible to fight Suwon's troops. In front of Su Yuan's ability, you all are nothing. Although Suwon's side was winning, she couldn't take all the credit. That was why she mentioned Su Yuan. It was all because of Su Yuan's ability that she was able to fight the enemies off. After all, the light-type heroes were terrified. This is frightening. As expected from a lord of the Dark Demon Dragon, the light-type heroes didn't know that Su Yuan could share his abilities with Suwon. So, they assumed this was all Suwon's doing. Are we going to do nothing and just wait for death? I will not accept this. The Hydra roared. He was unwilling to accept defeat so easily. The Chaos Saint kept them occupied, so he couldn't do anything about the other situation. Lord Bevan, Lord Gatter, and Lord Lena, who had nothing to do, were watching the battle from a distance. They were stunned. That is so powerful. What a despicable and shameless method. They had thought of going to Suwon's side to support her. However, Suwon didn't seem to need their help at all. I don't have any objections to her winning the championship, said Lord Lena. Before this, she had been a little reluctant in helping Suwon win the tournament. Lord Lena herself had an SSS-class Dark-type hero who was very powerful. Along her journey, she had seen her opponents and enemies being crushed because of her hero. Until she met Suwon, she had never accepted defeat. However, Lena now understood why the Dark Enchanter had bowed in front of Su Yuan and joined hands with Suwon. If Lena and the Dark Enchanter had chosen to fight Suwon, the outcome would have been disastrous. Lena acknowledged not only Su Yuan's strength but also Suwon's intellect. Even when her hero was nowhere to be seen, Suwon used her skill and her intellect to turn the situation around. Both the Overlord and her hero are so mysterious and powerful. Lord Bevan and Lord Gatter agreed too. They saw Suwon's strength. She had proven her prowess to everyone at that moment. Suwon, as a lord, was powerful. They wondered how powerful her hero exactly was. Maybe Suwon is fighting so much because her hero might not be alive right now. Everyone had seen Su Yuan fall into the blue hole. The lords on Suwon's team had gone numb when they realized the main hero that they had been all following was gone. Seeing Suwon holding on so ardently, they thought that Su Yuan might be gone for real. They didn't dare interfere and just watched. Meanwhile, the Chaos Saint had reached the time limit. The Chaos Saint split into the White Dragon Saint and Red-Eyed Black Dragon. The two dragons looked at each other awkwardly. A moment ago, they had been threatening the elemental Hydra, but now, they were back to how they originally were. "What are you standing there for?" said the White Dragon Saint in disdain. "Come and help." He was shouting at the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel. Before this, as the Chaos Saint, both the White Dragon Saint and the Red-Eyed Black Dragon had been confident that they could beat the enemy. Hence, they had ignored the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel who had been watching from a distance. However, they didn't know that their fused form had a time limit. "Humph, you guys are unreliable," said the Fallen Angel and flew to them. With the arrival of the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel, it was now a 4-to-4 fight. On one team were the Hydra and the 3 Light-type heroes. The other team had the White Dragon Saint, the Red-Eyed Black Dragon, the Dark Enchanter, and the Fallen Angel. "It seems that the side effects of your ability are not something to make a joke about," said the Hydra mockingly. The White Dragon Saint and the Red-Eyed Black Dragon flew in the sky unsteadily. They were powerful individually. However, the Hydra was right. The side effects of turning into the Chaos Saint were severe. Their strength was now 1/3 of their original, individual strength. They were exhausted. They could only rely on the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel against the enemies. "We're in trouble." The Dark Enchanter gripped her staff tightly. From time to time, she turned around and looked at the spot where Su Yuan had fallen into the blue hole on the ground. Given the current situation, only he could resolve everything. Either that, or Suwon had to get rid of the Lords of the Light-type heroes, so they couldn't continue fighting. N/O/vel/B/in.C//OM. The Dark Enchanter was more inclined to rely on Su Yuan than Suwon. They had all been shocked by the awakening of the mythical beast and the disappearance of Su Yuan. However, he was the Dark Demon Dragon. He couldn't have died this easily. The most important thing was that the ground was gradually stabilizing. When Su Yuan disappeared, the ground had shaken so much, it felt as though it was going to fall apart into the abyss. The tremors and the vibrations were subsiding slowly. "We have to hang on till the Dark Demon Dragon returns," said the Dark Enchanter. She said it to encourage her team. The Dark Enchanter was sure that the tremors and cracks were caused by the awakening of the mythical beast. However, after Su Yuan fell into the hole, it gradually subsided. So, she believed that Su Yuan might have made the mythical beast fall asleep again. The stabilizing of the ground was undoubtedly related to Su Yuan. The White Dragon Saint and the Red-Eyed Black Dragon nodded. They didn't need to defeat the enemy. They just needed to keep them occupied until the Dark Demon Dragon returned. With Su Yuan's power, the current problem would be solved in an instant. 187 Chaos Realm and immunity to fire. On the ground and in the sky, 2 battles continued in all intensity. Although Su Yuan was physically present, he saw everything. After he had fallen into the blue hole, he ended up in the belly of the mythical beast. Is this what the inside of the mythical beast looks like? What appeared in front of his eyes was a space that was almost equivalent to a small world on its own. There was lava everywhere. The hot lava boiled and bubbled. This should be the stomach acid of the beast. Su Yuan was uncertain of everything he saw. The hot lava rolled up to him as though it sensed him there. The lava was like a huge wave about to crash onto him. Tisk, tisk. This temperature is too high. Even metal will melt in here. Su Yuan didn't dodge. Instead, he activated Chaos Realm. The Chaos Realm was a special skill. The ability was powerful, but it required a collection of 12 elemental hearts to use it to its full potential. Elemental hearts were actually territory cores, and Su Yuan had collected a few of them already. One of the cores he had collected was of the fire element. He activated it. Blazing flames engulfed his body. Su Yuan closed his eyes. He looked like he was enjoying this. He sighed in contentment. The temperature is just right, it's like a hot spring. Su Yuan flew down and plunged into the lava. In the Chaos Realm, activating an elemental heart grants immunity to the user toward attacks of that particular element. This was what made Su Yuan immune to the lava. What a pity! The last 3 elemental hearts are so difficult to find. Su Yuan soaked in the lava. The thought made him a little disappointed. At this moment, 12 energy balls appeared behind him. Su Yuan needed 12 elemental hearts in total. The 9 major elements were easy to find. Even the elemental Hydra had managed to master 9 elements. The 3 final elements were difficult to find. They were time, space, and fate. Su Yuan was thinking of where he could get those 3 elemental hearts. The pillars that erupted from the lava flashed. The pillars were engraved with mysterious symbols. The symbols flashed. What's that? It's so bright that it is disturbing my hot spring bath. Su Yuan was annoyed. The symbols flickered. It was like someone was shining a flashlight in his eyes. Su Yuan yawned. He wanted to sleep. He gently flapped his wings. Numerous blades shot out from the lava and flew toward the pillars. The stone pillars were destroyed one after the other. For a moment, everything was quiet. A crack of light appeared. Lord Carla and the Thorn Fairy emerged from there. "I didn't know you were immune to fire. I miscalculated," said Lord Carla, clearly displeased. She had almost completely revived the mythical beast until Su Yuan interrupted the spellcasting by destroying the pillars. As a result, the mythical beast had continued sleeping. Su Yuan yawned. "So noisy. Can you just let me enjoy my hot spring bath?" Su Yuan's behavior made Lord Carla even angrier. She wanted to rush forward and fight with him. However, she sensed danger from deep within her soul, which made her stop. She knew that she was no match for Su Yuan. Kill him, she said to the Thorn Fairy. Lord Carla knew she wasn't strong enough to fight Su Yuan herself, and she was scared of getting hurt. So, she asked her hero to do it. The Thorn Fairy rolled her eyes at her lord. And how exactly do you expect me to do that in this kind of environment? The Thorn Fairy waved her hand and a vine appeared. But it was instantly burned by the high temperature. Lord Carla was shocked. She didn't know how to deal with Su Yuan. She hadn't thought it would be this hard to get him out when she had made the mythical beast swallow him. She had assumed that the hot lava would digest Su Yuan. However, she now saw he was immune to fire. He was rather enjoying his time here. Lord Carla thought about how she could get Su Yuan out. The Thorn Fairy's ability wasn't strong enough to withstand such high temperatures. Since you don't want to leave, you can stay locked in here forever. Su Yuan noticed that Lord Carla's body was burning with flames. Did you steal the power of the mythical beast? Su Yuan had thought that the Lord had triggered the mythical beast's power by awakening it, causing the earthquake. However, he looked at the Lord more carefully. She must have stolen the power of the mythical beast. Interesting, said Su Yuan. A human shouldn't have been able to withstand such power. The power far exceeds what a human body can handle. But are you mixed blood? Su Yuan was now very interested in Lord Carla. However, when Lord Carla heard this, she almost burst a vein in rage. It looked like he had struck a nerve there. Lord Carla scowled, and the flames around her body burned brighter. It was as though she was going to erupt from all the rage. Although Su Yuan hadn't been specific, the Thorn Fairy could guess that he meant to ask if Lord Carla was a mix between a human and a hero. Relationships between lords and heroes were common. They sometimes stayed together and produced offspring. There were many cases of lords and heroes getting married and spending their lives together. There was nothing strange about it, so Lord Carla didn't need to be so angry. But she looked furious. It was as if it was an obstacle in her life that she couldn't get rid of. Does this have to do something with you joining the dark screen? Asked Su Yuan. Lord Carla looked at him icily. You vile black dragon, you know too much. Yuan was indifferent to the anger and mockery in her voice. He closed his eyes again and immersed himself in the lava. I see, said Su Yuan. You don't want to face your past. Shut up, exclaimed Lord Carla in rage. She was trembling. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The Thorn Fairy tried to comfort her lord. Carla, don't fall for his trap. He is just trying to get under your skin. He doesn't know anything. The Thorn Fairy was earnest. She was Lord Carla's initial hero, and even she was unaware of her lord's past. How could a complete outsider have any idea of it? She was sure Su Yuan was good at observing people and was deliberately trying to provoke Carla. 188 I have the eye that can see through time. I don't know anything? Me? I have the eye that can see through time. I see you and I see your past, said Su Yuan as he opened his eyes. A golden clock appeared in his eyes. The hands of the clock turned back. The Thorn Fairy's eyes widened. The power of time. She was so shocked that she trembled. Her breathing came in gasps. So far, she had only seen 9 elements being used. On top of the list were the light and the dark elements. There were other 3 elements that were so rare that she had never seen anyone use them before. The only example of someone using the space element was when the lords used it to open the dimensional portal. However, this was an ability that the Overlord plane already provided the lords. Another mysterious element was time. Almost no one knew how to learn or control it. Then there was fate, another of the rarest elements. Carla didn't know about the elements as much as the Thorn Fairy, but gauging from her reaction, she realized this was something big. Su Yuan might actually have the ability to see through time to her past. Your mother was a hero, and your father was a lord, said Su Yuan. Of course, mixed blood meant that one parent was a hero and the other, a lord. However, Lord Carla felt that Su Yuan wasn't just making a lucky guess. Interesting. Your father indeed was a lord, but he wasn't your mother's lord. Su Yuan's lips curled into a sly smile. Carla was now absolutely sure that Su Yuan could actually see through time. What he said was true. He was able to see her past. Shut up, roared Carla. Just shut up. The Thorn Fairy was stunned. But she wanted to help her lord so that she wouldn't fall into the lava. She reached to steady her lord, but her hands were scorched, so she retracted it. Carla was burning even brighter. Carla, you have to calm down, said the Thorn Fairy. Our priority is, Nov, L, B //JNN. The Thorn Fairy wanted to remind Carla that they were here to awaken the mythical beast. Su Yuan was the biggest obstacle in their path right now, but Carla was not listening to her. She was hysterical at that moment. The Thorn Fairy fell silent. She had heard all that Su Yuan had said. Carla's mother was a hero and her father was a lord. But her father wasn't her mother's lord. Usually, the contract between a lord and a hero was strong. They depended on and relied on each other. In most cases, feelings developed, and they stayed together. That was certainly not the case for Carla's parents. Carla's mother was a hero in a contract with a lord, but she had a child with another lord. That was complicated. The Thorn Fairy didn't want Carla to dwell in the past that she clearly didn't want to remember. She tried to talk to Carla, to try to calm her down. But Su Yuan wasn't finished yet. He had another ammunition up his sleeves. The encounter between your mother and your father wasn't even a romantic or beautiful thing, he said. Your mother hated your father. Shut up. Carla couldn't take it anymore. She shot a punch at Su Yuan. The terrifying flames shot toward him. Su Yuan was immune to fire only to a certain extent. This was dependent on how strong the elemental heart was. If the elemental heart belonged to a mythical lord, Su Yuan would be immune to all types of flames. It was a pity that the fire elemental heart Su Yuan had obtained was not very strong. Meanwhile, the Thorn Fairy was stunned. If what Su Yuan said was true, Carla's mother was most likely raped by her father. An overlord forced himself on a hero. Moreover, it wasn't even his own hero. It was someone else's hero. The Thorn Fairy couldn't even imagine the pain the hero might have gone through. So, you were born, and now you hate all overlords and their heroes. Is that true? Asked the Thorn Fairy softly. Su Yuan didn't say anything, but the Thorn Fairy had already guessed. Carla, born under such circumstances, must have suffered a lot of bullying and humiliation. Carla hated the overlords. So, she joined the dark screen to eliminate them entirely. She was of mixed blood, which helped her to act as a spy in the overlord plane. Shut up, cried Carla. All of you, just shut up. Carla pushed the Thorn Fairy away from her. The Thorn Fairy fell. She shot out a vine that wrapped on one of the pillars and pulled herself up. However, the vines burned. She created vine after vine to stay on the pillar. But no matter how many vines she made, it didn't matter. The Thorn Fairy eventually fell into the lava. You'd * Ned Black Dragon, I will kill you. Carla, covered in flames, flew toward Su Yuan. If the enemy was immune to fire, she would use physical attacks. She would do anything to end him. Carla punched Su Yuan on the back. Su Yuan yawned. Thank you for massaging my back. Clang, clang, clang. Carla was blinded by anger. She threw punch after punch at Su Yuan. However, it was futile. Those punches were akin to back massages for Su Yuan and nothing more. Carla gradually calmed down. She realized the huge gap in strength between her and Su Yuan. She couldn't hurt him. However, at that moment, something strange happened. A pendant on Carla's neck suddenly burst into light. 189, the First Saint. Carla, you've done well? Just leave the rest to us. A voice rang from Carla's pendant. Something strange was happening. Carla's body was restless. The flames around her surged. Ah! Carla screamed. She was in pain. Carla, shouted the Thorn Fairy. She was trying hard to pull herself up with her vines, but they kept burning. However, she didn't seem as worried about her own situation as much as she was worried about her lord. Su Yuan didn't intervene. He just watched quietly. No, cried Carla. What are you doing? Carla felt like she was going mad. Her powers surged, but it felt like she was losing her sanity. Her body expanded. It terrified her. If it kept expanding like this, she might explode. Everyone within reach, whether it was Su Yuan or the Thorn Fairy, would die. Use your destructive power to awaken the beast. This is an opportunity for you. You should feel honored as a member of the organization, said the voice from the pendant. Carla was shocked. First Saint, what do you mean? This is not the plan. The person speaking via the pendant was the First Saint of the dark screen. This wasn't the plan, said Carla. They had planned to use a special method to awaken the beast. Carla was supposed to steal the mythical beast's power for herself and wake the beast. Then, she could control it. If a destructive power was used to wake the mythical beast without anyone to control it, the consequences would be disastrous. Nobody could stop the beast if it wasn't shackled and controlled by someone. They had a plan to awaken and seal the beast. So why were they changing the plan now? Carla was about to ask when the voice became enraged. Foolish girl, said the First Saint. From the beginning, the plan was this. Our only goal is to wake Lord Lan Yu? You think any stupid person can control Lord Lan Yu? Su Yuan listened quietly. Carla and Thorn Fairy became agitated. They knew about the plan, followed it at every step, and they had waited to awaken the beast. But they didn't want it to wreak havoc. It seemed they both had been fooled by the organization. The First Saint only had the intention to awaken Lord Lan Yu. The contemptuous voice didn't care about anything else. The First Saint was a fanatic? Su Yuan gathered as much from the short conversation. The First Saint sounded like a fanatic who despised all living beings and wanted them to suffer. Ah! Screamed Carla. She was almost at her limit. She would explode soon, and the destructive power would kill the Thorn Fairy and release the mythical beast into the world. She didn't have much time left. Carla looked at Su Yuan pleadingly. Please, kill me, she said. Hurry, kill me before I explode, and the destructive power awakens the mythical beast. Carla begged him. She couldn't live with the betrayal. Since she was going to die anyway, she didn't want to give the First Saint the satisfaction of her death being a success for awakening a disaster. Carla had accepted her death. She now only had one request. She wanted to die on her own terms. She didn't want the First Saint to succeed. The First Saint laughed. Kill you? That poor hero can't even save herself from falling into the lava. How will she muster the strength to kill you? Carla was in so much pain that her mind went blank for a moment. She didn't know what the First Saint was saying. The First Saint was referring to the Thorn Fairy. The First Saint can't see the Black Dragon, wondered Carla. Please, Black Dragon, kill me. Carla pleaded. I won't let his plan be a success. Black Dragon, said the First Saint in surprise. Where did this Black Dragon come from? Carla, are you trying to trick me? Do you not see that there is no point to your whining? n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Carla was puzzled. The first saint didn't seem to sense the existence of Su Yuan. Is it because the black dragon is far away for the first saint to sense his existence through the pendant? Or is it because the black dragon can mask himself to escape observation? After seeing what Su Yuan would do, Carla was more inclined to believe the latter. If that was true, it would be so easy for Su Yuan to impede the first saint's plan. Carla looked at Su Yuan. He stared back at her, unmoved. Su Yuan seemed indifferent about the problem at hand. Carla fumbled in her pockets and took something out. Here, you can take this, she said as she threw something at him. Su Yuan reached out and grabbed it. It was the competition gem. Kill me, said Carla. And please save her. She pointed at the thorn fairy. The thorn fairy was trying her best to create more vines to pull herself up the pillar. However, the vines kept burning away. She was getting closer and closer to the lava. Su Yuan shook his head. This is not enough. With this gem, I can only fulfill your request of ending your life. To save her, I want something else. The first saint's voice was agitated. Who is it? Who can actually block themselves from my observation? 190 The dark crystal. The first saint realized that something unexpected was going on. His pan had taken an unforeseen turn because of something else's existence in the belly of the beast. Who is it? The first saint's voice reverberated throughout the place. No one bothered to respond to the voice. Carla was thinking about what she could offer Su Yuan to save the thorn fairy's life. The more she thought about it, the more disappointed she became. She had nothing else to offer. Su Yuan would definitely not be interested in silly, ordinary things. He had taken the gem because it will help with his lord's ranking. However, Carla had nothing else that was of value, except. Carla took a gamble. She had one thing in her territory that she hadn't had the time to examine. Perhaps that might be enough to entice Su Yuan. Nov. L. B /JNN. A rhombus-shaped black crystal appeared before Carla. Will this be enough? She asked. She was afraid Su Yuan would reject it. However, Su Yuan was no longer indifferent and lazy. He appeared suddenly alert. The dark crystal. You are lucky, he said. That thing is not of any importance to most people. But to me, I have a use for it yet. The dark crystal flew toward Su Yuan. He snatched it from the air and swallowed it. Burp? Not bad. I got a skill enhancement point. Su Yuan was satisfied. I have given you all I had, said Carla. It's time you fulfilled your end of the bargain. She was at her wit's limit. She couldn't hold on any longer. No. Two voices reverberated. One was from the thorn fairy, who couldn't watch her lord die. The other was from the first saint. The first saint couldn't enter the arena and thus could only express his grievances through the pendant. The first saint was in a dilemma. He couldn't sense Su Yuan, but he heard him. Su Yuan was a threat. Hurry, said Carla. I can't hold on any longer. Please, keep your promise. Su Yuan flapped his wings and flew into the air. The air from his wings created a storm that lifted the thorn fairy and swept her away. Stop, shouted the first saint. Do you even know what you are doing? He could finally see a blurry shadow through the pendant. However, there was nothing the first saint could do, other than shout at Su Yuan. Dark destructive light. Su Yuan muttered softly as he activated his ability. A black pillar of light burst out from the lava. Carla was in the black pillar. Dark demon dragon. The first saint discovered the identity of the existence that had thwarted his plan. D*MN. Why are you here? The first saint felt anger, helplessness, and uncertainty. No one knew how exactly powerful the dark demon dragon was. The dark demon dragon was the stuff of myths and legends. He had once made the light types and dark types both tremble in fear. After that, the dark demon dragon disappeared. It was only recently that the dark demon dragon had appeared in the hero plane once again. Even the first saint didn't know how powerful Su Yuan was. The first saint had encountered a mythical beast before, so he understood the strength of a mythical beast. As for the dark demon dragon, the first saint assumed he was as powerful as the mythical beasts. The dark demon dragon might even be an existence that could surpass the mythical level. However, he had chosen to descend to the overlord plane as a hero. Even faced with a weakened dark demon dragon, the first saint couldn't do anything but watch helplessly. The black light washed over Carla. Her body began to dissipate bit by bit. This was the power of the dark destructive light? It annihilated everything in its path. Carla turned to look at the thorn fairy in her last moments. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey, she said softly. The thorn fairy clenched her fists as she was blown to one of the pillars for safety. If the territory core was intact, a hero could be resurrected in most cases. However, this was the dark light. It annihilated everything. Carla couldn't be resurrected even if the territory core was intact. When Carla's body dissipated into a million tiny fragments of light, the thorn fairy received a notification in her mind. Her contract with Lord Carla had ended. The contract between a hero and a lord could only be terminated if both parties were willing, or if one of them died permanently. The lava churned and the entire world shook. Carla's death wasn't the end. Ha ha ha. The first saint laughed hysterically. It's no use. It's too late. Lord Lan Yu will wake up. The pendant broke in the dark light, and the first saint's voice disappeared. Su Yuan was facing a problem at this point. The power of the mythical beast formed a vortex. The suction effect of the vortex was so powerful that it was trying to pull Su Yuan into it. So, the chaos realm doesn't work here. Su Yuan was amused. His chaos realm didn't work at that moment because the vortex wasn't formed by any kind of elemental power. It was the mythical beast's pure, unadulterated power. 191 Entering the brain of the mythical beast n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Su Yuan flapped his wings in an attempt to escape. But it was useless. The terrifying vortex still pulled him in. The thorn fairy had already been sucked into the vortex. In the center of the vortex, Su Yuan came upon something like a time corridor. Through this corridor, he saw the changes that had taken place over countless years. After a long time, Su Yuan felt as though he was thrown out of the vortex. "Your Majesty, where are we?" asked the thorn fairy. "What is happening?" When the first saint revealed the identity of Su Yuan, the thorn fairy finally understood who he was. Since then, she has been very respectful to Su Yuan. Although he would have left her to die if he had wanted to, she didn't have any resentments toward him. "This place," said Su Yuan, looking around. Numerous blue butterflies were flying in space. Blue rays of light pierced through the air, making the whole space feel dreamy. Su Yuan didn't respond. He flapped his wings and flew forward in the blink of an eye. He discovered something. The blue butterflies converged, making a brain-like shape. Su Yuan realized that this place was the brain of the mythical beast. He relayed this to the thorn fairy as she reached him. She was surprised. However, she accepted his explanation without hesitation. They had been in the abdomen of the mythical beast before. It was possible that this was its brain. The thorn fairy moved closer to the huge brain-like shape formed by the butterflies. She reached out and touched it. Her eyes widened. "Your Majesty, we can see the outside world through this." The thorn fairy's purpose was clear to her now. If she wanted to take revenge against the first saint for the death of her lord, she needed to escape this place alive. She was excited to discover that she could see the outside from this place. Su Yuan flew over to her. His claws gently touched the formation as well. The vast world outside was visible to him. The entire Overlord Plain was laid out in front of him. However, the land where the lords competed was just one among many others. There was also an island in the corner of the vast ocean. "This is the corpse of the Earth Core butterfly." Su Yuan was undoubtedly a little sentimental at that moment. The island looked huge. It was like a subcontinent. The entire landscape was part of the mythical beast's body. There they are. Su Yuan saw Suwon's team fighting hard with the opponents. "Can I look further than this?" Su Yuan was curious. His vision shifted. He saw a strange place. Black stone pillars emerged from the ground. The pillars seemed to form a hexagram. Su Yuan narrowed his eyes. He frowned. In the middle of the six-pointed star was Suwon's territory. He had never noticed how Suwon's territory looked from a distance. The black stone pillars were so far from each other that they weren't marked on the map. It would be difficult to find them all and then see the bigger picture. The stone pillars formed a hexagram pattern when seen from afar. "Interesting," muttered Su Yuan. He realized that the 6 stone pillars represented Sunken City's area. That was where the ruins of the ancient empire were located. The Sunken City ruin had appeared recently. Numerous lords had rushed in to investigate and gather resources. However, the ruins had sunk into the ground once again. It seemed as though they were gone. That ancient empire is finally going to reappear. He looked at Suwon's territory. "If I can see the territory, can I make some changes to it from here?" he wondered. Su Yuan thought he might as well try it. They had collected several gems and given them to the dwarves to reforge them into building upgrade stones. Su Yuan tried it and found out that he could, in fact, use the upgrade stones on the buildings in Suwon's territory. This thing was useful. Su Yuan wished he could just take away the brain of the mythical beast. It would be so useful for long-range attacks. He could probably crush any enemy's territory with this. This was the time Suwon had discovered the strange changes in her territory. However, Suwon was in trouble now. The Chaos Saint's time was up. Suwon commanded the Nightmare Goblin Knights to kill Air's troops and the troops of the other 3 lords. She received a prompt in her mind. It informed her that she had gained all the resources of the 4 lords. The victory was hers? Suwon wondered what use the resources were if she couldn't win the tournament. However, she was a smart person. Even if she didn't win this tournament, she would still have the resources that could be used to develop and strengthen her troops and her territory. Suwon successfully defeated Lord Air and the other 3 lords. The desperate battle ended. Her buff on the troops also ended. The abilities were on cooldown now and could not be used. The other battle wasn't looking so good. The White Dragon Saint and the Red-Eyed Black Dragon were exhausted as a result of the transformation they had undergone before. It was only a matter of time before they would be defeated too. The Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel couldn't fight the enemies by themselves, after all. Suwon knew that the chance of her winning this battle was slim. It was very likely that the enemies would band together and seek to eliminate her directly this time. However, she was happy with the resources that she had plundered. Even if she got eliminated here, it would all be worth it. 192 Your Majesty Lan Yu. Su Yuan could see everything from where he was. He was trying to figure out a way to leave the body of the mythical beast. He was afraid that if he didn't make it on time, Suwon might really lose. Since I can see the outside world and make changes to it, perhaps I can steer this body to move. Su Yuan pondered on that possibility. Lord Carla had been intending to control the mythical beast. Su Yuan thought that maybe he could control this thing too since he had more knowledge about this matter than Carla. Su Yuan tried to connect to the brain at a deeper level to see if it would work. Previously, he had only just touched it and could make changes to the outside world. If he could make a deeper connection, it might just work. Your Majesty, exclaimed the Thorn Fairy. The world has changed. Her voice was a little flustered. The brain made up of numerous butterflies was still there. However, the surroundings became very scenic as though it was outdoors. Does this mean we are outside now? Asked the Thorn Fairy. There were flowers, grass, and water on the ground. There were even mountains. However, for some reason, the Thorn Fairy couldn't sense the essence of the plants and flowers. As a nature hero, the Thorn Fairy was constantly in contact with nature. She could sense the essence of the plants and flowers and even mountains. But in this space, she felt nothing. Su Yuan was also surprised at the sight. Maybe not yet. He glanced at the brain in front of him and knew that they hadn't left the place yet. However, the surrounding had changed somehow. The Thorn Fairy looked around. She saw the Snow Mountain, which was the tallest landmark in the Overlord Plain. She realized that they were still in the competition arena. Something is not right, muttered Su Yuan. He realized that Snow Mountain was shorter than it was before. He had climbed the Snow Mountain when he had accompanied the fallen angel to ambush the Radiant Envoy. He knew how tall that mountain had been. The Snow Mountain in front of him seemed shorter. Is this an illusion? Said the Thorn Fairy. Maybe the brain can't completely imitate the world outside. Su Yuan was in a dilemma. He had consumed the dark crystal before, and gained a skill enhancement point. He wondered which ability he could enhance that could help them get out of the current situation. This is troublesome. Everything here feels strange. I can't enhance an ability without understanding things properly. Su Yuan thought it wise to wait a bit to figure out exactly what was happening. Su Yuan didn't want to waste a skill enhancement point by upgrading an ability that might not be useful. True Eye of the Demon Dragon. Su Yuan activated his ability. The true eye of the demon dragon could see through any illusion. The eye on Su Yuan's chest slowly opened. A demonic eye stared at everything. It saw through all the illusions. Su Yuan could see it too. He could see everything in front of him clearly. The world was made up of numerous blue butterflies. The essence of the world was the butterflies. There was nothing in the space except the blue fluttering butterflies. It meant that Su Yuan and the Thorn Fairy hadn't left the body of the mythical beast yet. They were still inside. Su Yuan had expected it. He didn't think, even for a moment, that they had been suddenly expunged out into the real world. Su Yuan noticed a crack in the space through which sunlight filtered through. A ray of light burst from that gap. A unicorn appeared on the imaginary land. Your Majesty Lan Yu, said the unicorn. It's you? I can sense it. It is really you, isn't it? The unicorn stared at the land in front of it. I can't believe that human overlord put you to sleep here. The unicorn's mutterings gave the Thorn Fairy and Su Yuan an idea of the type of bond the creature had with the mythical beast. Your Majesty, we fought countless battles. It was glorious. Those who followed you turned out to be unreliable stards, said the unicorn. After you fell asleep, they all scattered. The unicorn muttered to itself, reminiscing the past. Today, after countless years, I have finally found you. Your Majesty, please wait for me. I will wake you up at all costs. The illusionary image disappeared, and with it, the unicorn. Time seemed to fly past. Day changed into night, and then into day rapidly. Seasons changed. The unicorn visited a few more times. Every time the unicorn visited, it relayed the progress of its plan to the sleeping beast. So, that is the first saint of the dark screen. The Thorn Fairy was surprised. The unicorn had never once said that he was the first saint, but, from what she saw, the Thorn Fairy guessed that the first saint must be the unicorn. This must be the mythical beast's memories, said Su Yuan. However, he wasn't sure. Nov. L. B /JNN. It seemed highly likely that this was how the mythical beast remembered things. It had sensed the unicorn's visits. It could hear him speak. However, it couldn't respond. The mythical beast was in a somewhat vegetative state. It couldn't move or respond, but it could still remember. It was very clear about everything that happened in the outside world. 193 The buried memories of the mythical beasts kept emerging. Did the mythical beast hint at the unicorn all this time? Asked the Thorn Fairy. She speculated that the mythical beast might have influenced the unicorn in one way or another, which led to the birth of the dark screen and everything that had followed. Who can say for sure? Su Yuan muttered. The scenes changed rapidly. Time was reversing at a speed that was impossible. Scenes flitted past. Su Yuan wanted to know how the mythical beast had fallen in the first place. Light type. The Thorn Fairy's voice trembled. She couldn't believe it. According to the legends, there was an intense battle between the mythical beast and an overlord. The overlord had then defeated the beast and put it to sleep. However, in the images that flashed by, the Thorn Fairy had seen something important. Gorgeous wings and scattered feathers. It was someone of the light type. Did the light types participate in the fall of the mythical beast? How did I never hear about this? The Thorn Fairy was puzzled. She felt that there were things that she didn't know about. Things that might have been hidden from everyone. But she saw it in the images flitting past. An 18-winged angel. Su Yuan's voice was heavy. An 18-winged angel was a powerful being. Nov. L. B /JNN. The mythical beast was injured by the 18-winged angel before it fought the overlord, said Su Yuan. The information was different from what they had been led to believe. Legends said that the mythical beast was defeated by an overlord of a mythical level. There was no mention of an 18-winged angel. The light types are hiding something, muttered Su Yuan. What are they planning? Wondered Su Yuan. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough information to make a guess. The scene changed again. Time continued to flow backward. The buried memories of the mythical beasts kept emerging. In the blink of an eye, time flowed backward to show them the ancient past. The world was split into two halves. One half covered the earth in eternal darkness, while the other bathed it in golden light. The first war between the light and the dark, mumbled the Thorn Fairy. She had heard about it before. The light types and the dark types clashed in a soundless battle in the scene. The ground was covered in corpses and blood. A strange phenomenon shook the sky. It was the power of time. There was a being who controlled time itself, said the Thorn Fairy in awe. As the clock reversed, a terrifying creature emerged from the sky. A giant dragon came out of the clock. What's that? The Thorn Fairy's eyes widened. I've never seen such a terrifying creature before. Gradually, she remembered what it was. The Dark Demon Dragon. The Thorn Fairy was aware of the legend. The Dark Demon Dragon had appeared in the first war between the light and the dark. It had then disappeared. She turned and looked at Su Yuan. He was still the same. He had the same scales, the same wings, and the same eye as the Dark Demon Dragon from the images in front of her. The only difference was the 12 dark energy balls. Su Yuan counted. 11 of the energy balls were lit up in the scene. Only one was missing. The final element was fate. Out of the 12 elements, 9 were easy to find. 3 were rare and difficult to find. Those were space, time, and fate. His chaos realm was alright for now. Some strange races had mastered the space element. He had the true eye of the Dark Demon Dragon, which was linked to the power of time. He could reverse time. If he used his skill enhancement point on the eye, the time domain could improve. The only element Su Yuan had absolutely no clue about was fate. Su Yuan stared at the Dark Demon Dragon in the sky, which was staring right back at him. It was himself? He was looking at himself? Su Yuan wondered if he could travel to the ancient past instead of just watching the scenes. Perhaps if I strengthen the true eye of the Demon Dragon, I can time travel to the first war. The situation didn't give Su Yuan much time to think about it. The ancient war flitted past, and everything descended to chaos. In a daze, Su Yuan looked at a huge dragon. Its eyes were as big as the galaxy itself. The 12 energy balls were fully lit. The scene also disappeared in a flash. Before he could see anything clearly, everything disappeared. When Su Yuan came back to his senses, he found himself still in the body of the mythical beast. 194 This is a war between the light and the dark, let's leave? The familiar space returned. Numerous butterflies danced and fluttered in the air. Su Yuan slowly saw the brain formation in the center. Everything that Su Yuan had seen had been from the memories of the mythical beast. He sighed. Your Majesty, said the Thorn Fairy. If everything we just saw was from the mythical beast's memory, does it mean it was present during the first war? Her question made Su Yuan ponder the possibility. He did not know how powerful the mythical beast was. Was it at the mythical level even back in the first war, or was it just a tiny pawn in the great scheme of things? I also think that the grudge between the light types and the dark types isn't as simple as it looks. Su Yuan had transmigrated into the Dark Demon Dragon. However, he didn't have a clear recollection of his past. But the Thorn Fairy was different. She had lived in the hero plane and knew the light types. She knew more about the situation than Su Yuan. From what we know so far, it's different from the legends. The legends talked about the mythical beast as a creature that wreaked havoc across many worlds. But it seems light types had something to do with its downfall, said the Thorn Fairy. Then an overlord fought it and left it unconscious to sleep forever in the overlord plane. If what the unicorn said was true, then the mythical beast was building its empire like an emperor. The light types had no reason to interfere unless the mythical beast was somehow related to dark types, said the Thorn Fairy. Su Yuan was puzzled. However, he didn't have much time to think about it. The scene had changed again. The brain formation made up of numerous butterflies flashed and flickered. This is not good, exclaimed the Thorn Fairy as she sensed a terrifying power. She was familiar with the power. It was the same power that had engulfed Carla and almost made her explode. The Thorn Fairy guessed that the brain formation was going to do the same. If it detonated, it would not only destroy the place they were in but also obliterate the whole arena. Su Yuan frowned. The arena itself was on the back of the mythical beast. The mythical beast was still asleep. If it exploded, Yuan and the others wouldn't be able to escape. The blue brain formation flickered in rapid succession. Everything became chaotic. The mountains shook. It wasn't just the mythical beast's body that was shaking. The place, where Yuan and the others were engaged in battle, also shook violently. Oh no, that thing is here again. The light-type heroes took advantage of the opportunity and attacked the White Dragon Saint and the other heroes. However, as the tremors increased, their faces turned pale. The elemental Hydra had an idea. He looked at his lord. Let's retreat. The nine-headed snake realized that something was terribly wrong. It wasn't just the mythical beast that was bothering the nine-headed Hydra. Did you notice that all the heroes are either of the light type or the dark type? If we continue, we will be dragged into their war. The nine-headed Hydra was certain that a fourth war between the light and the dark was unavoidable. Even in this small fight, the heroes were mostly of dark type and light type fighting against one another. The Hydra knew that things were going to escalate. What? Air was unwilling to abandon the fight. He didn't understand what his hero was trying to say. He didn't care about the light types and the dark types. He just wanted to win the tournament. We can't get involved in this mess, said the Hydra firmly. Lord Air was also exhausted from the last fight. Seeing his hero was reluctant to get involved, he decided to listen to his hero. Let's go, said the Hydra. We have to leave quickly. Otherwise, it will be too late. Air was perplexed. Leave, he said. But how are we going to leave? The competition hasn't ended yet. You are right, said the Hydra. We can only leave after the tournament ends. We have to end it fast and leave. Air didn't understand how they could end the tournament fast. He thought about it. He suddenly realized. You don't mean, you're saying we need to willingly get eliminated by leaving the arena. It didn't matter who was the winner. The Hydra was worried. They could leave the arena, but that would mean they were eliminated. But we can't just leave. Won't it look cowardly? Asked Air. He didn't want to accept it. The Hydra didn't hear his lord. He was preparing another attack. He gathered a terrifying power and created an energy ball in the sky. What is that snake doing? Now is not the time to fight each other. The light-type heroes and the opposing teams were all puzzled. They didn't understand what the Hydra was doing. The world in front of them had changed, and an unknown crisis was waiting to happen. Under such circumstances, shouldn't everyone observe and decide their next course of action? N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. On the contrary, the nine-headed Hydra was planning another attack. The terrifying energy ball did not fall toward the three light-type heroes or the dark-type heroes who were fighting them. Instead, the energy ball fell toward the Hydra and Lord Air. This was the method the Hydra had chosen for their exit. He decided to end things in this way. The Hydra was going to kill himself and his lord, so they could leave the arena. As a hero and a lord, they could revive themselves in their territory. But Heimju, our resources, said Lord Air. His resources were all snatched away by Yuan. Our territory doesn't have any resources right now. The nine-headed snake belatedly realized this fact. He was stunned. 195 The end of the intercampus tournament. The nine-headed snake had thought of every kind of possibility. There was a reason for him to choose to end themselves in this manner. It was obvious that he was in the middle of a war between the light types and the dark types. It would be troublesome if this continued. That was one of the reasons. The other was that the Hydra was worried about the mythical beast and its power. If the mythical beast's power could overrule the Overlord Plane's laws, then it could destroy him and his lord permanently, without his lord being able to revive himself. At that time, even the territory core might not be able to revive the Overlord. So, the Hydra had chosen this way, so that they would be gone before the mythical beast awoke. He had the safety net of the territory core and a possibility of revival for both him and his lord at their territory. However, he had failed to consider something. Lord Air's resources had been snatched away. The terrifying energy ball was very close to them now. The rocks on the ground were crushed. The plants and trees were blown away. It was too late to avoid it. The Hydra didn't know what to say. He had made a grave mistake that would cost him his life and his lord's. Boom! The energy ball descended on the Hydra and Lord Air. The impact pulverized them to the ground. It's over. Why was the Hydra such a coward in the end, said the Light Mage. She had thought the Hydra was going to attack them instead. But the stupid snake had blown himself up along with his lord. She didn't understand why the Hydra had used such a drastic step to escape from the situation. When the Hydra and Lord Air were reduced to dust, a gem was left behind where they had stood moments ago. It was the competition gem. Yuan had managed to get all the gems except Lord Air's and Lord Carla's. She didn't know that Yuan had already obtained Carla's gem. Yuan saw the gem and got excited. It's really the end for them. She had been momentarily stunned when she saw the energy ball. She thought she was finished. However, she had never expected that the Hydra would choose to commit suicide. The Hydra had even killed his lord. Without the Hydra, the outcome of the fight looked positive. The White Dragon Saint and the Red-Eyed Black Dragon were exhausted, but they were more than enough to deal with at least one light-type hero. Meanwhile, there was the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel to clash with the remaining two light-type heroes. The Dark Enchanter's father had been the great magician Marshall. She was obviously knowledgeable and skilled when it came to combat. She had a terrifying ability, too. The Fallen Angel wasn't at his peak right now, but he was still scary when it came to a fight. He used to be the deputy to the King of Heaven, after all. His strength and experience weren't something that the three light-type heroes could compare to. All in all, Yuan was certain of her victory. Yuan took advantage of the confused state of the light-type heroes and transformed into her demonic dragon form. She flew over and snatched the gem. Only one more left. Yuan felt a little bit disappointed. She was so close. But she couldn't leave now to go and collect the last gem. The arena seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Yuan thought of Yuan. He always urged her to throw the gems into her territory via the dimensional portal, so the dwarves could reforge them. She looked at it for a while. She still had one more gem left to collect. If she had two at hand, she would automatically win because the other lord would have only one. She sighed. She then opened the dimensional portal and threw the gem in. The moment the gem was taken out of the arena, it wouldn't be counted for points. At this time, a notification appeared in her mind. Only one gem is detected in the arena. The competition has ended. Yuan was stunned. Only one gem detected. Shouldn't there be two gems in the arena? Yuan counted the total gems she had gotten and the lords she had defeated. There should be one more lord left? How was this possible? Maybe the lord left the arena with the gem, thought Yuan. Yuan couldn't think of any other possibility. The reason she had been snatching the gems and throwing them into her own territory was so that they wouldn't be counted. In the end, she would be the only one with a gem in the arena. Additionally, it was because Su Yuan had seen the special property of the gems. The dwarves could reforge the gems into building upgrade stones, so they could be used for upgrading the territory. The other lords had no such intention. They kept it close to themselves and protected the gems at all costs. They only wanted to gain points to win the tournament. Is there another person who has found a greater use for the gems? Wondered Yuan. Maybe they used the gem to reforge it into building upgrade stones to upgrade their territory like me. Yuan thought about it. Her consciousness entered her territory. She wanted to see how many building upgrade stones were left. When she counted them, she realized that an extra gem had been added to her territory. How did this get here? Asked Yuan to one of the dwarves. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. His Majesty threw it here through the dimensional portal, answered the dwarf. 196 Su Yuan did that? The dwarves also didn't know about the true identity of Su Yuan. The black gold behemoths, the dark dragon knights, and the white dragon saint, all called him Your Majesty. Hence, they also called him the same. As a result, it was strange in Yuan's territory. When the dwarves addressed her, they called her their lord, but when Su Yuan was in the territory, they always addressed him as Your Majesty. Su Yuan was Yuan's hero. However, she was used to the way they addressed her and Su Yuan. In the beginning, she felt a little dissatisfied because her power and authority were somehow snatched away by Su Yuan. However, whenever she saw him, he would be sleeping soundly. So, the idea that he was intending to take away her power was absurd to think about. She found Su Yuan so lazy that he would take it as a chore if she left the decision-making to him. Yuan pondered on the situation that the dwarves just reported to her. Su Yuan did that. Yuan knew Su Yuan never got involved in things so easily. She recalled the various abilities of Su Yuan. He might not be able to fight if it came to that. However, his need to survive was incomparable. Yuan still felt doubtful. The dwarf commander nodded and then shook his head. I am not sure, my lord. The dwarf commander had detected Su Yuan's aura before the gem appeared in the territory. However, he had not really seen Su Yuan. It must be him. Yuan was sure that Su Yuan had created trouble and gotten the last gem. Other than me, no one else has gems anymore. Yuan thought back to the time when Su Yuan had disappeared. Lord Carla had claimed to be a member of the Dark Screen. She wanted to wake the mythical beast? Then Su Yuan had fallen through the cracks and disappeared. After that, Lord Carla seemed to notice that something was not right. She had also disappeared. Lord Carla definitely seemed like she had a score to settle with Su Yuan. So, Su Yuan killed her? Maybe Su Yuan isn't as weak as he looks, thought Yuan. At this moment, she was waiting to be sent back to her territory since the competition had ended. They could finally get out of the arena, which was about to collapse anyway. But, warning, an unknown error has occurred, and the contestants' return coordinates have been lost. What? Yuan looked at the other lords present. Lena, Bevan, and Gatter looked pale. Even the three lords of the light-type heroes were frozen in shock. Everyone had received the same prompt in their mind. D***it. No, I can't die here. One of the lords of the light-type heroes was anxious. He realized the seriousness of the issue. Under normal circumstances, their path would never be blocked. Even if they died, they could always be resurrected. The current situation was strange. Their resources had been snatched away by Yuan. If they died now, they had no resources to resurrect themselves or their heroes. Moreover, this had to do with the mythical beast. It was clear that the beast could bypass the Overlord Plane's rules. If it killed them here now, they would be gone permanently, even if their territory core was intact. It is no wonder the Hydra wanted to kill himself to leave this place. The other lords also understood why the Hydra had been so impatient. They all wanted to laugh at him before, but now, they realized he had no courage to continue fighting. They felt the same way. But why do I feel like something's wrong? One of the lords of the light-type heroes frowned. Forget about that, said another lord. Now is not the time to think about that. We should be thinking of a way to save ourselves. The teachers of the academy and even the sages would have noticed the area collapsing. We just have to hang on till. However, the lords were dejected. Stop dreaming? A sage? Will a sage really be useful in this situation? It is a beast of the mythical level. Only a mythical lord can defeat it. A sage was, at most, at the level of a legendary lord. Although there was only a level of difference between the legendary and the mythical lords, it was still like a gap between a human and a god. In front of the mythical beast, a sage would be a joke. Boom! The ground cracked open, and countless blue lights appeared. Everyone saw it through the cracks in the ground. The butterfly's wings looked dreamy in the light. We're on the back of a mythical beast. The mythical beast had been in that arena long before anybody was even born, buried under the rocks and soil. Lords and heroes. Countless people have fallen through the cracks. In a territory far away, Lord Air opened his eyes. We are alive. He looked at the situation in front of him in shock. He had thought he was dead for sure because his resources were gone. How is this possible? I remember our resources. Lord Air and the Hydra looked at each other. Endless questions filled their minds. Very quickly, their confusion was clarified. In their territory, a few resources had been transferred. At the same time, a strange, emerald moon hung high in the sky. Lord Air looked up at it in puzzlement. A man floated in the air above Lord Air's territory. The Lord was dressed in an emerald sage's robe, and the power of moonlight emanated from his body. A female hero with pointed ears and blue skin hovered close by the Lord. N/O/vel/B/jn.c//om. That was the SSS class hero, Moon Goddess, the Sage of the Moon. Lord Air realized that the situation had gotten even more complicated than he had thought possible if even the legendary Sage of the Moon was involved. Lord Air felt that it had been a good idea for the Hydra to kill themselves in the arena before. This sage was not just any sage. This was a sage who was considered one of the top sages in the world. He was from among the sages who governed the world. Even sages had hierarchies. Among them, the sages of the sun, moon, and the star were the most powerful. 197 The sage's descent. What has happened that has caused the sage of the moon to personally descend to this place? Asked Lord Air. The sage of the moon and his hero looked at Lord Air. What happened in the arena? The sage asked. Lord Air was taken aback at the question. He was confused. Shouldn't the sages have seen everything? The competition and the arena were visible to everyone outside the Overlord plane. After all, the teachers and sages were the ones watching and evaluating their performance in the competition. Why was the Sage of the Moon asking him this question? Since the start of the competition, many strange things have happened. There was the reappearance of the sunken city ruins, and then the loss of connection of the Overlord plane with the outside world. The Sage of the Moon explained the situation to Lord Air. Lord Air connected the dots. It must be the dark screen. He recalled that Lord Carla had declared herself as a member of the dark screen in the arena recently. She had mentioned that she was going to awaken the mythical beast. The sunken city's ruins had attracted everyone's attention. Lord Air felt that all the incidents were related. He thought that all of it had been the conspiracy of the dark screen. Air explained everything to the Sage of the Moon. Are they crazy? Snarled the Moon Goddess. If that thing wakes up, nobody will be able to control it. It will bring an unimaginable disaster. The Moon Goddess sounded scared of the mythical beast. The Sage of the Moon was among the top sages. Naturally, his hero, the Moon Goddess, would also be formidable. However, she sounded almost frightened. Was the gap between a legendary level and a mythical level that huge? The Dark Screen's plan of awakening and controlling the mythical beast sounded idiotic and reckless. Your Majesty, Sage of the Moon, why are you here? Asked Lord Air. The Sage of the Moon spoke. He didn't hide anything. He began explaining everything from the time he had lost contact with the arena. Nobody was able to reach the arena. He had waited for the eliminated lords and their heroes to materialize in their respective territories to ask them about the situation. However, the first lord and hero to be eliminated were Lord Evelyn and her hero, the Radiant Envoy. He had gone to their territory to ask her about the situation. But he found out that her resources were gone, so Lord Evelyn had died permanently. Her hero, the Radiant Envoy, had returned to the hero plane. The sages understood that things were serious. They couldn't connect to the arena at all. If the eliminated lords died for good, then they would have no way to know what was happening in the arena. So, the sages and the teachers decided to transfer the resources to the territories of the participating lords so that they could resurrect themselves. This was why Lord Air was alive. That girl, Yuan. How's her situation? Asked the Sage of the Moon. Lord Air wondered why the sage asked about Yuan specifically. The Sage of the Moon explained that Yuan was a classmate of his friend's sister. She had been pestering him about her whereabouts. She, n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Lord Air didn't know how to continue. She has a strange hero by her side. She also has some strange dark types under her command. If I tell you she almost started a war among the dark types and light types, would you believe me? He asked cautiously. He had no intention to slander Yuan. However, from the situation in the arena, what he said would likely come to pass. Sage, are you worried about Yuan's safety? He asked. If you are worried, you don't need to. I think you should be worried about the other lords more than Yuan. At this point, Air blurted out everything for the sake of the other human lords. The situation turned very dire. Other than me and my hero, all others were either of dark types or light types. However, it was different from previous competitions. This time the heroes seemed to know each other. They formed their own alliances. Lord Air was genuine. The competition this time had been very strange. It was almost as though the heroes already knew each other and decided to form a team before they came to the Overlord plane. Lord Air wanted to complain. He had been defeated brutally. The others had formed their own team, while he had been the lone wolf. The competition had been entirely different from before. The Sage of the Moon and the Moon Goddess looked at Lord Air, feeling very conflicted. It is possible for a war to break out among the dark types and the light types, said the Moon Goddess. The Moon Goddess was one of the most powerful nature heroes. However, she had not returned to the hero plane for a long time after she had signed a contract with the Sage of the Moon, so she didn't know the current situation in the hero plane. 198. The place where the god's core is hidden. The Moon Goddess was unaware of the recent appearance of the Dark Demon Dragon in the hero plane. She also didn't know that many heroes had followed him and descended into the Overlord plane. The light-type heroes had also descended to the Overlord plane to fight the Dark Demon Dragon and the Dark-type heroes. The Moon Goddess, at least, received some semblance of information from Lord Air. Most participating heroes in the tournament were of light-type and dark-type. This was bad. If this continued, there would, most likely, be a war between the light and the dark yet again. Tell me more. What's wrong with Yuan? Asked the Sage of the Moon. She has gathered a few dark types heroes who are currently fighting the light type heroes. Lord Air didn't tell them how Yuan had beaten him along with the other lords. He only mentioned how her dark heroes were fighting the light types. The sage's face turned somber. The fourth war between the light and the dark, and the awakening of the mythical beast. He was getting a headache from all this. Things had been going severely downhill recently. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The Hydra, who had been observing the situation and listening patiently, finally spoke. You should start preparing for the worst. Among the dark types, the Dark Enchanter, daughter of the Dark Magician Marshal, and the deputy to the King of Heaven, the Fallen Angel, are also present. The Moon Goddess looked at him in disbelief. Are you sure it's them? She asked in a low voice. If they have descended to the Overlord plane, things definitely seem to be taking a turn for the worse. Dark Magician Marshal used to be the leader of the dark types. His daughter wasn't someone to be crossed, either. The appearance of the Fallen Angel complicated matters even further. The Moon Goddess thought that their appearance in the Overlord plane was ill-fated. The daughter of the Dark Magician Marshal might inherit her father's title and lead the war against the light types. With the presence of other powerful dark types like the Fallen Angel, she might actually lead them to victory. Lufaisite, the Fallen Angel, had turned to the dark side. There were many speculations as to why he was cast away from the Kingdom of Heaven. However, his conversion to the dark was a loss for the light types. He was powerful. His presence was also a mockery and an offense to the light types. So, the light type heroes would definitely choose to attack him on the spot. The clash between the light and the dark seemed inevitable. This war was unstoppable. In the arena, Yuan fell through the crack in the ground. She spread her wings and tried to escape. However, the butterflies fluttered around her and pulled her into the blue vortex. When she opened her eyes, she seemed to have landed in a strange place. There was a hallway with countless doors. Each door seemed like it held a secret. This place. Yuan found the place familiar. She recalled the Dark Dragon King's overlord whom she had met in the spiritual world in the dragon's subconscious. That white-haired young woman had told her a secret. The god's core was hidden in a place with many stone doors. Yuan thought she was dreaming. She had intended to look for the god's core when she found the time, but so many things had happened since then. She pinched herself. Ow, this is definitely not a dream, she muttered. However, Yuan was still doubtful. She wondered if she had hit her head as she fell and ended up unconscious with these strange visions in her mind. Yuan tried to sense her connection with Yuan. I can sense a faint connection. Yuan didn't have a contract with Yuan. As a result, she was unable to sense his presence when he was near. However, strangely, she was now able to sense a faint connection with him. Yuan didn't know that this was because Yuan had used the Demon Dragon Symbiosis ability with Yuan. It was almost like a contract. Therefore, she had been able to sense him recently. However, Yuan had never explained this to her. So, Yuan didn't know the reason for it. Yuan was now certain that all this wasn't a dream. Even if her own pain she had felt when pinching herself was a lie, the laws of the Overlord plane could never be faked. A dream could not imitate the laws of the Overlord plane. If the white-haired Overlord's method works, I will be able to find the secret door. Yuan prepared to use the method that she had learned from the Overlord. Right then, she heard a faint sigh. Human Overlord, said a lazy voice. It sounded as though whoever it was had just woken up from a long sleep. Yuan wondered if the voice was somehow connected to Yuan's whereabouts. Can this person be related to Yuan somehow? While Yuan speculated, the lazy voice spoke again. But this time, the voice sent a chill down her spine. I hate human lords. The voice held so much contempt that it made Yuan shudder. She realized that every inch of the space she was in held nothing but disdain and hatred toward her. This place rejected her? Every word uttered by the disembodied voice was like a death sentence. Annoying lord, you should just disappear. I hope you don't affect my mood when I wake up. Yuan's instinct sent her a warning. She realized that if she were to die here, an intact territory core would mean nothing. This voice had the power to bypass the laws of the Overlord plane and kill her permanently. She had to think of a way fast. She looked around in horror. She didn't know where the voice came from. It was as if the enemy was a ghost. It was nowhere and yet everywhere. 199 Meeting the white-haired Overlord again. Yuan thought of something. You are the mythical beast. The mythical beast was too mysterious for Yuan. Yuan obtained some information about it when he touched its brain. Yuan, on the other hand, didn't know much about the mythical beast. She only knew it as a creature that had flown from the sun's core. Yuan's understanding of the creature wasn't very deep. The danger just now had made her realize that the mythical beast could bypass the laws of the Overlord plane and kill her. To be able to achieve such a level of power, Yuan realized that the power of the mythical beast was incomparable. Yuan felt anxious. She knew that the mythical beast was defeated by a mythical overlord and eventually was rendered unconscious in this world. The creature had been sleeping till now. It was normal for the myth, seeing how it was defeated by one. Am I going to die here? Wondered Yuan. Yuan tried to calm herself. She couldn't help but panic about the current situation. If this mythical beast chose to kill her, not even a sage could save her. No matter how she looked at it, her chance of survival was slim. Yuan. Yuan thought about Yuan. She really wanted to find him. She wanted to see him one last time. Yuan closed her eyes. In front of this creature, all resistance was useless anyway. However, the situation was unexpected. When Yuan opened her eyes again, she realized she wasn't dead yet. The mythical beast didn't seem to make a move at all. Is it because I am not entirely human right now? Wondered Yuan as she looked at her half-human, half-dragon form. Perhaps this was why the mythical beast wasn't killing her yet. She had felt as though she was going to die at any moment. The power of the mythical beast had been terrifying. But the beast had let her go. It was too silent all of a sudden. Yuan was feeling anxious because she couldn't hear anything. Just then, the mythical beast's voice sounded again. His Majesty. The beast sighed. Forget it. Yuan was puzzled. She wondered who the mythical beast was referring to. The first thing Yuan thought of was Su Yuan. She knew that the fallen angel and the white dragon saint addressed Su Yuan as Your Majesty. So, it naturally made Yuan think of Su Yuan. But she shook her head. That might not be the case here. Su Yuan was mysterious and had many obscure abilities, but it just didn't make sense that the mythical beast would mention him. So, Yuan realized her guess was unrealistic. Yuan didn't think the mythical beast would refer to Su Yuan as His Majesty. She assumed the mythical beast was talking about some other strong entity she didn't know about. Yuan was relieved that the mythical beast wasn't thinking about killing her anymore. The voice then disappeared. The countless doors also disappeared along with it. There was only one stone door visible. Is this where the god's core is hidden? Wondered Yuan. She clenched her fists in anticipation. She didn't know if she should open it. She didn't know what might be behind that door. However, she would never know until she tried. She gathered her courage. Only by obtaining a god's core could someone become a mythical lord. She at least had to try. She approached the stone door. She reached out a hand and placed it gingerly on the surface of the door. The white-haired woman had tampered with the door. She had made it so that ordinary lords couldn't break through. Unless they were stronger than the white-haired lord, they couldn't break the seal and enter. There was only one way a lord could access this door. Yuan looked at her hand on the door. Her heart pounded. The door changed. Lines appeared on its surface. Musical notes appeared on the door right before her eyes. It can't be. Yuan was conflicted. On one hand, she was happy that she had fulfilled the requirements to be able to get the door open. She could become a mythical lord by using the god's core. On the other hand, she was in disbelief. The white-haired lord had told her that she had failed to see the love that her hero held for her. Everything had ended in tragedy. That was why the white-haired lord had sealed this door to prevent the god's core from falling into the wrong hands. Only someone who held an immense love for their hero, like the white-haired lord, could access the door. The fact that Yuan was able to do this meant that her love for her hero was recognized and acknowledged by the door. That lazy lizard, who would like him, muttered Yuan. Yuan recalled Su Yuan in his human form. She had seen him like that only once and had never been able to forget it. Forget it? I have been through thick and thin with that lazy lizard. Maybe that's why. Yuan pushed the door open and stepped in. She saw the afterimages of the white-haired lord in this room. Her back faced Yuan as she looked into the distance. The white-haired lord spoke. I don't know who you are, but if you are here, then it means that my future self sent you here. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. This was only an echo left by the white-haired lord when she was alive. Yuan had followed the white-haired lord's instruction, and so she was here now. This was the heart chamber of the mythical beast, the earth core butterfly. Only here can the god's core remain safe from the outside world, said the white-haired lord. The god's core indeed radiated power. It was the kind of power that made numerous lords go crazy over it.